All right. All right, guys. So here we go. We got a video here with Lex Fridman and MrBeast. As you guys know, I like Lex a lot. He's a cool guy. I think he's intelligent. I think he's very emotionally intelligent. I'm feeling the vibe. And he's talking to MrBeast, which I think is an interesting thing to see. Now, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I don't want you to hate me for this. Not a big fan of MrBeast. There's literally no reason why. Not a particular fan of the guy. I have absolutely no reason why. Something about him. I don't know. Feels a little overhyped. He does a lot of good things. I'm not trying to take that away from him. I'm just saying. But I have no reason for it. Just telling you. So that's it. That's all I really wanted to say. I'm not a big MrBeast, rider, but I'm curious about the conversation. I'd like to see it. Last time we looked at like Ben Shapiro on here, and it made me like him a little more. Maybe that's what happened with MrBeast. Let's get going.
I'm here with MrBeast, the brilliant mastermind behind.
I should go on Lex Fridman. I wish. But hey,
some of the most popular videos ever created. Do you think you'll ever make a video that gets 1 billion views?
I think maybe one of the videos we've already made might get 1 billion views.
Which one do you think?
Probably like the Squid Game video with enough time. I mean, it's only a year old and it's already on 300 million, or some of the newer ones we've done have gotten like
Do you think so? I feel like that's run its course a little bit.
100 million views in a month. So those 4 projected over 10 years because YouTube's not going anywhere. Probably one of those.
So over time, they don't necessarily plateau.
What's interesting, we're literally jumping right into it. I love it. It's good. So I'm a firm believer that it's much easier to hypothetically get 10 million views on one video than 100,000 on 100. And part of why it's much easier, in my opinion, is like if you make a really good video, it's just so evergreen and it never dies.
I get what he's saying. Interesting.
Because YouTube, when you
personally, I just make a ton of content. I'm not as good as any of these other guys. I am too cringe for Lex.
Open up YouTube and look at the videos. They're just serving you whatever they think you'll like the best, And so if you just make a great video and it's constantly just above every other video, even 2 years down the road, then they'll just keep serving it and never stop, which is why it's much easier to make one great video than a bunch of mediocre ones.
What about 1 billion subscribers? You've passed PewDiePie's the most subscribed to YouTube channel.
Wow. Well, good for him. That's good for that. Good for the young man for passing him. That is good though.
When do you think you get 1 billion?
Let me do some math real quick.
Would he get 1 billion? That'd be nuts.
So around 120.
So you think about this?
No, I don't, honestly. Because one thing you'll find if you want to gain subscribers, if you want to get views, if you want to make money, almost any metric in this video creation space, if you want something, it all comes back to, okay, well then just make great videos. So instead of like focusing on all these arbitrary vanity metrics, I just kind of focus on the one thing that gets me all that.
That's fair. Like, I understand that. That makes sense. And it's actually an overall good thing to think. I can respect that because some people will be very focused on comparing themselves to other people and being like, oh, I wish I was... And just fundamentally, like, looking at somebody else going like, wow, they're doing better than me. Like, I'm not doing well by comparison. That could be a very toxic, interaction or a very toxic... relationship you have with your content, because it makes you feel less than, even though like if you look at yourself just by yourself, you may be doing very well. You know what I mean? And so it's good to be motivated, be like, yeah, I'd like to get this number, but it's also good to keep yourself in check and understand that, like, if you're successful, like, be proud of your success and chill,
which is make good videos. And that I do think we will when they hit 1 billion subscribers. I don't have a plan on going anywhere, even though we're only on 120 million right now on the main channel. I think like we're doing around 10 million a month now. And
well, doesn't he also have like channels that like translate in Spanish and like all these other things? He has multiple channels, my understanding. He has a lot of like solid, like, instead of like I think he does like legitimate like voice acting stuff for people in other countries so that they can like watch it, which I think is very clever. I'll make the papagat in Espanol, huh? What do you want? I'll get a Spanish person to translate that, huh? What do you think about that?
YouTube I just don't see it going anywhere. And I don't see any reason why I'd ever get burnt out or quit. So I think with enough time, yes.
I wanted to ask you those family-friendly questions before I go to the dark questions. So now
we have dark questions. Wait, no, but if you wanted to hook them, you would start off with the dark questions. That's how you get them.
Okay, well, let me ask you.
He's got such weird content brain. He's like, if you want to, he's probably right. Start with the dark question if you want to hook him. But if you want to have a nice, controlled, reasonable conversation, you probably want to start with like some of the more chill questions, just to kind of create a comfortable atmosphere, so it doesn't come off of this intense, antagonistic energy.
Think about a Twitter poll you posted, a $10,000 death poll. You tweeted, if someone offered you $10,000, but if you take it, a random person on Earth dies, would you take the $10,000?
No, of course not. That'd be ridiculous. $10,000, make it to 11,000, and you got to deal now. Personally, that wouldn't. I don't know if there would be enough money in the world for me to do that. Like, because I do well enough to not have to kill somebody for a bunch of money. You know, you're in a more intense situation. I can understand that, but
and 45% of people say.
Plus, I wouldn't like I couldn't do that to somebody else. You know, I mean that would be terrible. You know, I don't know. I just couldn't do that. It's not worth it.
Yeah,
and there's not enough good I could do. If there was like, oh, if you could, would you do like $1 billion to charity? Maybe then, because at least there's a good happening. I don't know, man. I just don't think I could do it. I would feel too racked with guilt.
That's, at least at the time I checked, 850,000 people committing murder for just $8.5 billion in total.
Wait, 8.5 billion? I thought he said 10,000. If someone, oh, okay, 10,000. If someone offered you $10,000, but you take a random person off your thighs, would you take it? Interesting. Wow. Plus, he was just doing the total collection. Yeah, that's too much, man.
So, what do you learn about human nature from that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, this was like late at night when I threw that up too. I was just like, huh, this will be a funny thing. I assumed it'd be 90% no and like 10% yes. But there are a lot of serious people. For you guys listening, I just...
It's scary, man, because like that's the mentality. And some people might not be answering honestly because you can never actually like go into that scenario and actually do those things. Like you can never actually be like in that scenario. Like no one's ever going to be like actually say that. Or you're not gonna be able to set that up to test it. But like it shows to me that like there are a lot of corrupt people in the world, and it shows to me that like a lot of us would be corrupt even you know, if given the chance. That's what that indicates to me. So
just did this random Twitter poll where I was like, would you take 10 grand if it meant someone random in the world died? Yeah. And a lot of the replies on the tweet were like, hell yeah.
There are people dying every second for sure, but now you're contributing to another person dying for what? Just so that you have a little bit more money. I know it's a good amount of money, but like that's pretty much all it is. So it's just like shitty and selfish. Like if I personally, what if I took the money and your like mom died? Like would you be like, yeah, just another person in the world? No, of course, individually we're all just dumb people, but like we mean something to somebody. You know, maybe we'll get lucky and like a fucking, you know, somebody bad will die, but maybe, you know, maybe you'll kill the most incredibly beneficial person to ever exist as well. You know, you don't really know.
Why not? And I was just not expecting that. And so I don't really know. I mean, I feel like your take would be better than mine.
Imagine MrBeast like went to like the dark web to like orchestrate this video. You know, he's like, I'm just gonna kill a random person, and like he just literally like gives a number to everybody and kills an actual random person. That'd be nuts.
Was it disturbing to you? Surprising to you?
A little bit, yeah. But you know, obviously, a lot of the people were trolling. Yeah. But I actually, you know, when you read through those replies, I do think like 10% of them were like dead serious.
Well, I think sometimes the trolling and the lulz reveal a thing we're too embarrassed to admit about the darker aspects of our nature. So I don't know if you listen to Dan Carlin's Hardcore History podcast. He has a episode on painfotainment, which he describes throughout history how humans have been really attracted to watching the suffering of others. So public executions, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he believes that's in all of us. That, for example, if something like a YouTube or a different platform streamed a public execution or streamed the torture of another human being, a lot of people would say that's deeply unethical, but they would still tune in.
Interesting. I believe it. I don't know, man. I've seen some of those horrible cartel videos. I've seen some of those horrible cartel videos in like 4chan, man, and like sometimes, you know, damn, watch it still, you know. I'm not proud of it, but it's interesting. It's interesting.
And watch. Yeah. And that we're attracted to that drama, and especially the most extreme versions of that drama. And so I think part of the lulz reveals something that's actually true in that poll. That like
your answer is so much better than mine.
Do you think about that? Maybe even with the Squid Game. Like, so I think how many views does the Squid Game currently have? 300 million?
Yeah,
something like this. So just imagine, thought experiment, how many views that video would get if it was like real.
Yeah, assuming YouTube was like, we'll turn a blind eye, we won't take it down. Yeah, I mean, obviously it'd probably have billions of views.
But then the next question comes in is, if it was something that YouTube would be willing to put up on their platform, would you do it? Would you do that? I wonder. Like, how into human nature do we get? You know, would you do it? Because somebody probably would be like, fuck it, I'll do this. You know.
How do you think you'll die? And do you think it'll be during a video?
Probably doing something dumb like going to space when I'm in older, like trying to go to Mars or something like that. I know for a fact it won't be on a video. Every video we do with safety experts and stuff like that, so it's not really risk. But yeah, I could see myself like, you know, after 1 million people go to Mars or something like that, I'd probably be like, you know what, let's go and something like that maybe.
So not in the name of a video, just
no,
for the hell of it.
Heck no.
Are you open to taking risks when you shoot videos? You just went to Antarctica. I mean, like you're putting yourself on the line a little bit, right?
Of course, but you know, we've had that video in the works for 3 years, and then we consult with tons of experts, radar the entire path we're going to walk beforehand to see if there's crevasses. So we know there's no crevasses. We do training, we consult with experts, and we have survival guides there with us, and you know, monitor the weather and everything. So it's like any variable that where we could get harmed, we just pre-planned for it. Same thing with buried alive. Like I had David Blaine spent a week underground, and so I consulted with him and consulted with basically anyone who ever buried themselves alive. You know, the coffin we used to bury me, we did so many tests. Like that coffin was buried 10 times before I was. You know, for
Hey, that's good. Well, you know, it's interesting. That's good that I don't know. Hopefully he says that in his videos, because I feel like that's one of the dangers of like prank type channels or channels like this, where they do these crazy things. Like you could really get hurt, and then you can send a message to other people that they might also get hurt. Or rather, that might indicate to them like, oh, well, let me do this. Let me do this because I can get like famous or popular in some capacity. Well, you could actually seriously get hurt. So hopefully, he tells people this. Is like, yeah, I do a lot of like research beforehand. To make sure that like I won't get hurt in some capacity. So you shouldn't do this at home. I'm sure he does. I feel like I've seen him kind of talk about that when he did like a thing where he didn't eat for like 30 days. I think he only made like 15. But he's like, yeah, I'm going like I have like health experts, this, that, and the other thing. So I imagine he does it responsibly.
For way longer than 50 hours. It tested the airflow and everything to the point where I was safer in that coffin underground than I was above ground. Like, so we just tend to just not leave anything up to chance, you know?
Another strange question then. So you recorded these videos to yourself, you know, 5 years, 10 years from now. Have you recorded a video that's to be released once you die?
Well, first off, I am just glad that not every one of your questions have to do with like views or things like that. It's nice getting different questions. So this is
Jesus Christ. I love Lex. Such intense questions.
This is good. No, seriously.
It's a little
no, but it's fine because a lot of people just be like, how much money do you make? You know, it's just something everything's always about money now.
Yeah, I get what he's saying. Everybody's just asking the same questions and stuff. I get that.
But for when people talk to me, so it's nice. But for the videos I made, for you guys who probably don't follow me too closely, when I had 8,000 subscribers and I was a teenager, I filmed a bunch of videos and scheduled them years in the future. And I said, I'd filmed one where I was like, hi me in a year. And the video went up a year later. And it was just like, hey, I think you'll have 100,000 subscribers. And then I did one where I was like, hi me in 5 years. I was like, hey, in 5 years, I think you'll have 1 million. And then one that hasn't come out yet, but comes out in 2 years was hi me in 10 years. And I tried to predict 10 years later how many subs I'd have. That's what he's referring to. And yes, there are some that are scheduled like 20 years in the future. And so if I don't die, I'll just move them up. And I remember, because I filmed these though like 7 years ago, but it was, I remember saying a line like, you know, if I'm dead, then I'm currently just in a coffin and like whatever, blah, blah, blah. And because the only way the video will go up is if I'm not alive. And if I'm not alive, then I won't be able to push back the schedule upload date. So it'll go public automatically.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I have a
Oh, so he like legitimately uploads them and then he sets a schedule for it to release? That's interesting.
couple of those. Like if I knew I was going to die of like cancer or something, I had like 3 months to live, I would vlog every day. I'd film so many videos and then I would just schedule upload a video a week for like the next 5 years. So it's like I'm still alive.
Interesting. That would definitely be very interesting. I wonder if he would actually do that though. And the only reason I asked that question is because I feel like I don't know. Like if I only had 3 months to live, I don't know if I'd want to do anything. That might also be depressing. So maybe him like actually forcing himself to do some kind of work would be like really good. I don't know. But I already, as it stands, I don't like doing too much on the internet other than streaming because I want to maintain a little bit of myself, you know?
And I would completely act like I'm still alive and everything. And I think something like that would be cool. I don't know why, but I've fantasized, not fantasized, but I've dreamt about that a lot. Like, I don't know, if I only had 30 days to live, what would I do? And for me, I would try to make like a decade's worth of content and schedule upload it so they automatically go public in the future. And so it's just like I never died.
How weird would that be? I wonder, like, I'm just exploring, like, how would his parents feel about that? Like, seeing him still upload, like, would that be almost traumatizing to them? I know it's really fucked up to say that like that, but I'm just kind of exploring.
It's there.
Yeah, it's a kind of immortality, but it's also a kind of troll on the concept of time.
Yeah.
That you can die in the physical space, but persist in the digital space. I recorded a video like that because I had some concerns, and I just thought it's also a good exercise to do.
Interesting. He had some concerns. What does that mean? You feel like he might have died?
A video would like to be released if I die. And it was actually a really interesting exercise. Yeah. It's cool. Like it shows like what you really care about. I guess it's like writing a will. But when you're younger, you don't think about that kind of stuff. But
exactly. Mine was just dumb.
I don't know if I would have like I don't know if I would be in the headspace to do that right now. Like I don't feel like I could say anything super genuine.
Yeah.
Like I'm bones in a coffin.
Yeah.
Yours is probably so serious.
No, it's fun actually. What you realize is like there's no point to be serious at this point. It's a weird thing. I guess you've done this, but it's a weird thing to address the world when you, the physical you, is no longer there. So like this would only be released if you're no longer there.
Exactly.
That's a weird exercise.
You know what's funny? Of all the people listening to this, we're probably the only 2 people that have made videos for when we die. It's like such a niche thing, and the fact that we're bonding over it's kind of funny.
I think people should think about doing that. It's not just about YouTube; it's also social media. Because think about it, like there's going to be a last tweet and a last Facebook post, a last Instagram post, and I feel like there's some aspect that's meditative to just even considering making a post like that, and also it's a way for the people that love you to kind of like celebrate.
Do you think that would help them cope or not? Like if someone randomly watching this did film a video, for if they accidentally died in some freak accident to be given to their family, do you think that would, and it was like a genuine?
I think it would really help.
I don't know. Depends on the person. I don't know. I don't think like maybe it would. It might help. I don't know. It depends, I guess. Maybe it would be a neutral experience. I don't know. It's just sad. What a sad thing to think about. Like I'm thinking, like, what if a family member that I loved passed away, like did something like that? Like, would that make me feel better? It depends. Like if they addressed, I guess, you specifically in like some kind of a will, it probably would help. But if it was just like some random ass video, I don't know. Maybe it would be neutral. Maybe it would be cool to still see them alive. A way to remember them and their best moments, right? Because that's one of the sad things about death, especially if it's something that's sudden death can sometimes be better for the family than like a slow, painful death. Because if it's sudden, you still remember them as they were when they were alive, because that's who they are. But when it's a long, death, sometimes you can get caught up in who they are, like, their significant struggle that they're going through, and like, a lot of times you might wither away as a person, and it's difficult. Death is so tough. But who wants sudden death? I don't know, man. Death is very tough. It's tough.
I mean, it depends, because like
how would you even intro that? Like, hey mom, if you're seeing this, it means I'm probably dead.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's how you intro it.
That's the opener. I just want you to know. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess you could say it in a kind of funny way, but and just talk about the things that mean a lot to you, because otherwise you're at the risk of the last post you have is like I don't know, talking shit about like
McDonald's. My order.
Exactly.
And then you're dead. That's it. 100 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. This I do recommend it. It's like the Stoics meditate on death every day. In the same way you kind of meditate on your death when you make a video like that, because it's actually not just even talking to yourself; it's talking to the world. And it, like, for some reason, at least for me, they made it very concrete that there's going to be an end. And I'm like, it's over for me. If I'm making the video, it's over for me. It's an interesting thought experiment. I recommend people try it. Okay. Are you afraid of death, by the way?
Yes. It's hard because.
What a tough topic, man. I don't know. I think I am too. But when, you kind of get to that point. What a tough conversation to really have. Are you afraid of death? I feel like it's something as you get older, you get more and more afraid of. What happens afterwards? Am I reunited with my loved ones after I pass? Some like real stuff you start thinking about, some real fucked up shit. I don't know, man.
Like, what if you just die and then you just see nothing forever?
Yeah, the nothingness.
It just fades to blackness, and you're just like that for trillions upon trillions to billions squared years, and it's scary. But also, before you're born, you don't remember those X amount of years either. So that gives me a little comfort. But no, it's definitely very scary. Something I'd rather not think about until I'm like 80. I'll deal with that problem then. I don't know if I told you this, but I'm kind of hopeful that someone like Elon or one of these like freak smart people will just like be like, screw it.
I'm not sure Elon is somebody I would consider smart. I get that.
I'm gonna figure out a way where we can slow down aging, get it where we can live to be 200-300 years old, and just like set their sights on that.
Is that a good thing though? Like, imagine you could upload your consciousness to a computer. I feel like that would be potentially the most practical next step. Is that a good thing? Uploading your consciousness to a computer? Like, are you actually like? Is your consciousness your soul, or is there something deeper? And like, are you actually still alive, or are you is just part of you alive, or is just like computer generated memory of yourself actually alive, or is it like something very real? Oh, what is it? I don't know. How significant is that? I don't know. And or are you robbing yourself of your ability to like pass on and move your consciousness to the next area if you do that? I have no idea. It's fucking crazy.
And then just kind of save us. So it'd be really nice. Like it's almost absurd to think that in our lifetime they won't figure out a way to just even slightly slow down aging, where we could live to be like 120 or 130, and then that extra time they won't figure out some way where we could live to be 200. Like obviously not immortal, but I don't see how in my lifetime the life expectancy doesn't just expand.
Well, it also could be that the immortality is achieved in the digital realm. Like it could be long after you're gone. There's a MrBeast run by a ChatGPT type system.
Exactly. Yeah, that consumes everything I ever said, everything I ever wrote, and I don't want that. I want to live. One of you smart people out there, figure it out. I'll keep.
I respect that. I don't want that. I want to live. Is that you? They can upload that your consciousness to the computer, and then they can upload 10 of them, and then you could have 10 different yous with 10 different experiences. What a fucking world.
Keep you entertained, but I need you to figure out how to keep me alive. Give me till 200. That will make me happy.
Well, that's funny. Who owns the identity of MrBeast once the physical body is gone? Like, is it illegal to create another MrBeast that's ChatGPT based? I don't know what the laws are around that.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, once I'm done, I don't care.
Well,
but
well, you just said you did care. I mean, there could be a AI like many MrBeasts that are created after you're gone.
yeah, I mean that'd be cool to be able to like train up a model and let them loose so my content lives on. I guess. Yeah.
That would be certainly interesting.
But it somehow feels like it diminishes the value you contribute.
Yeah,
it's inauthentic, but it's also there's some aspect to the finiteness of the art being necessary for its greatness.
100%. Yeah, once the second that thing starts spamming out videos, the videos lose all meaning and it's pointless and it's a money grab.
If you ran YouTube for how long should you run it? For a year, how would you change it? How would you improve it?
It's hard because obviously I'm biased because we're doing really well, but I feel like when I open up YouTube on my television, I get the videos I want to watch. I don't know. I don't ever open it and wonder like what are these 10 videos on my homepage. When I click on a video on my suggestion, I don't ever wonder what these are. Like I and maybe it's because I'm very adamant about like the kind of videos I watch, and I try not to watch videos that I don't want to get recommended more because that's how I think. But I'm very happy with how it is at the moment. I think.
Yeah, a lot. I know YouTube gets a lot of criticism. They could definitely be better at communicating with people, but I do feel like YouTube is not that bad. Don't cancel me. I mean, I have very limited online space, so I could just be wrong. I used to do TikTok, and I will say that overall the level of communication is certainly better. I will tell you that. I feel like you can be a little freer to say things. There's some things that cross the line, but it's generally understood why they may cross the line. So I do understand that, but it's not that bad. And I feel like there have been content shifts. Like there was a time where people tell me about how, at one point there was a situation where people were seeing less of the people they subscribed to, and they're like, this is ridiculous, YouTube is ruined. And but like the reality is that I think that they were trying to maintain a balance between like getting more of the people, seeing more of the content from the people that you subscribe to, but also seeing content that you'll actually like. Because just because you subscribe to something doesn't necessarily mean that there's not a video that might resonate with you more from somebody else, which it's totally possible that there is. You might see there might be content that would be better if you saw that instead, but you're subscribed to somebody else. You might have a higher level of enjoyment. Like let's say you're subscribed to me, but maybe there's a different video that comes up and you only have an hour of watch time a day. Maybe you only have like an hour of watch time per day, and I could come up and that might be great, but maybe there's something else for that hour that maybe there's some kind of other video, some other content creator, and the algorithm tries to give you that content creator at a greater extent. And is that's a better relationship for the viewer. That's going to have the viewer have a better relationship with the content. Maybe it's bad for that specific creator, but overall it's better for the viewer, no? So, maybe that's the way it should be, I'm just saying. I think that's why they do stuff like that. Yeah.
One thing though that I just hate with the passion is the comment section on YouTube. It's just so bad. But I know that's not something that's going to 10x the growth of the platform, but if you think about it, you go to Reddit to read comments, and somehow like usually the top 20 posts on a popular Reddit post are not spam. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, have you ever clicked on something on the front page of Reddit and then most upvoted reply to it is like, go check out my site right here, and it's like trying to scam you out of $1,000. Yeah, I can't even think of one instance I've ever had that happen. So like Reddit, it's so nice to click on posts and just see what people have to say. And I almost wish like you had that same feeling when you read the comments on a YouTube video. Instead, it's like it's so many people just copy and pasting, so many bots that just grab the top comment from your previous video and paste it over. So the top comments on every video are the same. And the things that break through that are just scammers trying to get you to give them $1,000 for.
Yeah, I get what he's saying. That makes sense. There, I try to like look through the comments just to get rid of the bots and like hide those people from the channel like that are botting and stuff. It's fucking nuts.
Free, fake ad.
That comment section is one of the most lively on the internet. And so it'd be amazing if YouTube invested in creating an actual community, like where people could do high effort comments and be rewarded for it, like on Reddit.
Yeah.
Like actually write out a long
That would make me so happy. Because like when I upload a video, I usually go to Twitter to see feedback. Like I read my comments and I'll flip through newest, but it's just, I feel like Reddit and Twitter just give me so much better filtered feedback, especially now that with Twitter Blue, because people pay $8 a month. I've noticed like any tweets I get from verified users now, they're usually not just garbage troll takes. Like these are people paying $8 a month. Like they're usually relatively sensible. And so it's been pretty nice. Like after I upload a video, I just go on the verified tab on Twitter and just see what people have to say. And anyways, I live for the day that YouTube's like that.
What do you think about Twitter? What do you think about all the fun activity happening recently since Elon bought?
It's funny to see how much of a mess things have become on Twitter, realistically speaking. Because that's what's happened, man. I don't think that Elon's the smartest guy in the world. Apparently, like there was a moment where advertisers were pulling out of the platform because they did this whole Twitter Blue thing, which reduced people's trust in brands. I mean, now you could pretend to be another brand, and I know that that's a new struggle, and Elon's been trying to deal with that with the whole parody thing, where he's like very adamant about like if you're a parody, you have to make sure that it's explicitly clear. But it's still a problem, and advertisers pulled out because of that, and justifiably so. And Elon apparently said something along the lines of like, "Oh, can they do that? I should be able to sue them." And it's like, okay, you don't even understand the fundamentals of your business. You made a bad business decision, and now you're trying to sue them for a bad decision you made because it happened during Christmas time, which is like the biggest time for advertisements. For advertisements, that's all it really comes down to. It's the biggest time for advertisements during Christmas time, and that's when he made this decision. That's why he had to do like Twitter Yellow. That's why he had to do all these new infrastructure things. And to me, I already saw the line where he was going to come up with a new verification. Anybody with common sense was going to see that, because that was like brand loyalty was able to be engaged through there, and so obviously he was going to have to do something like that. But like in the short term, it kind of fucked people for sure.
On Twitter,
I think you should make me CEO, like I tweeted.
Or maybe you can make Jeremy CEO. Ordering, you'd be really happy about it.
Well, I should say sort of we just like a couple hours ago had a conversation with Elon, and you guys had an exchange of some excellent ideas. So yeah, I legitimately think, obviously you're exceptionally busy, but I legitimately think it would be awesome if you somehow participate in the future of Twitter.
Yeah, it would be fun
because there's so much possibility of different ideas. First, in the sort of the content, like dissemination, hosting, and all the different recommendations, like the search and discovery, all the things that YouTube does well. I
think the most exciting thing is he's willing to move fast, and so I think there's going to be a lot of interesting things that come out of it because he's
certainly exciting, I suppose.
Just moving quick, and a lot of these more mature platforms just take years to do the simplest stuff, and they're very bureaucratic.
One thing Elon wanted to do was like make it so that you couldn't really link your ability to look at other, like to use that platform as an advertisement platform for your other platforms, which is silly because Twitter is a really good advertisement platform for a lot of people. It gives you a space to be like, here's who I am, and you can go check out more of me if you go here. And it's like, okay, I understand that you want as much traffic on Twitter as possible, but not everybody is on Twitter. Like some people want to watch videos. Twitter doesn't offer that service, so to restrict people from being able to do that, is obviously ridiculous.
Bureaucratic, and so it's gonna. I mean, it'll be interesting to see which way it goes when you just kind of take a move quick, break things, whatever type approach to social media. I'm actually pretty curious to see what features he rolls out.
So, what would be your first act as Twitter CEO?
I can't spoil it.
Okay.
I gotta get hired.
What do you think about video on the platform? I mean, do you think that's an interesting, or is it like messing with the?
If they did long form video that was monetized on that platform, I would have to consider coming back. Yeah.
The medium, the nature of the platform.
I think Twitter will always be closer to TikTok than it is to YouTube. Like at least in its current form. Like I don't see 20-minute, 1 hour long videos or whatever. Even 15-minute videos being watched over there. I see it more as like the short and snappy stuff closer to TikTok.
But at the same time, Twitter is a really good comment section for the internet.
I mean, it's almost weird why Like, why doesn't Twitter allow you to embed YouTube videos? Like, why does that? You should just ask Elon that. Like, I don't know if that's a YouTube thing, but when a YouTuber posts a video, why do they have to link to YouTube? Why can't they just embed it on Twitter and you just play it there? I mean,
yeah, my understanding that would be a decent idea. My understanding is that like they try to suppress stuff that explicitly has links in it intentionally. And I imagine that comes from a place of not wanting people to like redirect and leave, but it still is like a little bizarre. It's like, you know, is this an overall good thing, or does this like, I don't know, because if you can keep them on Twitter watching, you know, I don't know how it would work to potentially put your own ads on those embedded videos or something, but I feel like that's not a bad idea.
wouldn't that just solve a lot of problems?
Yeah, but then the two companies would have to agree to integrate each other's content.
I don't know, but it seems like a win-win. I mean, well, it's more of a win for Twitter because then people don't have to leave the platform. I mean, that'd be the easiest solution.
But who gets, like, when you watch the ads on a YouTube video that's embedded in a Twitter, who gets the money?
It would still be YouTube, but at least then right now people just post a link and it takes you off Twitter and it just kills your session time on Twitter.
That's really interesting. But
yeah, that's why they try to suppress it, I think.
Yeah, because the Twitter, whatever the dynamics of the comments, especially once the spam bots are taken care of, Twitter just works. It's really so. Reddit is a nice comment section for the internet. It's like slower pace, more deliberate, like higher effort. Twitter's like,
I've never heard anybody say anything positive about Reddit. I think it's a toxic cesspool, to be honest with you.
this high paced, like ephemeral kind of stream. But there's the upvoting, the downvoting works much better because you can do retweeting, right? Because the social network is much stronger than it is on YouTube. Like the interconnectivity.
Yeah, on Reddit, you're going to get the top replies are going to be the most refined ones, whereas Twitter, stuff floats to the top that's not super refined. But like you're saying, it's more off the cuff stream of consciousness, which a lot of people prefer because it's a little more personal.
How do you think Twitter compares to YouTube in terms of how you see its future unroll in 2023?
I mean, I think YouTube's going to be YouTube and not much is really going to change, but it's going to keep growing just because, you know, that's just what it does and because it's owned by Google. But Twitter, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things like you can't predict if, you know, a year from now, an economy is going to be in a recession or booming. And I think Twitter's kind of the same thing. One thing's for certain, a lot of things are going to be rolled out, but who knows, honestly.
You responded to Elon saying Twitter's unlikely to be able to pay creators more money than YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, how would they? That's the thing. You know, you're doing like long form sitting down, like, it's a long form sit down. How could they pay as much, right?
What do you think that is?
Well, yeah, because I think the tweet I responded.
Like, there's more advertisement revenue opportunities on it. I think that's one of the difficulties with shorts type content is figuring out, like, you know, how do you even monetize that? Which they've already have. They'll throw advertisements in the middle, and those advertisements have to be just like the videos themselves and be catchy enough. That's what TikTok does, and that's what YouTube Shorts seems to do. I've never seen it on YouTube Shorts because I have premium, and I'm assuming that works for that as well. But
responded to was one where he was saying that they, you know, users will jump over if Twitter could potentially pay more than other platforms. And I was just saying,
well, do they have to pay more, or, you know, if they can pay comparatively, wouldn't that be part of it? You know, I feel like that would be better. I feel like Twitter probably needs to capitalize on the TikTok trend and like be a little bit better and maybe like replicate that type of like algorithm. I think I'm not gonna be able to get this. They need to be able to like replicate that the monetization aspect of it a little bit better for advertising, because I think they tried, or maybe they implemented whatever, something on Twitter where like you pay, or I don't want that, where they do something where it'll play an ad on your video before it starts. But if you have like a 10-second video, like who wants to watch a 5-second ad before? You know what I mean? And it's like, it would be better if it was like scroll, ad, entertaining ad, you know?
saying, obviously, because Google has Google AdWords, and I mean, that's Google's whole thing. It's putting ads on stuff. They've been doing it better than anyone else in the world for a very long time. It's very unlikely in the next few years that Twitter is going to just magically, or any platform, you know, give a creator the ability to make higher CPMs than on YouTube. It's kind of crazy. Like some creators in December, you know, Q4, because ad rates are higher because of Christmas and everything, some creators literally make like $30, $40 per 1,000 views. And that's after YouTube's cut. Like, it's almost like hard to think about like how high the RPMs get. And even then, once you pull out of finance and cars, the high CPM niches, and you move into just normal stuff, it's still just crazy. The sheer volume of creators and the fact that all of them get these multi-dollar CPMs at scale, it's pretty beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm rebuilding this platform, but even I do pretty well. Like, I cannot complain considering the views that I'm getting. I still do decently. I still make like more than the average American, so I can't complain. And that's with like my new platform that's only got like 18,000 followers. So they do pay pretty well. You cannot deny that.
So you do I don't know what you would call them, but like integrated ads in your videos, and you do it, I would say, masterfully. It's like part of the
Are you
video.
talking about brand deals?
Brand deals, is that what you would call that?
Yep.
So it's a brand deal. It's part of the video. It's still really exciting to watch, and yet there's a plug for the brand.
In general, just brand deals, since you brought it up, integrating them well. I think that's something a lot of creators don't do. Like, they'll just do a brand deal out of the blue. They'll just be filming a video, and then around the 3-minute mark, just start talking about a random company.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how else you do it.
I feel like if you don't want viewers to click away and you want people to not get pissed off and call you to sell out, you got to find a way to integrate it into content. And ideally, use the money in the video to make it better. Like, the easiest thing you do when you do a brand deal is just tell people how you're using money from the brand deal to make your content better. And if you do that, like, no one cares. Now they're supporting you for it.
Interesting.
You go from being a sellout to like, oh, I'm doing this to make better videos.
Well, I don't think that it's fair to call somebody a sellout because they do a brand. Like, if people think that, then you're like an idiot. I'm not calling MrBeast an idiot. I'm saying that those people are idiots. But like, it's not a bad idea to be like, oh, this is what I'm doing to make this video better. I got this much money for, not to say how much money you got, but I got like money from this, and this is how I'm making this video better. That's a good idea. But like the whole sellout thing, I think somebody's a sellout for that. You stink like balls. You know what I mean?
Videos for you guys,
I don't know if you can share, but with those brands, when you have discussions with them, are they strict about how long you need to be talking about it? Or is it more about they're leaving control to you about the artistic element of it?
The problem is the ones who don't give us the artistic element, we just don't really work with anymore.
Sure.
Because it's just, we get 100 million views a video now, and I can confidently say I know how to entertain them and convert them better than these random brands. So, if they don't give us that freedom, I just won't work with them.
So you have that leverage, but for smaller creators,
it's a lot harder. Yeah, and they're going to just say 45 seconds. Here's what you say. Take it or leave it. And it's
I mean, I did like one sponsorship once with like Adam and Eve on YouTube, and like they were just like, oh, just make sure this information's in there and you're good. So just a balance. You still got a little artistic value.
It's like pretty brutal, because I think just in general, if brands were more accommodating to let creators tell their story of the brand and talk about the brand in a way that felt a little more natural, I think it'd be less cringe. People would be less likely to go, tap, 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 skip. And obviously it would convert better. But
yeah, I mean, like, I think that for somebody like MrBeast, who's very clearly established their worth, it's probably easier to give him like the ability to say whatever. But if you have a smaller creator, then that they might not feel like that person can really advocate for their brand as well. So
they're just so afraid, and they want this standardized thing. Say these words and 45 seconds right here at this 3-minute mark.
Yeah, I often think about how to resist that.
You just don't do them, though, right?
Not on YouTube, right? On the audio, I do ads in the very beginning, and I say you can skip them if you want.
But the brand loves that.
No, I don't. Like, the point is they. So the funny thing about podcasts is different than YouTube videos. Podcast people actually do listen to ads a lot because it's slower paced, and they like the creator voice, like talking about the thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. And they're just usually listening in the car. There are people who will do that with like YouTube content. They will listen in the car and whatnot. Which, I mean, maybe I should consider getting into, like, I just don't know how to do stuff like Spotify. I wish I did. Wish somebody knew how to do it and could come and talk to me and help me out with it. But like the only time, but when I listen to videos is usually while I'm doing something. So like I listen to advertisements. I just don't care usually. If I'm on stream, it's different. I'll skip sometimes, but it depends on the pacing of the video, like and whatnot. But yeah, I totally understand that.
But in general, I just don't believe you should be talking about a thing for a minute exactly, and that's going to be effective. I want to see the data for that. I think what's much more effective is the way you do ads, which is like integrate into the content, like put a lot of effort into making a part of that, like doing the brand deals. And it's difficult to have that conversation. It's like a very strenuous conversation you have to have with brands. You have to have each one at a time. And I just wish there was more of a culture to say like the quality of the ad read matters a lot more than the the silly parameters, like the timing of it, like how long it is, the placement of it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What percentage of your viewers?
I mean, you could probably, like, if you could probably do something. People might respond better to like a 15-second ad than a 30-second ad, and they might have set the arbitrary standard of like you have to do 30 seconds. And, is that actually going to be good, or is that going to be a really boring fucking 30 seconds? I wonder.
Do you have seen one of my videos before?
What percentage of the viewers on YouTube, right?
Yeah, of your viewers.
Of the viewers on YouTube, though.
Yeah.
Most of the people.
Okay, sure, or all of them. It's just interesting because you're speaking very specifically like about my brand deal process, and so in my head, I'm like, I wonder what percentage of these people even have any idea what he's talking about.
That's interesting. I love the thinking about numbers.
The whole time we were having this conversation, that's all I could think about. It's like, oh, God damn it. There's probably like 50% of these people have no fucking clue what he's saying, and we're about to torture him for 5 minutes.
Yeah, probably.
But that's something I can't turn off in my brain.
Less than 50%. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is that exciting to you that there's like 50% of people don't have not watched a MrBeast video. Isn't that an opportunity? Like,
yeah, I guess it's an opportunity to grow. I don't
Yeah, it would be an opportunity to grow then. Yeah, that's actually there's a positive out of that. Yeah, sure.
know. Honestly, I was just kind of excited to hang out with you.
yeah, me too.
So
I mean,
today was a lot of
That's cute. I like that.
who cares if there's mics?
Yeah, so it's kind of like having a buddy to go along the journey as I'm just kind of eating shit and doing my normal grind. It was like kind of fun, and also you just say really wise stuff constantly. So honestly, no, I never even put any thought into the.
See, I'm starting to like MrBeast a little more. You know, that's you gotta say that the Lex is like the great humanizer. You know, I think if anybody talks to Lex, it can provide a pretty significant amount of empathy towards them.
Like the demographics or what I could gain. It's just interesting because like my retention brain, when you talk about something, I'm instantly like, what value are they going to get? How many of them are going to be interested? What percentage of people do I think will lose? And I'm like running all those calculations in the background, and that whole conversation, like anyway, it's just something I can't turn off. My like bells are like error. This is bad.
What are the different strategies for high retention for your videos and in general?
It's like how do you cook good food? You know what I mean? That's like the same kind of question.
I see. So there's so many different ways that so it boils down to, I mean, do you think at the level of a story, or do you think like literally watching 5 seconds at a time? Am I going to tune out here? Am I going to tune out here? Am I going to tune out here?
It's all of it. You need the overarching narrative, and then you also need the micro where every second, needs to be entertaining. And you basically, what's interesting is the longer people watch something, the more likely they are to keep watching. So you don't have to try as hard in the hypothetically back half of a video as you do in the front. Like even right now, we're so deep into this where a lot of people listening are probably just going to keep listening relatively close to the end unless we just have a really boring part of this conversation because they're just in it. They're immersed. And so a big, like to really boil it down to a simple level, you just want to get people where they're immersed in the content and then just kind of hold them there.
We had this discussion offline. And by the way, I should mention that this is like late at night.
It is. What time is it? It's 9 o'clock.
And I only slept 1 hour last night because I'm an idiot. Wow. And I flew to the wrong location.
Well, here, we're like, hey, let's just book you a hotel and a flight. He's like, no, I got it. We're like, you sure? We can just do it. We always do this. He's like, no, I got it.
He's going to have to rub it in.
I know. And then today, come to find out, he flew to the wrong airport with or a city with a similar name to ours. Just
same name. Yeah. Same name in a different state.
And I was like, that's why you should let us book it. And so he's on 1 hour of sleep, and he's literally been dying all day. Before this podcast, he downed like 2 things of coffee. We've been going all day hard.
Yeah, I've been got to interact with you.
It's interesting because like when I'm tired, I feel like it has a pretty significant impact on my content. Like I'm more quick to like anger and stuff. I'm usually sometimes I'm a little more like drab. It's interesting. I haven't noticed like a real difference from Lex. Maybe he's just a calm person, so it doesn't really have a significant impact on him.
I should say that this gave me an opportunity I got a ride from a stranger, and it was an incredible person.
Interesting.
I got to interact with him. So it's like this.
I love Lex. It's just like, yeah, I got to drive with a stranger. I had no idea who they were. Me, if I was a stranger, I'd be fucking sweating the whole time. I'd be like, I don't like this as a stranger. Lex is like, it was such a beautiful thing. It was such a new experience to hang out with somebody I had no idea who they were. It's like, wow, that sounds like my worst nightmare. You know what I mean?
There's so many kind people around here. It's just like this kind of southern energy. And then I got to go to a diner because I could, there's only 1 hour between me arriving and having to fly out. So I went to a diner. There's a really kind waitress that called me honey. So that was a beautiful moment,
I was so confused. You tweeted about that, and like Steele's like, Lex, my assistant was like, Lex isn't here yet. Yeah. And I saw your tweet, and I was like, he's here. Yeah. Steele's like, no, he's still flying. I was like, an hour ago, he just tweeted about a nice diner.
Yeah,
I didn't realize you flew to the
diner. It was a diner in a different state.
And then you had to fly over here. Yeah. So and then I called you. You didn't answer. I was like, I was like, something's not adding up.
Yeah, I feel like such an idiot because apparently the world.
I wonder why he didn't tell MrBeast instantly. I wonder if he was like embarrassed.
Has cities like Springfield, right? Mm-hmm. There's like every single state has a Springfield.
Oh, really?
I think so. Okay, I think that's like a Simpsons joke, right? That like it's the city in the Simpsons is Springfield, and I think every single state or most of them have a Springfield.
If that's true, that's kind of like an interesting humor point from like the Simpsons. Just like a basic humor point, And
the same is true for like Georgetown. I think I forget what the most popular one was. But there's like a list of things people get when they run out of ideas. They just keep using the same.
They're your Achilles heel.
Anyway, I got to meet a bunch of people from your team. It's just an incredible human beings. So let me just ask on that topic: how do you hire a great team? Like, what have you learned about hiring?
Well, he seems to have sometimes a struggle with hiring, right? I think he hires like different people, and sometimes it doesn't work out and stuff. But I guess it's like trial and error. That comes with the territory when you hire a lot of younger people. These young people can be a bit unreliable, even if they're more effective. There's a level of like loyalty that may not necessarily exist there. It's gonna be difficult
for everything for the main channel that you do. Yeah. For the React the gaming channel to MrBeast Burger to Feastables, all that.
Beast burger.
The big thing is, especially in this content creation, because it's not like anything that's done on Netflix or different content mediums. I really need people who are coachable and like really see the value in what I care about, because it's a very specific way of going about things, and it's a thing. There's no one like plug and play. Like if Netflix wanted to hire someone to do a documentary, there's probably tens of thousands of people you could hire that have worked on documentaries before. But if you want to hire someone to make super viral YouTube videos, like we do, there's just no one you can really pull from. Like sometimes I'll hire people from game shows, right? And they have all these preconceived notions about pacing and how a video should be, and you have to spend like the first year like breaking all these habits, and and they think they're better than you. Like a lot of people in traditional think they're better, and they think their way is better than what we do. And so for me, it's almost easier to hire people that are just hard workers, that are obsessed and really coachable, and just train them how to like be good at content creation and production, than to hire someone from like traditional, which is the only way to really do it, because there's not that many YouTube channels that have scaled up. So it's not like there's a huge talent pool of people who've worked on YouTube channels. So it's easier just to train someone than just pull them from traditional, because traditional.
It's interesting. That makes sense. I never really thought of it like that. I mean, I don't have any real reason to, because I'm not people, but that's a good point. That's an interesting point. Like seasoned professionals that like know what they're doing in their own media or medium would be very difficult to work with, because they may not understand like the correct way to operate on like a YouTube scale.
People just, I don't know, they have all these opinions and things, and they just think our way of going about things is dumb.
Yeah, so you want people who have the humility to have a beginner's mind, even if they have experience.
And see the value. Like actually, you'll still get it. It's so crazy. Like especially some of my other friends that are scaling up their YouTube channels. There's people that will come on and you'll ask them like, what do you want to be doing in 5 years? And instead of saying, oh, I want to be working on this channel, they'll be like, oh, I hope to be working on movies or this or that. And they see like working on a YouTube channel as a launch pad to go into traditional. And it's like, no, like you just don't get it.
This is the future.
This is the end goal. This is your career.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I could still see why some people would want to go into like movies or something. I understand that YouTube is definitely proving to be a competitor for some types of content. I don't think it would ever really displace traditional movie, because there's more money I think to be made in like like TV shows or movie in some capacity. Because there's a level of exclusivity that you'll get money to do your project. There's a buy-in for it. It's just like a different platform. So I could see why they may want to do something like that, but that doesn't necessarily, like YouTube could still be a very lucrative business to get into.
And so I'm just so tired of having those kinds of conversations. Like I feel like people really should be coming around.
Are there like recurring interview questions that you ask? Is there ways to get?
Yeah, but the biggest thing is like, what do you want to be doing in 10 years? And if their answer isn't, making content on YouTube, or, if their answer is anything like movies or traditional stuff like that, it's like just a hell no. Like it just.
Damn, he's giving away the formula. Now he's going to get a bunch of people. They're going to lie to him. Come on, bro, open up.
Won't even remotely work.
Oh, so you really want people to believe in the vision of YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, it's like, oh.
That makes sense. You want to find somebody with the same passion that you do have. I think that he's, in a sense, being a little unreasonable. People that might not have the same vision as him, in the sense that, like, you don't. It's still good to have that. Whatever end goal. It's not bad to have their end goal, but then at the same time, you obviously want people that share your vision, or else, like, what are you really doing? If they can't understand where you're coming from, then they're not going to have like a level of passion for your project, and there's no real reason to hire them. So.
Working here.
But like when he says something like supposedly like this is the future, like you're wrong, like it's not that like we disagree, I need people to see my passion, and there's some cases of it where it's like no you're wrong for having this passion, because this is the future, and there's probably a level of truth to that, but that doesn't mean that other things are going to fade out. It just means that there's going to be like different adjustments for like more traditional media areas.
You know what I mean?
So it's less about the medium and more about just being on a great team that's doing epic stuff.
Yeah, well, and yeah, the media as well, because it's hard to put it into words, but it's just two completely different ways of going about things. Like our videos aren't scripted, and it's a lot more run and gun. And if we hypothetically blow up a giant car or whatever, like you only have one take, you know what I mean? So and it's not scripted, and so you have to overfilm, overshoot things, overcompensate for like the dumb way of going about it. And a lot of traditional people would be like, well, just plan what you're going to say and just plan the angles. You can cut the cameras in half. You can save 50 grand here. You can save $75,000 editing, this and that. And it's like, yeah, but that's not authentic. Like that's blah blah. You get it. It's almost so obvious that it hurts to have to like constantly have these conversations.
I get that though. He's talking about like there's a more of a need for authenticity on YouTube. That's interesting. At least that's what MrBeast said. That's interesting. And so like there's like that's why you can't do like I guess cuts in some capacity, which is he's speaking to right now. That's an interesting perspective. Okay.
But it's what we live in.
But there's also detail, like there's a taste. Like I've watched a bunch of videos with you, and it's clear to you that you've gotten really good. I don't know what the right word is, style or taste, to be able to know what's good and not in terms of retention, in terms of just stylistically, visually.
I don't have to think. I can just watch a video, and it just screams in my head like this is what should change based on the million videos I've watched and all these viral videos I've consumed. Like this is blah blah blah. What's optimal and things like that. It's almost like your brain's like a like a neural net, and like if you consume enough viral videos and enough good content, that you just kind of start to like train your brain to like see it and see these patterns that happen in all these viral videos. And
it's so interesting because like for me, I have no desire. Like, it's interesting how his brain works. Like, he has a pretty big focus of like being, excuse me for yawning, or being like very popular and viral, which makes sense. Like, I'm not criticizing him for that, but like I don't have that same mindset where it's more like I like to do what I do, and then like I just want to find people who like it as well and have like a niche thing. I don't really care about virality as much as I used to, and part of that's because I just find it to be, especially in a commentary space, I guess, it can be very annoying. Just interesting the different way that he like engages with content, the way that he thinks about content.
So that anytime I watch a video or a movie or anything, I just can't stop thinking about what is optimal. And so it's like, it gives me a headache sometimes when I watch something too slow or I don't think is optimal. Obviously my taste isn't the end all be all. But that's something that kind of torments me, if that makes any sense.
Oh, you can't enjoy a slow moving
I can't. Movie. And that's not to say there's
attention on The Godfather is horrible.
Yeah, no, exactly. I've tried to watch that movie like 3 times, but and that's not to say slow movies are bad. Like, there's an audience for it. It's just obviously not what I've trained my brain to like. And social media and YouTube.
It's interesting. That sounds almost like a bad thing. There's something. Well, first of all, I can understand being difficult to sit down and really engage with and enjoy something, but you have to train your brain to enjoy those things. And a lot of times it just takes 20 minutes. You could sit down and like watch something that's really solid. And if you actually sit down and engage in it, you could have a really nice time. Like this is silly, but I'm rewatching Harry Potter with my wife because we went on like a nice Harry Potter like walk in like in the Enchanted Forest the other day. It was really fun. I mean, watching them all, they're all 2.5 hour long movies. But like if you really sit down and listen, they're actually pretty solid. They age really well. I know that sounds really cringe. I'm not like a Harry Potter fan, but like I'm becoming one at 32 because the movies become more mature. They match the age of the people that the age that people were when those movies came out. Like, they were made for like 13-year-olds. The first one's made for 13-year-olds. The second one's made for 14-year-olds. The third one's made for 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. It's so interesting because it's true. It's very interesting how it works out and it matures and it ages. There's some weird inconsistencies in the movies, but like it's very interesting how it's like written for people as they age, and it actually is very engaging. It's like, wow, that's like, that's something.
YouTube right now, like that's just not the meta.
And in general, like you said, in neural network, you're training your brain in part on actual data, right? So it's data driven. So you're looking at like in terms of thumbnails and titles and different aspects of like the first 5-10 seconds, and then throughout the video, the retention, all of that. You're looking at all of that for your own videos to understand how to do it better. So that's where the neural network is training.
Yeah. Basically, there are ways you can kind of see like the most viewed videos on YouTube every day and stuff like that. And I just kind of consume those every single day. And I've been doing that for way too many years. And then you just start to notice patterns. Like the thumbnails on the most viewed videos or videos that go super viral tend to be clear, tend to not have much clutter, tend to be pretty simple. Titles tend to be less than 50 characters. Intros tend to be this. Stories tend to be this.
Interesting. I'm listening. Simple. Or just something how I usually go for anyway. Simple, small titles. Okay.
And you just kind of like, after you see those thousands and then tens of thousands of time, it just starts to click in your head. Like, this is what it looks like,
So how are you able to transfer that taste that you've developed to the team? So for like, because you said like broad things, but I'm sure there's a million detailed things. Like what zoom to use on the face you use in the thumbnail, right? Like
the answer is whatever makes the best video. Because the problem is the more, which I have so many friends who are like this. They'll make like checklists for their editors. They'll make, this beat and this beat, and you need to have like a 3-part arc and then this. But the problem is that's how you, the more constraints you put on the team, the more repetitive and less innovation you get, and the more.
Interesting. I can respect the overall view because he looks for people that share a similar mindset to him or a passion for his mindset, let's say. And then he trains them in the way that he wants them to like kind of look and engage. And then when it comes to like the creation process of like editing and stuff, he kind of leaves it up to them because he's created people that have a similar mindset to him, but they're trained in his mindset, but they still have a different interpretation of his mindset. And he lets them have a little bit of fun and like play with what they do. Gives them a little more creative control, makes it seem more authentic. It gives them the ability to like feel like they're more part of the project. And it also encourages them to kind of like take risks here and there without feeling like they'll be punished, with also understanding that they want to do well because they don't want to disappoint their boss, which who does, right? Interesting. That's just an interesting relationship. I wonder if all these things are intentional or if he just like unintentionally like discovered some of these things and it just works for him. There's a interesting like methodology going on here.
Or like, after 10 videos, people are gonna be like, all right, I've already seen this. So to me, and I'm 24, and I'm probably, my mindset will change over the next 10 years. I just haven't been in this industry too long, but the only way to like really make innovative content and keep things fresh is to not put constraints on, or put as little as possible. And so that's why I'm very hesitant on all that stuff, because the more I say, the more they're gonna be like, oh, then that's what we do. And then I'll say one time like, oh, ideally there's a cut every 3 seconds, and then next thing you know, every video there's a cut every 3 seconds or whatever. So it's hard, because I try to give as little not training, but as little facts or as possible, and more just make suggestions, if that makes any sense.
You mean publicly or to your team?
To my team, yeah.
So you talked about sort of teaching your voice or your style, whatever we want to call it, to other people on the team so they can be kind of a MrBeast replacement. So what's the process of teaching that? So you don't want to...
No, I got you. So
it's like a balance between teaching them without forcing them. That's interesting. Like allowing them to have a little bit of creative control as well.
We're talking about like what I would call almost like cloning, right? Yeah. Like Tyler and other people like that. Yeah. So when we were hanging out today, I was showing him how we have multiple people in the company. It's almost like talking to the camera. To have
you turn slowly to the camera.
I was like, anyways, have it.
Is it weird to you to not be looking at the camera?
This whole interview, I constantly have been turning towards the camera, like I'm talking to him. Yes. It's a habit, because my whole life I've just been talking to a camera.
Who are you thinking about when you look at?
Not me, man. You know what's interesting is that like I used to be terrible at public speaking, which I think is normal for a lot of people, and I got better at it through I'm an Eagle Scout. Like I'm just comfortable, and I know this isn't exactly public speaking, but it's kind of is. I think that like a lot. That was one of the things I never really had to struggle with, was like putting myself out there, at least not to the same degree other people would struggle with it.
Yeah, the camera. Do you like imagine somebody?
I'm fully thinking about the person just sitting watching it, and I almost it's weird when I'm looking at the camera. I don't see a camera. I'm like in a haze, picturing what the viewer is seeing when they watch it. If that makes sense. And that's where I'll be saying things or doing something, and then like when I'm watching, I'm like, that's not what I want, and then I'll freeze up. It's very weird when I'm filming, and for people who haven't worked with me too much, they'll think like, I don't know. It's very weird, like how I go about it, because I'll just be doing whatever, like lighting a firework. All right, this is $1,000 firework, and I'll go to light it, and I'll like freeze, because in my head I'm like, this, I don't know, I don't like how that flowed or how that shot looked, because it's weird. I can perfectly picture what I'm filming by just looking at the camera and then putting myself through the lens of the camera while making content. I can do it at the same time.
So you're like real time editing
in my head. Yeah, that's something that didn't at the start come natural to me, but in the last probably like 5 years, it's happened. And so I would say it's one of my greatest strengths, but I don't know how I developed it. But anytime I'm filming anything, like it's almost like the right side of my brain, I just can look at it and I see exactly what I'm filming, and I can just picture it.
Well, it's probably recording the video, being the talent for the video, and then watching the editing and like analyzing it carefully, and doing that over and over and over.
You 10,000 times. Yeah.
You do the editing more than the being in front of the camera. So like you start to see yourself from that third person perspective.
Exactly.
And then maybe that actually helps with the nerves of it too. Like you see it as creating a video versus performing. Right?
Yeah. I think so. It's weird. I've never been nervous talking to a camera. It's harder for me to talk to a person than
It's interesting. I understand what he's saying, because like this is one of those things where like when I stream, I don't really look at I very rarely look at the camera. So when I was trying to figure out how I want to do shorts, whether I want to just take clips from my videos and put them up, or whether I want to like do like a quick rundown on it specifically for shorts. It's hard for me to do it here because I can't look at the camera. But when I put my phone, I could stare at the camera. It's just so different. It's like just a slightly different space can be such an interestingly different thing.
Talk to a camera, which I feel like a lot of people say that though, that are whatever, make content, right?
Interesting.
I've heard that so many times. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm just awkward and dumb.
Maybe they're practiced. To me, both are terrifying, but being in front of the camera by yourself is
so much easier.
Really?
Yeah, so much easier. I prefer it a million times over. But that's my whole life, So it's just, that's why it's interesting. Like, you've spent more of your time talking to people. Yeah. It comes natural, and I talk to a piece of plastic.
Oh, yeah. I guess you're talking to a person too. They're just on the other side of the camera.
Yeah, they're just a pixel on a screen.
So cloning. How do you achieve the?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's all rabbit trail. So I was showing him that I have a lot of people in the company who are able to think like me and basically make decisions like I would make if I was like, if you were asked, hey, in this video, should we climb a mountain or should we dig a hole? Yeah. Right. And like, they would pick the same answer I'd pick 90+% of the times. And so like one example is Tyler, who I was showing you, and he was pitching some content, and like you could see like this, he was on point. And basically for just 4 or 5 years, we just spent an absurd amount of time together and worked on every single video together. And we worked side by side. And same thing with my CEO, James. He literally lived with me for a couple of years. I'm a big fan of just like finding people who are super obsessed and all in and A players that, they really just want to be great, and then just dumping everything I have in them.
And like you were saying,
makes sense. But then like it's good that it's only 90% of the time, I imagine, because then there's sometimes that they can come up with something that you may not have thought of. That's what like that different, fresh perspective can really, really powerful. The small moments where somebody disagrees with you could be like the most impactful part of your content.
Because I'd love to find that and develop that. You're saying you're basically for a long time just said everything you were thinking to them.
Exactly. Like James, the guy who's basically my right hand man right now, for 2 years he lived with me, and we probably talked on average over those 2 years 7 hours a day. I mean, anytime I had a phone call, I'd throw it on speaker and I'd let him listen. Anything I was reading, any content I was consuming, like really just training his brain to think like me, so that way he could just do things without my input, without me having to constantly watch over him or give him advice. And that's where we've gotten. Like, so for the first 6 months he didn't do anything. He just studied me and studied everything I cared about and how I spoke and blah blah. And then the next 6 months he started taking on some responsibilities, and now he can just run the company. And I don't ever really have to check in on him. Like, most of the decisions he makes are exactly what I would do. And so I call that cloning. I don't know what other people would, but it's just like finding people that are really obsessed and they just kind of really want it, and just being like giving them an avenue to like get it, if that makes any sense.
Another way to see it is you're converging towards a common vision, and that makes like brainstorming much more productive.
Yeah, it just makes it where I don't have to be so involved in everything, because I just have these people I know will think like I will, at least relatively close to it. So I can kind of almost be in multiple places at once, per se. And so these things that, I still approve every idea we film, and everything before we film it, all the creative, I approve it, but I don't have to like be in the weeds and nuances and do all this minor stuff. I can just let them handle it. I can just do the more macro things.
I got a chance to sit in to a lengthy brainstorming session with Tyler and others. Yeah. That was really cool. Can you talk about the process of that, of people pitching ideas and you pitching alternatives or shutting down ideas and just going plowing through ideas very quickly?
I mean, you kind of just described exactly what we did. Yeah.
I mean, but the ideas are really good. It's just tossing out like different categories of ideas and then also fine tuning them to see like, how do I change? Like thinking about the titles and the thumbnails.
I work so well off of inspiration. It's like that's something. Like give me any word. I don't know. Make it relative. Space. Yeah, like I went to space. What happens if you blow up a nuke in space? Or I went to the moon. I went to Mars. Right? Because you said that one word, it was able to inspire me to come up with 4 ideas. And so that's just it's.
Okay.
For me, the way to get 100 million views on videos, you need something original, creative, something people really need to see. Ideally, never been done before.
Is that true though? Do you really need to be original? Because I don't think that that's true. I don't think that he even adheres to that. And I'm not even criticizing him, because I feel like everything's been done. There's really nothing you could do that hasn't been done. There could be fresh takes on something, but one of his most viral videos that he said that he thinks will hit 1 billion views is a video. It's a Squid Games video, where like he copies the movie Squid Games. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying, like, do you actually think what you're saying right now?
All these like things. And so you need, like, if you want to consistently go super viral, you need just a constant stream of ideas. And the only way I've really found that I can consistently come up with 100 million view videos is to intake inspiration and then see what my brain outputs. And so that's kind of at its core foundation what I'm doing there. It's just like intaking a lot of random inspiration to see what spawns in my mind so I can output it.
But the neural network of your brain is generating the video, the title, the thumbnail, all that.
He thinks he's original. Yeah, I don't think it's... It's interesting listening to him, because I like MrBeast more as I'm watching this, but then also there's some things that I'll see that I'm like, this isn't actually... Like, you're not... He has really solid videos, but is it original? Or is he looking at like some trends and going like, this is a good trend, let me make something fresh? I think there's a difference between fresh and original. Right?
Exactly.
Jointly. Right?
Exactly. And that only comes because...
Like, updating it with the times from his like perspective, especially as a younger man. Who can, probably appeal better to other, like, younger people.
I spent 10 years of my life just obsessively studying all that stuff.
Because it seems like you would literally potentially shut down a video just because you can't come up with a good title.
Yeah,
or
100%.
A good thumbnail.
Or thumbnail. Yeah, I mean, that's what happened to 70% of those in that pitch session. I was just like, oh, what was one of them? Genius versus 100 people? Or
yeah, like maybe average intelligence versus genius, stuff like that. Or...
Yeah, I was like, what the heck is the thumbnail? Even if the title was good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many. But yeah, if people don't click, they don't watch.
MrBeast with a... going with a nice, silly, educated hat on, with a college hat on. Why not?
That's so interesting. But you developed over time the ability to kind of give it what makes for a good title? Short?
Not just short. It's also, I mean, if someone reads it, are they like, do they have to watch it? Is it just so intrinsically interesting that it's just gonna fuck with them if they don't click on it? You know what I mean?
So it doesn't have to be short, but
he legit went to Antarctica to sit there for a few days. He's definitely original. Oh, well, that's a good point. I've never seen anybody go and stay in Antarctica for a few days. It's never been done before. I'm not criticizing him at all. I'm just saying it's interesting the way he talks about stuff. But yeah, no, I don't think it's that original necessarily. It's not. He's not bad. I'm just saying, but that's not even an original thing anyone's ever done. But maybe for content. But it's seeing something else and then doing it. You know what I mean? fresh takes on stuff that's already happening. That's my point.
It has to be like you almost want to have a retention to word by word reading.
Ideally, it's a title also that you know, because the titles don't live in a vacuum, right? So it has to lead into the content. So ideally, the title represents content that you would want to watch for 20 minutes. So if it's a 20-minute video and the title is "I stepped on a bug," it's not gonna, because it's all of it combined. The click-through rate is going to be much lower than if it was like a 5-second video. People might click it. So you gotta, like, even nuances of the length of the video based against the title will affect whether people want to click it, because sometimes they just all add up. I mean, it's that, yes, ideally you want it below 50 characters, because above 50 characters on certain devices, you run the chance of it going ... So like, I took a light pole and I saw how many dollar bills I could stack on top, and they would just go ... because it's too long and you can't finish it. And that's the worst thing, because then people don't even know what they're clicking on. And so it's going to do even worse. Short, simple, ideally, and just so freaking interesting they have to click. And it is a good segue into the content, and it represents the length of the content.
Interesting. Okay. I think maybe I'll try to adhere to that when it comes to, at the very least, try to put something flashy as the first 50, even if it goes over 50.
There's probably stuff it's hard to convert into words for you, like I stepped on a bug versus stepping on a bug versus MrBeast stepped on a bug versus
well, I mean, that
bug stepping
it's funny
video.
you bring that up. So it's like, yes,
the bug stepping video sounds almost like sexual.
More extreme the opinion, typically the higher the click-through rate. If you can like pay it off in the content, then it just supercharges it. So like,
so you have a kind of estimate of the extreme.
Like this water, right? You're like, Fiji water sucks.
Yeah,
that would do fine. But if you said Fiji water is the worst water bottle, or the worst water I've ever drank in my life, way more extreme opinion would do way better.
But you have to deliver.
Yeah,
interesting. That makes sense. It's just, I wonder, like, how does that go wrong? I feel like for MrBeast, it doesn't go wrong. It's MrBeast. Like, he doesn't do, like, he makes, like, you know, fun videos and whatnot. But, like, in a controversial sphere, I feel like you have to be more careful about that kind of stuff. Being, like, super hyperbolic. Because you're priming your audience. But when you're priming your audience as MrBeast, where he does, like, fun, lighthearted videos, it doesn't really matter. But if you're somebody who, you know, if you say that, it's like this is, like, the word, I don't know. You say something really insane, it goes down, like, a potentially rabbit hole.
Yeah, but then you have to deliver, because the more extreme you are, the more extreme you have to be in the video.
Yeah, that's almost inspiration for you to step up.
Yeah, but you can be more extreme in a positive way. A lot of people, it's easier though.
For sure, yeah.
Negative clickbait is much easier than positive clickbait. It just is. It's so much easier to get negative clicks. And so
my mom used to say, when she would work for like White Castle, she would say that like a bad review is worse than a good review. Or excuse me, no, a bad review is more extreme than a good review. Obviously, a bad review is worse. I'm not an idiot. And it's like, you know, for every bad review you get, that's 11 people who don't want to, who will think negatively of you. For every good review you get, it's like 6 people. You know, I don't know if that was a statistic, but that was like basically how she communicated it to me. And I was like, interesting.
So a lot of people are just, in my opinion, you know, a little bit lazier, and they just take the route like, oh, well, this one gets the same amount of clicks, and it's easier, less effort.
The positive one is doing a large number of numbers of something. Like I spent this number of hours doing this.
Or whatever. If you just want to help people, or right, it's just harder to get 10 million views on a video helping people than it is.
I just try
to get 10 million views on a video tearing down a celebrity, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I try not to be super clickbaity in my titles. Sometimes I like to just go for like mediocrity. Not even mediocrity, just like calmness. Be like, you know, this is a thing that happened. I don't really want to like just go like fuck you, because that's the thing for like controversy. Like we talked about that Ethan video before where he was having the conversation about like sexual assault. And while I was, you know, I'm thinking about like, what do I want the title to be? I think that's important. I could say like I could say I disagree with Ethan's take. I could say that Ethan has the worst take on this topic. Or I could say, which one I'm leaning towards, like I disagree, but I understand. Like that's kind of where I'm going. I think for the title for that was like I disagree with Ethan, but I understand like on this particular topic, because whatever I say, people are going to walk into that video with the general thought of like this is what he means. So if I make a video that's like fuck you, Ethan, you're wrong, I'm gonna get a lot of Ethan haters come in and be like, yeah, see. They're not going to engage. Some people will not engage intelligently with what's going on. And they will interpret even the reasonable things that I say through the most unreasonable lens. And then there's going to be people who like Ethan, who are just not going to even like watch the video or be very critical of what I have to say, because they're going to interpret it the same way, like with the same energy as my title, and they may not engage. But if I do something neutral, like I disagree, but I understand where you're coming from, I feel like I could die right here and cry because I'm 28 minutes in and I'm so close to winning. I could have a much more productive kind of conversation there. That could be a lot better, and a lot more people might engage with it, and it could be like that's. And I think that's where I want to go with it. You know, for the people who do decide to watch, for them to be like, "Oh, I get this, I understand this." You know.
know what I mean, or whatever negative video you want to insert there.
Well, that said, most of your videos are pretty positive.
Yes.
So
but not a lot of people do those kinds of videos because they're hard.
Yeah, they're hard.
True.
Yeah.
Some of that is giving away money, right?
Yeah.
What's the secret to that? How do you do that right?
Yeah.
Like
give away money or
in a video to make it compelling. Is it so? There's a number.
Yeah, content time is a really good title. That's tough on my streams. I don't feel like giving away like what I'm talking about. Like I like to be able to come on without a pressure of having to talk about a topic. That's the reason why I'll say something like oh, content time instead of like an actual like here's what we're talking about today. Because then I feel like I have to talk about the thing that I said in the title, which sounds dumb, but sometimes I just want to come on with an idea of like this is what we're probably going to talk about. But then again, maybe we won't talk about it. Maybe I'll just chill and we'll just like we'll hit a flat vibe, a solid vibe. That's how yeah, man.
Or that is better than another number, right?
The higher number is always better than the lower number. Yeah, for the most part. And it's interesting. Like some videos will give away $1 million, some videos will give away $500,000. There's not really. I guess so. I'm retracting what I just said. I was more joking with that, but there's no difference whether I put 500K or $1 million. There's probably not even really a difference between 100K or $1 million. I haven't really looked into it. Like some of our most of the videos are not us giving away $1 million, and sometimes the $1 million videos just don't do as well as the other ones. So there's a certain point where a dollar amount is just a large dollar amount to an average human, and so I think
average human classist, but he's probably right. That makes sense.
I think that point is 100K. Like anything above 100K, the average human is just like that's a lot of money. Like it doesn't 100K and $1 million like doesn't really move the needle. If that makes sense.
I understand what he's saying. Like it's still a lot of money to people, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be $1 million. I'm fucking backing on him. I wish I could get another chest though, so that I could upgrade this items that I have.
Very nuanced piece of information that applies to very few people, but. Yeah.
Well, no, I think it applies. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. Our relationship with money is fascinating. Like, why is it so exciting to get? I mean, the times I found like $20 on the ground are like incredible.
Really?
I don't know why, right? Why? Why are you so happy? Like, what exactly is so joyful about that? I mean, it depends where you are in life, what the situation is. Yeah, I don't know. There's also a gamified aspect to it. It's exciting.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like why people want to see people win money. It's just interesting that past 100 grand, it doesn't really seem to make a difference. Like it's the same basically.
So you found that to be true with all the money you've given away? That
just in click-through rate. Like obviously, in terms of someone receiving it, $1 million changes their life drastically more.
Yeah,
like that's the difference. Like, if you wanted to, you could really quit your job. As opposed to 100K is like not really.
You could probably do like a scientific study, like a formula, giving away money to click-through rate.
Yeah,
there could be some kind of diminishing return.
It definitely the returns level off dramatically after 100K. That's 100K. Basically the premise.
What about 10,000?
No, there's 100,000. It's funny because this is such a small niche thing, but yeah, 100,000 does it from what I see in our videos get more clicks than 10,000. But the difference between 100,000 and 1 million is just so little. I think big number to a lot of people past that point.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so for 100,000, you can give an average salary, you can probably live for a year, given what the average salary is in America. So that's
the average salary is higher, but the median takes out the highest and lowest. So median is like 54. So you could live for like maybe a couple of years, which I wouldn't do. I would just take it, like save it or something. Sure. But also like there's tax info too. So if you get like 100,000, if you get $1 million in a year, you're probably going to lose like 50% of it to your taxes. But if you get like $1 million over 10 years, you'll probably be able to keep a little bit more of it. Still take it in that bunch up with different factors. Like you could invest that money more quickly and shit. And less. There's also inflation, but.
That's like that feels.
Yeah, I think it's also just more when they read the title. It's just like it's a lot of zeros. It's one fuckloads of zeros. Okay, click.
Yeah. Oh man, that's fascinating. So on the thumbnail side, again, that's going to be much harder to say probably. But offline, I got a chance to look at a bunch of thumbnails, and it's fascinating which ones do well and which ones don't. Is there something you could say about what are the elements of a thumbnail that work well? Or is this also deeply instinctual?
Well, that's where, it's the same thing. Like, how do you cook good food? But it's easier if you pull up a thumbnail and I could be like, that's why that's good. That's why that's bad. That's like an example would be like one of my friends, he just uploaded a video recently and I called him. I was like, what is this? Because he's a very, very smart guy. And in the thumbnail, he's getting chased by cops, but the cops were wearing yellow vests. So they didn't look at cops. So I was like, well, why are the cops in your thumbnail wearing yellow vests? It's like, that makes it so much more boring. Yeah. And he was like carrying a flag, but the pole and the color of the flag were the same color. So it's like, it's a lot harder to see the flag.
Yeah. What do you do with that? Do you just like edit it? Like Photoshop it to make those things go away? I wonder.
I was like, also you're wearing like a shirt with like 5 different colors. Like, so it's like, it's hard to tell what your outline is. And then in the background, there are cars. And I was like, well, if you have cops chasing you, why not make the cars cop cars? And, and it's like, because in my head, I'm like, dang, if you just did those like 4 or 5 things, the video probably got like 7x the views.
How much iteration? Because I also got a chance to see the number of iterations you do on just thumbnails.
It's a problem now. It's an addiction.
Is it? So you kind of There's a lot of the versions were really good.
Yeah.
How do you know when to like?
I love how when we pulled up that the burger one and we were flipping through them, you're like, that's really good. I was like, oh, that's version like one of like 1,000.
But even the sketch, the idea was good. Like already even the original idea is strong.
Yeah. So one of our coming up videos, we made the world's largest plant-based burger, and the thumbnail we were thinking is like me standing beside the burger because it's 6 feet tall.
It was interesting. I wonder. I feel like those plant-based burgers aren't any healthier for you because, you know, and you think that they would be, but they still like load them with the same preservatives. Just fundamentally, if we're talking, I guess from like a fast food perspective, maybe they're better if they're like all natural. But they still put a lot of filler in them. Like they put, they'll put like some kind of like carb as a filler. It's actually very interesting. So I wonder if it's really, you know.
That's what he's talking about. So like, just picture a giant 6 foot tall burger, super wide, thousands of pounds, and then I'm beside it, and then it's like eating the world's largest burger. Like that's just something you have to click. Like, so you were saying like, how would you describe a good thumbnail? Like that, you know what I mean? Like,
but I think you said the one I noticed first that was good, where you were very small in it. Relative to and you didn't like that one.
I needed to come forward a little bit, and also the photo we took was just my upper body. So they photo manipulated and created my legs in Photoshop, and that's why I said I didn't like it, because my right leg was a little like off. It was like bent the wrong way because I had to build those legs in Photoshop.
Well, I mean, does the physics in a thumbnail have to even make sense? I mean, you can just like exaggerate the head size and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, things don't have to be relative. Yeah, you can have a car in the background and be 3 times the size. Because every one of my thumbnails, my face is in the left side, very big. So brand recognition, so just people know. Oh, especially because now that a lot of people copy our videos, it's just nice to like, everyone else might make thumbnails like this, but this is mine. Yeah. And obviously we usually over deliver and do bigger stuff.
Would you recommend to other creators that want to make it big and they see MrBeast and they look up to you to copy some elements of you, or to really try to be unique?
I mean, like you're going to want to copy elements. Uniqueness is like almost impossible. You just want to have like your own, like you want to look at the successful stuff and then change the things that you like in some different ways. That's your best way to engage with the content. And just fundamentally like, oh, I like this person, but I'm gonna put my own flair on it, like your flair of who you are, that sets you up. Because if you make something exactly like MrBeast, then like what's the point? But if you make something similar to him, maybe the only biggest difference is that you have a different personality. That's obviously going to be more viewable, because there's people who like to watch other, like if you like to watch MrBeast type videos, chances are you don't just like to watch MrBeast. You probably like to watch a lot of different things like that. So, but you want to have enough of a difference so that it's like, oh, MrBeast video isn't available, but this person video is available. I'm going to go watch that instead. Because I can't watch MrBeast really, but
unique, 100% unique. You're not the next MrBeast, quote unquote. It feels weird saying that third person, but whatever, is not gonna do what I'm doing better. They're gonna just invent their own lane. Like, you're just not gonna do what I do better than me. I have so many.
There will be somebody who does eventually. Probably not now, but as you get older, you lose touch with like younger people, especially when you're making content for younger people. So there's gonna be people who do MrBeast better than MrBeast, like maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It'll take some time though. They'll put a spin on what's already going on.
I literally have the best people in the world working here, and I reinvest everything I make, even to this day. You know what I mean? Like, it's absurd the amount of money I spend on content, and I don't care.
And MrBeast might even want to step down and make somebody else the new MrBeast. So we never really know. He might see the writing on the wall years from now and then do that.
I'll just stop sleeping, and I'll just film every other day. Like, you're just not gonna beat me at my own game, and that's fine. You shouldn't. Like, I didn't get where I am by just beating someone else at their own game. I just found my own lane and innovated and adapted. And so, there's a lot of people that do copy me, and it's fine, whatever, do it. But just know you're not gonna get to where I am doing that. And so I'd advise you don't.
You give away a lot of the secrets.
Well, you also might start doing what he's doing and then like do different things in a different formula. It might start out not getting to his area, but as time goes on, you might get be able to evolve and change with the audience that you've generated through that.
Basically everything about how you operate. Is there?
I don't hold anything back. Go for it.
How do you think about that? Because that's pretty rare.
I think, and this is definitely not. Most people in my stance, I don't think would take this, or my position would take this stance, but I see every other YouTuber or person on social media, even because we're also focused super heavily on YouTube. But last year, we were also the most followed TikTok creator in the world as well. Last year, we were most subscribed to YouTube channel in the world and the most followed TikTok account in the world. But in general, I just see everyone else as collaborators, not competitors. I don't think giving advice and helping other creators do well in any way harms me. And I think it only brings more value to my life.
I can respect that. That's cool. I get what he's saying. Because like, that's one of the things, like if you work for the person, like they're technically everybody's competing with you. But that's actually, I can respect that. Because he's basically, I mean, the mindset could have been, I look at everybody as a competitor in some capacity, so I don't really like to work with everybody just in case. Like, that would be a really, I think, toxic mindset to engage in. But he said, like, no, I don't see anybody as a negative. Because, like, those relationships are still really good to have, and there's different ways they manifest. And you're introducing yourself to a new audience, and if that person generates their audience, then that's just, like, more people that would still be introduced to MrBeast later on in time. Yeah, cool.
How was it
Cool.
jumping on TikTok and trying to understand that platform from scratch?
Yeah.
So from being a successful YouTuber to understand a totally different algorithm, fundamentally different algorithm. What was that like?
It's interesting. Well, not even just the algorithm, just the content. Like I'm going from basically 15-minute short films to sub 1 minute vertical content. It's a whole different just ballpark. And so the first little while I was doing TikTok, it was just kind of figuring out what does MrBeast look like in the short form content. But recently we've really started to catch our stride and come up with some original concepts and figure out how to innovate over there, just like we did on YouTube. Because I didn't want it to just be shitty YouTube videos, you know? And so like an example is, we played The Rock for 100K and rock, paper, scissors, and the loser had to donate 100K to charity. We did, we went to random people on a campus and we offered them. So I said, I'll give you $100 if you fly to Paris and give me a baguette. And then they said no. And I was like, I'll give you $300 if you fly to Paris and give me a baguette. And I was expecting this person to say no and it go up to like 10 grand. And he's like, yes. And so he flew to Paris.
Oh, I saw that video.
Got a baguette and brought it back and gave it to me. And that across everything got like 450 million views. And because it's just really cool just to see this random guy get on a plane, spend a day in Paris, and we cut it up real nicely and bring it back. And so,
damn, now that guy's sitting there fucking like, damn, I could have got $10,000 for this. Damn. See, that's why you got to know your worth, guys. Got to know your worth.
We're starting to find just tons of original content over there.
But it seems like an epic video to make for 1 minute.
Exactly. No one on short form's doing it. That's the thing. It's like, it's just so funny because like TikTok's been big for a while now, years. And then, you know, as we started to really figure out things on the YouTube channel and get it cranking where I have some free time, we set our sights on TikTok and like, okay, what are people not doing? How do we make it better, put in more effort, make it?
Well, that's the thing is that when it comes to that efforts perspective, also like MrBeast able to come into TikTok or short form stuff with a lot of resources that he can just lose, and that's something that's very important to understand as well. Because the reality is that it's not easy to. It's easier to invest into things when you have resources. It's so big. I know that that's nothing. I didn't say anything particularly profound, guys. I know that, but follow me here. When you don't have a lot of resources, why are you giving me the same fucking item every time? Oh my god, I'm gonna fucking take my own life. Give me the clover every fucking time. Sorry. When you don't have the resources, obviously you can't make as many risks because you need a return on it, which is going to stifle creativity. TikTok doesn't pay people well enough for them to make risks in a lot of instances, and that's the point that I'm trying to make. MrBeast has the ability to take risks, and so some of these risks that he's able to take aren't like super like incredible. Sometimes it's just like I can spend a total of $5,000 a day to have somebody do something. It means literally nothing to him. Whereas you can't really have somebody do that in like a normal space because they simply don't have the money for it.
Good. And we did the same thing we did at YouTube, just different over on TikTok, and it worked.
You get 1 million views, you get $30. You know, so like, how are you really expected to do too much craziness? You know, you aren't.
And now we're the fastest growing or most followed TikTok account in 2022, and it's just funny that no one else did that.
And you're not afraid to do epic.
How could they though?
Big stuff. Which also during the brainstorming, some of the ideas you're like, that's better as a short. That's crazy.
Yeah. Can you remember one? Because I remember I said that a bunch, but I can't think of one.
All I remember is that they were like epic.
Yeah, there's really no risk for MrBeast paying somebody to go to another country and get him a baguette. It's like a no-brainer. It's just somebody throwing around their money. And like I'm just saying that there are some things that are interesting for MrBeast. Like I don't hate the guy. I never hated the guy. But I'm starting to like him a little more. But there's also areas of him where you can kind of see like his ignorance as a young person come through, where he's like, yeah, we're doing these things that nobody else has done. Why haven't they done it? Because you have a ridiculous amount of money. It's not easy to do that. You know what I mean? Like it's easy to make risks when you have no money. It's easy to make when you have a ton of money. You know,
videos. Like really, you're going to do that for a 1 minute video?
Yeah,
it's crazy. So like, are you posting similar content to a YouTube short as a TikTok?
Yeah, those we just double up. It's just hard. You know, what's actually pretty fascinating, and people who do social media listening to this will probably find this pretty interesting, is picture like the content creation meta 3 years ago versus now, where you can make sub 1 minute vertical content and it go viral on TikTok, it go viral on YouTube Shorts, it go viral on Instagram Reels, it goes viral on Facebook, it goes Reddit. You know, you swipe through vertical content now, and Twitter when you click on a video and you flip through it. So this is actually very weird. This is the first time in the history of, I guess, Western social media that one form of content could actually go super viral on every single platform. It's never been like that before.
So they're going viral individual. They're not like
I can post something on TikTok that will get 100 million views, and then post it on Shorts and it'll get 200 million views, and then post it on Instagram and it get 50 million views, and then I haven't yet, but you can then turn around and tweet it and it get tens of millions of views, and you can post it on Reddit and it get tens of millions of views, and Facebook can get tens of millions of views, and that just wasn't a thing 3 years ago. Twitter didn't have. Because a lot of you probably don't even know this, but when you tap on a video now and you swipe down, it just turns into TikTok. That wasn't a thing even a year ago. Reddit, that wasn't a thing a year ago. Probably 2 years ago, that wasn't a thing on Instagram. 3 years ago, that wasn't a thing on YouTube, right? With YouTube Shorts. So this is all new. And it's weird. I haven't heard a single person talk about it, but this is the first time where content can actually go viral on every single platform. And you don't have to write or film a video for Facebook, film a 12-minute video for YouTube, film a sub 60-second video for TikTok, write a tweet for Twitter, and post this.
Well, yeah, but I feel like that's like a little bit of a no-brainer, no? Because like now people are copying the short form content of TikTok. I know what he means. I think a lot of people on Facebook have been kind of like not really focusing on Facebook too much. But I know what he's talking about when it comes to like the people who will do like vertical videos for Facebook explicitly. Now, though, they just use Instagram, and they've been pushing that more, and it's easier for creators to make content on there. Because it's just like Facebook just shows Instagram now. It just shows Instagram Reels. So
this on Reddit, you can just do the same thing on every platform.
And the fact that your content has gone viral on multiple platforms regularly means that virality is not accidental. Or sometimes it can be, of course, but
it's just not.
It can be engineered.
So many people say it's...
Sure, it can be engineered, especially when you have resources and everything. For the average person, like virality is going to be something that comes and goes. Like, I just want to be like explicit. Like, most people are not going to have the same relationship with content that like MrBeast has, and you shouldn't necessarily, not that you shouldn't try, but you shouldn't stress about it, because not everybody's going to be like a content creator like that's on the same level as MrBeast. And you should, there's people like there are some people who can be consistently viral. They might be at a viral video every so often. It's not bad to do that. Like, most content creation is not going to be like you're putting out the best video you've ever put out every time out a video.
Luck, and they're like, you're just lucky or this or that. But what are we up to? Probably like 1,000 videos over 10 million views. Like, we don't ever have a dud. Like, you can call it luck, but I think it can be trained. I counsel YouTubers all the time and show them how to go from getting a couple million views a month to 10 million views a month very easily. And from even certain ones, like,
and I think that there's probably a level of like that counseling, just like, oh, this guy works than MrBeast, increasing their virality as well, for sure.
Just one of my friends, like, he was just really struggling, and so I just started showing him basically everything I know and just doing like once every week, sometimes once every 2 weeks calls, and he went from $10,000 a month on YouTube to over 400,000 just doing these little counseling calls. And so, I mean, people can make excuses all they want and say it's just luck or say, well, anyways, I don't even want to quote all the other stuff, but it's just, it is a teachable skill. It's a learnable skill. You can study your way to consistently make viral videos, no matter how small your channel is. Even if you have 0 subscribers, you could, if you actually studied hard enough. And like, basically, if you knew what I knew, and some of these, so I don't sound so arrogant, also like some of these other friends I have that I'd say are the smartest people in the world when it comes to content creation online. If you had the knowledge that was in our heads, you could do it very easily. I see people do it all the time.
Sure, but okay, yeah. So I mean, well, yeah, of course, if you had the knowledge in your head, yeah, for sure. That obviously takes a long time learning that stuff, and it's going to be different based on like different content. Like, obviously, there's some things that'll probably be generally successful for any content, sure. But overall, it's like a little bit different between doing this versus doing that versus doing this.
And what's even more interesting is I go on podcasts and I say everything I know, and these people are also very open. Some of them I know, it's all out there, and a lot of people, instead of just studying that and trying to absorb and apply it in their own way, they're just like, no, it's just luck,
So you do lay it all out there, but
some of it can be luck. I think it's reasonable that if you're like a relatively like decently established content creator, that like you might just need to be able to be seen, like, and people be like, wow, I really like this person. Or even if you're not, there's some people that make decent content, but they're not getting good feedback because like nobody sees them and they don't really know. And then that comes down to like properly advertising yourself, which is using TikTok and using shorts and using reels and using this and using that to be people to like, have more of a likeliness of coming to your channel,
I got to push back to one interesting thing. I think a crucial component of your success is the idea stage, the idea generation, the brainstorming I heard today, but getting really good at generating ideas. So it's not just the selection of the thumbnail and the title, that creative process. It's also just the engine of generating really good ideas.
Yeah, and the passion that you have for particular ideas. Like, let's say you're really passionate about, I don't know. Passion is something that is usually like somebody has, obviously, for different things, but you can't force passion. So if you have a passion for farting, you're probably not going to be able to make well, maybe you can, but you probably won't be able to make a super successful YouTube channel centralizing around farting. But if you have a passion for, I don't know, something else, let's say something Fortnite, I don't know, maybe you can, if you just that's part of the luck stage, is that you just happen to have a passion for the things that people like, and you like it as well, or something,
Of course.
And getting that, I mean, I would say that is probably the thing that needs to be trained the most for most creators, right? That they just don't put enough ideas on paper.
Yes, but also a lot of creators also just don't which I didn't either for the longest time, just don't make good enough content, content that's worthy of getting 10 million views.
In the idea or the execution of the idea?
Both. I mean, like, think about how many people just make videos, they film them in under 20 minutes and they don't really put any effort into it. And like, it's like my first 500 videos didn't deserve to get 1 million views. Like, there's a reason they didn't. They're terrible, but at the time I thought they did, right? And I'm in the mindset of a lot of small YouTubers where I thought those videos deserved 1 million views and I thought the algorithm hated me. But I watch them back now and I can tell you exactly why. The videos are just fucking horrible. You know what I mean?
Well, so what was the breakthrough for you to start realizing, to start having a self-awareness, about these videos aren't good enough? You're probably still going through that. You're probably still growing to see. Like,
yeah, every 6 months you should look back and hate your videos, or at least see things you could improve and be like, oh, I could have done this better, that better. If not, then you're not learning quick enough, in my opinion, at least.
Where's the source of that learning even for you now?
It's
just look at.
I just got back from I just got back from a mastermind where I just got 10 of the smartest people I knew, and we just locked ourselves in a cabin and taught each other stuff constantly, every day. Not every day now, probably.
Yeah, it's a cool idea, but that's also like unrealistic for somebody that doesn't have a ton of money to be able to like take 10 days and just get together.
Every other day I go on a walk and I just call random people. I'll just say, teach me something. And I mean, it's just a
lot of this comes from him having like a lot of connections, which is cool. It's just, I don't know how much of this advice is necessarily applicable. Some of the fundamentals for sure, but it's like your average person
have to have a never-ending thirst for learning. Like,
because I feel like in order to like be successful, you have to first come up with like an idea and like a base of an idea, and then slowly start to navigate that space. But then there's also some spaces are just not going to be super duper popular for everybody. You know what I mean? Maybe not everybody will be able to do something in that space, coming up with new fresh ideas, which isn't something that really any of them do. They come up with like really good fresh ideas, not necessarily new, but it's not something that everybody can do. And you also there's a ton of different factors. It's very interesting stuff though.
That's very imperative, especially if you want to get on top and then stay on top. The only way to do it is just to constantly be learning, or someone who is learning is just gonna have a leg up on you in the knowledge game.
And what kind of stuff are you? Because you've talked about offline that you just love learning of all kinds. It doesn't matter. But in terms of videos, are you studying videos? Are you studying?
Recently, not as much. I'm more because to get to the videos I want, I have to build this business and scale up and hire. So more of my recent time has been like my teenage years were spent studying virality and studying content creation. Now I'm studying how to build a content company so I can actually produce the crazy ideas I want to produce, if that makes any sense.
So yeah, on that, the business side, we talked about hiring. Do you have trouble firing people?
No, I'm pretty sure almost every person. Yeah, actually, every person I've ever hired, we just give them severance, and I like to see it more as it's no ill will. Like if I fired you, if there's some other job you want me to help you get, I'll DM them on Twitter. Like, if you want to go work for, I don't know, insert whatever, MTV, give me someone to DM. I'll DM them. Like, I try to make it more like a transition. And
it's interesting. I wonder how much of that is like him genuinely, which I wouldn't doubt it, but how much of that is just like him not wanting to have people that were like have bad negative things to say about him, so he tries to mitigate it. Either way, it's very smart, and I can respect that.
Do whatever we can to make it as easy as
possible. And if something was just not working for you, because you want people, like you said, super passionate.
Because at the end of the day, if you hold someone that you onto someone that you don't see being here in 10 years, you're just doing them a disservice. You're just giving them more ingrained, more enrooted in where they are. And the sooner you do it and help them move on to their new life, the better.
It makes sense, because then also they might just start developing resentment. So just get it.
Given all the wisdom you have now, if you were to give advice to somebody, or if you were to start over again, you had no money, what would be the first 10 videos you tried to make on a new channel? I guess that's advice for a new person. And nobody.
Well, I mean, interesting.
Nobody knows.
I mean, I feel like the knowledge you have is so powerful. So even if he had to start over with all the knowledge that he has, I doubt that it would be like as difficult as like a first run around. Obviously, like even me, like I'm never a very big content creator. I was on TikTok. Did you guys know that? But like I don't like even building up this second new channel is not going to be as hard as building up the first one. I already have an audience or whatnot, but I also like people. I guess that's more of it is the audience that I have. If I had to start over, I wonder what I would be able to do.
Knows you.
Yeah, nobody knows me. Yeah, like hypothetically, I have a mask on,
and you also, I guess, don't have the wisdom.
But if I don't have what I have in my head, then I would say just fail. Like, just a lot of people get analysis paralysis, and they'll just sit there and they'll plan their first video for 3 months. And I'm any of you listening, if you, especially if you have 0 videos on your channel, your first video is not going to get views. Period. It's not. True. Your first 10 are not going to get views. I can very confidently say that. So stop sitting there and thinking for months and months on end, and just get to work and start uploading. Like
that makes sense. Just get used to like getting into the atmosphere. That's for sure. I can respect that. That's good advice.
All you need to do, this applies to people who have not uploaded videos but have dreams of being a YouTuber, is make 100 videos and improve something every time. Do that, and then on your 101st video, we'll start talking. Like maybe you can get some views, but your first
into my house
100 are going to stop. There are very freak cases like Liza Koshy or Emma Chamberlain who have really good personalities, and it doesn't take them as many videos. And it's
and sometimes, guys, you're just going to be too ugly to make content. Okay, so just keep that in mind.
like people who are 7'5" and making the NBA. Like, yes, there are free cases you can find, but for the average person like us, who don't have these exceptional personalities and backgrounds in filmmaking, just make 100 videos, improve something each time, and then talk to me on your 101st video.
Well, the improve something each time is a tricky one. How do you improve something each time?
Especially if you're not getting feedback because nobody's watching it, that can make it a little bit difficult. You have to watch it yourself and say like, I didn't like this about it, which could be very good. But then also, you're not everybody, so you may not necessarily know what to improve.
Second one, just, I don't know, put more effort into the script. The third one, try to learn a new editing trick. The fourth one, try to figure out a way that you can have better inflections in your voice. The fifth one, try to study a new thumbnail tip and implement it. The sixth one, try to figure out a new title. There's infinite ways. That's the beauty of content creation online.
Yeah, sure, but how do you know what a good title is versus what a good title isn't if you don't know anything? You have to look at other stuff outside of it, which you should do, of course, but
literally infinite ways, from the coloring to the frame rate to the editing to the filming to the production to the jokes to the pacing to every little thing can be improved, and they can never not be improved. There's literally no such thing as a perfect video.
So if you knew everything you know now, but no money,
step one would I just brainstorm okay.
Well, I guess you've never seen a Bailey J video, am I right, guys?
I don't have money. What are some viral things? The first thing that comes to my mind is something as simple as when I count to 100,000, which is what I did do when I was poor. And that worked. But what's something like that I could do that would be even more attention grabbing?
Yeah, you were, as part of the brainstorm, you would throw out a lot of ideas. People throw out a bunch of ideas. And one of the questions is this even doable? Right?
Yeah. First off, come up with ideas you think would do well, and then ask yourself later if they're doable.
Yeah.
Because there's different ways you can accomplish something.
Don't be cynical about the doability of stuff.
Yeah, because there really are so many different ways you can accomplish a goal. When we give away an island, we gave our 100 million subscriber island.
Yeah.
You can't find private islands that don't look like shit for less than $10 million. So this isn't doable, right? All right, the idea doesn't exist, not doable.
Well, I can do it.
Doable, exit off. But then you dig into it and you find different alternatives. And you find, okay, what if we just buy a $2 million island that sucks and then spend $1 million importing some sand? Let's build a beach. Let's import 300 trees. Let's build a little bit of canal. Let's cut some paths. Boom. Now it's a really nice island, but it's actually affordable because we don't have $10 million to spend on a video, but we can afford to spend 3.5 and lose whatever $1 million on that video. So that's an example of.
Jesus Christ, just imagine that. We could just afford to just lose $1 million on a video. That's fucking nuts. I guess that's a good advice for the average content creator. That's interesting though. Okay. Fucking Lord. Fucker.
If you just went off the gut test, you're like, this isn't doable. Every island's $10 million. We're screwed. If we go cheaper, it's just a terrible island. No. And so if you
hey, you might as well just flip those islands at that point, brother. I mean, damn, if you want to make some money. It's a little more affordable. Yeah.
There are so many different ways you can achieve what you want. You really got to push through no's, which not a lot of people do. You have to have a more of a dominant personality and just a willingness to, when people tell you it's not possible, and
you got to be incredibly lucky. Let's be absolutely real here. There's no way, you know what I mean? A lot of this is he got lucky when he was smaller, and then he had the time to sit down and invest into figuring out how he wanted to operate his content moving forward, which is a really good thing. And then that's just kept building upon itself, and he has a lot of money now. But there is a profound amount of luck because there's probably there are people who are anybody. None of us are super duper unique. A lot of times it could be just a small thing. There's somebody that could be doing exactly what I'm doing right now, but they're just not able to do it because one small factor, maybe one life experience I had puts me above them, which could have been anything, or maybe just slightly, maybe the look that I have is just slightly more conducive to being something. Maybe there's somebody who's a little younger than me, but they don't look as credible because they don't look because I'm older. So there's good and bad things that come with being older, and there's a perception of wisdom for all people who are older. All these little small factors that build up, and maybe somebody just like MrBeast, but they decided to shave and it just made them look fucking weird. There's so many little things. MrBeast looks older than he is, so he probably gets some of that. Some people probably think he initially was a very he's not unintelligent, but probably thought he was a little older, and so they might have respected that more and be like, oh, I'm gonna watch this guy, and it turns out he's younger, and you're like, wow, that's surprising. But if somebody was his age with the exact same mindset, but they just looked to their age, that could. There's so many crazy little things. It's interesting to think about, but it's interesting. There are a lot of factors.
Actually, go through all the variables and eliminate them all yourself.
Have a stubbornness and a resilience to failure, maybe.
For what we do in creators online, it's very imperative that you have that a no isn't a no to you. You really have to think and just,
that's bad. No, it's not. Oh, jam.
We take a personality test, and just having a dominant personality is a better indicator that when someone tells you, oh, there's no way you're gonna build a brick wall for under 100 grand, you'll be like, okay, and then still go check the next 10 vendors and
people tell me that all the time.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
he does look like
What advice would you
36.
give to an already established channel, like with 1, 2, 3, 4 million subscribers? How to like 10x it, like increase it, without losing maybe?
Yeah, that's where it's very specific, like channel by channel. You can't give general advice.
Okay.
Yeah, because if I do, millions of creators are gonna see this and then they're gonna do it, and I'm gonna fuck them over. You know?
Oh, I see. So let's say I had like 2 million subscribers on this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, how would you 10x that without sacrificing what it is?
10x your stuff.
Does it matter?
I don't know if you could 10x Lex Fridman without sacrificing what it is. More effort and energy into clip work. I don't think that there's anything that you could really do to improve like Lex's channel, in his sense, because like especially with personality channels, like I don't think, and like, you know, for me, you could probably be like, oh, you should have more editing on your content or something. You know, maybe you could play less video games while you play. Like you can make these arguments, and they might actually be like, they might help in some ways, but like I wouldn't enjoy the content as much if, you know, like if I didn't play games while I did it, for instance. It's part of what makes the content enjoyable for me, so I don't really care. But for Lex, like he's pretty well edited, and he does like long form like conversational pieces, and I don't think there's really anything that you could necessarily do to improve it. Like, you know, maybe try to find guests, maybe get better questions, but the questions always seem to be pretty solid, thoughtful, and well put out. So it's more of just, you know, make more shorts type content would be for that probably.
Matter. So you've talked about what success.
Yeah, it's different for everyone. Like, is 10xing your definition of success?
No.
Well, then it's gonna right off the bat. It's hard because if you don't give a shit about 10xing, it's even harder for 10x. He does this because he likes helping people. That's one thing I've found throughout this day. Every time I talk data, it's so funny with him because it's like, you know, you could do this to get more views, and he'll just be like blank. Like that doesn't register anything. Yeah. He just like doesn't care, which is it's really. Cool.
I'm really nervous about that. I'm really nervous about the numbers affecting, because it's so fun.
Yeah,
it's so fun to focus on the numbers, and
sometimes you've almost peaked with exactly how you want to do it. Like maybe Lex has hit that point where like he's really well established and like nothing would make it better for him. Maybe he get more views. You know, like for instance, I would imagine one of the things that that MrBeast probably said was the title of Lex's stuff. Like I don't know how many characters it is. We'll go to YouTube and I'll just like have it count for me because I am not going to count it because I'm a big fat fuck. But his titles, based on what we heard, they're not particularly in depth. And they're just kind of chill. So the characters on this are 85, right? There's 85 characters on this. So MrBeast might be like, yeah, you should try to get that down. And then also they're talking about like more provocative titles. You know, all this says is MrBeast's future of YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. That's not particularly catchy. So he might want to change that. But then like you sacrifice, especially in like a more commentary space, you sacrifice some of your credibility. If you get too like clickbaity and weird about stuff, people may not respect it as much. You know, for Lex, it's like, this is what we're doing. The thumbnail, if I go to his podcast, the thumbnail is very basic. It's just MrBeast 351 Lex Fridman. That's it. There's nothing particularly crazy about this thumbnail. That's it. But you know, works for his brand. And so those are things that MrBeast could say to be like, oh, I think it can make it better. But you do have the potential to ostracize some audiences if you do those types of things, especially if like you're starting to have a focus that's like making as much money as possible rather than necessarily like maintaining. Because I respect Lex. I don't think that I would dislike him if he did something like that, but it could have like the negative impact in some different ways of being like a little too flashy, a little too clickbaity, a little less mature, because clickbait is immature. It doesn't mean it's bad, you know, it works for some people, but like, I don't think that my audience really resonates with clickbait very much. And I prefer an audience that doesn't really resonate with clickbait. And I've done a little clickbaity stuff here and there, but I try not to, honestly, because I find it a little bit cringe sometimes. You know, so there's just different things. Maintain his shit, probably more shorts content, but I think he already does that.
I'm really worried about that. But at the same time, you should be.
Yeah. If I do a little clickbait, it's like medium spice salsa. That's a good point. You know, I might put something a little, sometimes a little bit extra in there, but it's like very, very limited extra, you know? So
cognizant of that, because you've created not just some of the most watched videos, but some of the most amazing videos ever. So there's a strong correlation there. It's not like you're selling your soul to make a highly viewed video. It's actually, if you look at the metrics, it helps you understand what is compelling and not. And so I feel like I feel like there's some value to investigate what work, when people tune on and when not, to be more data driven, even on podcasts. But I'm really afraid of that.
On the flip side, I think part of the appeal is that you don't care about that kind of stuff.
But there could be stuff that doesn't have to do anything with that, and it has to do with stylistic choices of lighting and cameras, or maybe with
maybe like background. I suppose that could be like a more reasonable one, like a more professional background setting, I suppose.
For example, topics.
Yeah.
You know, like
even what you've asked me here is like different than what most people ask me.
Yeah, so it could be. I mean, and it'd be nice to understand that. But yeah, again, I'm worried about polluting the creative
At the
process.
end of the day, it's this is a true case of it's your own intuition. Like
Yeah.
you know your viewers better than anyone.
I think for Lex, he just needs to keep on keeping on, you know, and just like put his stuff out. Like for me, like I know that there's things I could potentially improve, but I'm pretty happy with my content. Like if I did anything, maybe I should like make this look a little, my background look a little bit better, maybe get a better camera quality. But like a part of this, the content I really enjoy is that I come on and I'm just some guy that's not terminally online that like watches content and reacts to content, and that's what I am and what I like to be. And I think for me, it's just like getting more people to see that. What the hell? Always 25. But yeah.
One else.
Sorry,
it's whatever.
See, I'd like to push back on that. I really don't.
You do.
I
Who
don't.
else? Name one person who knows your viewers better than you.
Somebody that looks at numbers of podcasts.
No, you know your viewers. You know you're the only. How many episodes have you done?
350.
Exactly.
Maybe Lex is like lacks a little bit of confidence.
But I'm not
You're the only one who's watched every.
More light. Honestly, I could probably paint my walls a darker color and then put more light up, because if you see there's bizarre reflections, the window behind me will reflect sometimes. This window over here will sometimes have bad reflection. I should probably do it in like a basement room. There's a lot of like things like that I could change, but for me, like I like to engage in the 80-20 rule. So like my content is like overall what I'm doing is like 80% that matters. The micromanaging is something that I could implement at some point, but like right now I don't really feel like moving all my shit to the basement and drilling a hole through the floor so that I could put my shit downstairs, and there's just like that would be a lot of upkeep.
Second of all, 350 of them probably.
Okay, that's just not I haven't. But
because you did it, so you do know what's in all of them. It's sure, your content is you. People, I'm telling you, you do, and this is just one of those moments where you're an intelligent guy and you just have to trust your like instincts. Like just think, what is the typical Lex viewer and what do they want?
I don't think like that.
But that's all you would have to do, and whatever your gut tells you, that would be the best guess.
You don't know what the typical viewer is, though. I don't, because to investigate that would be very, very difficult, and then you have to start looking at the numbers. You have to start to like consider the demographics. Yeah. The only way I know that anybody even watches it is because I'll sometimes run into people like when I run along the river, and they'd be like, "I love you, Lex." It's like, okay, well that's a data point, and they're like,
well, maybe ask your fans what they enjoy about it. I enjoy, for Lex personally, what I really enjoy about Lex Fridman is that his conversations are very thoughtful, and he has a lot of emotional intelligence. It's something that resonates a lot with me. And there's a pretty heavy emphasis on like love. I know that sounds really cringe, but as a guy who's getting older, those are things, and looking at the problems, especially that young men are facing, I'm seeing that like that type of message is profoundly impactful when it comes to like young men need to hear that. Young men need to hear like love, like what's the power of compassion and love and communication and building, relationship building, and these are things that young men need to hear. And like I respect Lex Fridman for very unapologetically and confidently, you know, communicating his message of love to people. And I know it sounds gay and cringe to a lot of you guys, but it's the truth. It's very powerful. And when we talk about issues that impact men, it's that lack of a focus of love and emotional intelligence that is so profound, and it's like so necessary. And there's a fear of it. I think that there's a fear in young men of being emotionally intelligent. How could you be compassionate? That's not you know, a lot of part of what it means to be a man traditionally is thick-headedness, and like, you know, kind of banging your head against the wall without any emotional intelligence. There's even a part of it that's really interesting. I've had discussions with my wife about this, and this is going to be a little bizarre, but like follow me here and you might actually understand what I'm saying. I talked to my wife about, you know, Ned Stark, spoiler alert, how Jon Snow is not actually Ned Stark's kid. It's his nephew of his sister. And what happened is that like his sister had the baby, and then he found her sister and she was dying. And she's like, don't tell anybody that this is my child. And his absolute devotion to that kid is something I respect and always defend. My wife thinks that's stupid, and I'll explain why. But my wife says, I understand that, but why not tell his wife? He should be able to trust her. To me, I'm like, no, it's just the overall point of don't tell anybody. But that fundamentally does lack emotional intelligence, because if this is your wife and the person that you confide in, why didn't Ned ever tell his wife? And it's for that like very like non-emotional, non-emotionally intellectual conversation of like, because it's the wrong thing to do because they said something. But the reality is a lot of issues could have been dealt with if he had just told his wife. He wouldn't have told anybody. She was fiercely loyal to him, and he knew that. And it's like interesting how the story could have shifted if Ned Stark just had a little more emotional intelligence. I know that's such a bizarre point to bring up, but those are the decisions that seem so stupid and trivial. Those are the decisions that we really make up. Like, it's those little bizarre day-to-day interaction decisions that we make that really build us as people. And it's like, how would you have interacted with this? You know, I think I just fucked myself. Oh, shit.
Cool people, but you know, I don't know. Like, I don't have any other. It's difficult, man. It's difficult to know. It's difficult to know who listens to podcasts. It's difficult to. Do you have a sense of who's? I mean, like, you're so huge that everybody watches.
Yeah. But no, I still do. I'd say.
Yeah, my wife even likes MrBeast. She's like, I saw him on like a clip or something, and he seems like a really nice guy that does like a lot of nice things and he did stuff. And then I told her that that he would translate all of his videos into different languages. She's like, that's so cool. That's awesome. You know, that's so a lot of people know who MrBeast is.
Say, if you were to just put a gun to my head and you're like, all right, we're gonna pick a random person that watched your last video, and you have to like roughly guess what they are, and if you're not close, we'll kill you. I would say probably like a teenager that plays video games. Like some like that would be probably the typical one. And then there are people that are maybe a little bit younger. A lot of people that are older as well. But in a random sample size, yeah, it's probably like a male boy that plays video games. Like, that's the best way I would describe it.
Doubtful, frankly. I don't think MrBeast in this instance knows what the fuck he's talking about. That's who he thinks watches Lex Fridman. Wait, hold on. Maybe listen to that.
We'll kill you. All right, we're gonna pick a random person that watched your last video, and you have to like roughly guess what they are. And if you're
I don't think that the average Lex Fridman person is a young boy. His last video was George Orwell 1984, like a review breakdown.
There was truth, and there was,
or he's reading it. I don't know. I feel like that's just not right. Maybe I'm wrong, but that doesn't really feel like the person. It's probably somebody a little bit older, probably closer to Lex's age range. I would say like I'm probably a more typical like average viewer of Lex Fridman. Somebody that's like, you know, I'm in my early 30s. Somebody that's like not super old, but like I'm getting up there in years. You know, that's probably who it is. Somebody around his own age. Like, if you had to ask me, I think that there are like a lot of younger men because I make silly, funny jokes, but I also talk about some of the issues of struggles with men. And then there's also a lot of women who follow me, usually like a little bit older women who can appreciate that perspective of like an older guy telling young men to like respect women. Like, you know, it's not exactly the most profound thing that I'm saying, but hey, like, you know, the bar's low. And they also respect my wife, and they like that. Like, I listen to love and respect my wife, which is a very, you know, important thing for a lot of women, that like a guy cares about women. Hot take. You know, that's who I think is more. I think Lex is like, I don't know. Let's. But I think MrBeast is just kind of wrong about that. He's 39. Oh, he's 40. He's almost 40. He looks a lot younger. Yeah, I think still like, you know, guys, he looks like he's in his like early 30s, maybe even late 20s. I look like shit. Fuck. That's who I think is engaging with it more than anything else. Also, what the fuck? Why isn't this evolution happening?
If you're not close, we'll kill you. I would say probably like a teenager that plays video games. Like some like that would be probably the typical one. And then there are people that are maybe a little bit younger. A lot of people that are older as well. But in a random sample size, yeah, it's probably like a male boy that plays video games. Like, that's the best way I would describe it. But I don't try to pertain to him. I just make whatever I think is interesting and good content.
Or is he talking about his own audience? I thought he was talking about Lex Fridman's audience. Maybe I'm just wrong.
And this is what we were talking about before. Even though hypothetically 35 to 40% of my audience is women, which is, you know, less than a majority. If we get 100 million views a video, that's still 30 to 40 million females that watch every video, which is probably the largest, you know, views per video for women on the whole platform, which you wouldn't think that, you know, like I can't think of a single other creator that gets more women to watch their videos than that.
Sure, probably true.
And so it's just like anything, even like people above the age of 30, even if it's only like 3 or 4%, that's still 3 to 4% of 100 million views is a lot of people that age. So we hit a large group of kind of every demographic. If that makes any sense.
So what if we look at other, maybe more challenging kinds of channels, or not? But if we look at educational, for example, like lectures, or if we look, educational, it could be short videos. Like, how would you
have a seizure
10x that? Like something on robotics, on biology, on science, on engineering, on all of that. That's more educational focused.
We would honestly just have to pull it, because it's the same way if you went to Gordon Ramsay and you said, how would a new cook better? You know, it's like,
so even then, that's not even specific. You have to go channel by channel.
You really do, or I'm giving horrible advice, because if there was these just golden rules, everyone would do it. You know what I mean? Like, if there's these magical little principles.
How quickly, when you look at a channel, can you kind of give advice?
Yeah, it's like surface level at the start, and then the more, if we watch 10 videos, I feel like I'd have a good profile, and I could tell you, in my opinion, you know, especially once I look at the analytics and I get more ingrained in like, okay, the typical viewer is this, they're from here, here's how they're feeling, you know, because there are people who make videos for rednecks, and like the rednecks taste of content is just so much different than
Rednecks. This guy's being classist again. Oh my goodness, but he's right.
Obviously, women watching makeup videos, which are so much different than, you know, teenage boys watching a Minecraft video. They're just all different. So the biggest thing you have to do is put your head in the headspace of the viewer and see the content how they would. Because if you just try to only give your taste, which is what a lot of people do, and things from your perspective, it's very biased, and It's just not going to work for everyone. And that's actually how you do more harm than good, which is something I'm very careful of.
Yeah, but at the same time, just generating a lot of ideas. I think the first time I've talked to you was on Clubhouse, actually. Yeah. And I mentioned something about robots, and like almost immediately went to generating a bunch of ideas around robots.
Easily.
It's just
100 robots versus 100 humans. Yeah. How far can a robot throw a potato?
I think your idea, like the first idea was because you just said so many ideas I never even thought of, but it shows the value of basically brainstorming with people that think differently.
But at the end of the day, my ideas are probably, you know, might lean towards some people a little bit younger than your audience, like some of the stuff.
But there's still ideas. Like I think the first one you said, because we're talking about quadruped, like robot dogs. You said to replace a biological dog with a robot dog and see if the owner notices something. You were just quickly brainstorming different ideas of like how.
This was years ago. I remember that. Yeah.
Which is just, I mean, it's like, oh yeah, I never really thought about that kind of. So it's the tension between what does it take for a robot and an AI system to replace the biological systems that the biological creatures that we love in our lives. Yeah. But like that was like the pace of idea generation was the thing that struck me today and in general. It's like that's how you get at good videos is you keep thinking.
It's much easier to make a video around a good idea, obviously, than a bad one. You're just setting yourself up for success.
Okay, so that's for 10xing already popular channel. What's the hardest number? You said the numbers that matter is click-through rate, average view duration, and surveys. What's the hardest number to optimize for?
Probably surveys. You know,
do you have an insight into the surveys at all?
No, not really. But if you just click on a bunch of random videos online, you'll eventually get a survey. Was this video transformative, heartwarming, inspiring? What people rate does make a difference. And it's like you can get people to click a video, you can get them to watch it, but you can't really fake whether or not they're satisfied. Like they don't lie. The surveys, you know, maybe one person here or there might troll, but once you aggregate enough, it's a pretty clear telltale of the video. So either you're making a great video or you're not.
What is it? Minimizing the non-regrettability.
I have another revive. Holy shit, I might actually get this. Sorry, right now I have like an item here. It's this here. I forget what it's called. Basically what happens is that like it'll freeze him for a period of time and then it'll cut his health in half. The thing is that what I'm usually supposed to combo with this is something that makes me like basically immortal, which I wasn't able to get the pieces for it. So like I have to hope that I'm able to do. I'm not gonna be able to do it. Well, never mind.
Yeah, I think Elon tweeted that that's what he's tried to do on Twitter.
For Twitter, and that's interesting. That's basically the survey metric. How happy you are that you've been using the platform.
Yeah, Elon tweeted, "We want to limit the amount of regrettable minutes people spend on Twitter." And the first thing I thought was like,
impossible. All minutes on Twitter are regrettable.
Like that's something YouTube already has unlocked. Like their whole survey system and feedback loop.
How tough is it to take on YouTube? You think? Like
for Twitter?
Yeah, for Twitter, for anybody else.
I mean, it's going to be basically impossible. I mean, YouTube's not going anywhere, and I mean, I don't know. I don't.
YouTube has a really solid monopoly on long form content, and they have a really solid business practice of, in my opinion, and you could shit on this as much as you want, trying to do their best to find a balance between satisfying their viewers versus satisfying their creators. And you have to, is objectively exist because YouTube is the first platform to start allowing everybody to opt into a YouTube like shorts thing. They figured out the monetization and they're actually trying to give a good percentage, I think it's 45%, to people who watch YouTube, to creators who make YouTube shorts. That's starting in February 1st. Everybody's already signed the agreement. No, you should have, or else you get kicked out of the program. But so starting February 1st, they're going to start considering all YouTube or all shorts for money, for 45% of the ad income. TikTok doesn't do that. They have a static fund that hasn't increased in years from the last time I've checked. And that is like, the money is going down because there's more people in the thing. When the first implemented, it was like 50 or $60 per million views. Now it's like 20 to $30 per million views because there are that many more people getting more views on there, and they just don't care. TikTok doesn't care about their creators at all. They don't give a singular fuck. I'm being absolutely honest with you. Nothing has ever communicated that. They take a significant amount of the live streaming money. It's upwards of like 70% or something. They barely pay anything in the creator fund. They reduced your ability to appeal for things. Back when I was on TikTok, on my main account, like when somebody would pull your video down, you'd be able to give an explanation as to why you don't think this video should be taken down, and they would have reviewed it, and a lot of times they would have put it back up. They removed the entire process to type a specific, hey, I don't think this video should be removed. All you could do is submit it for appeal. There was no specifics. Now they've started to implement a little more where you could say like, this is why. One of the reasons is this video wasn't pulled down off of another platform, which is referencing to like YouTube Shorts. which is that, and so YouTube is actually putting TikTok in this position where they have to start acting better. But YouTube is the one that like they started the Shorts platform after, and they already have a more improved system, in my opinion, on Shorts. And at the very least, you can see that they're always trying to improve. Like they're trying to have a better algorithm. I think that's separate from like your video algorithm. And they're also doing, I think they're making improvements overall to make like more viewership. They have a thing now where you can live stream, put videos out, and put shorts out all on the same platform, and like they're doing a decent job of kind of navigating that, in my opinion, and they're getting better and better.
Thinking anyone's going to do what YouTube does better than them, at least not in the next 10 years.
You asked on Twitter, would you rather have $10 million or 10 million subscribers on YouTube?
You probably prefer, well, interesting question. You know, so the average person, I mean, 10 million, it depends. If you got those 10 million subscribers because you made good content, you would prefer 10 million subscribers, obviously. But if like you were just given 10 million subscribers to make videos now, take the $10 million because you are not going to be able to make interesting content without going through like the struggle of it. You know, I wouldn't even be able to make content that would accrue me 10 million followers. I'm hoping for 100,000. That's it. That'd be cool. That's my goal. You know, I'm at like 18 right now, like whatever. You know, rebuild 100,000 people who like my content and engage with it somewhat frequently, whether it's every month, every week, every day. Because like I had a lot of empty followers on my other platform, and I'm looking to have like people who enjoy my content.
What would your own answer be at various stages in your career?
If I had nothing, I would say $10 million. So because with $10 million, you can hire some people and pump out content. With like a million or two, get 10 million subscribers, and then keep the other 8 million.
Sure.
So that's if you believe in your ability to grow a channel. If you
if you don't believe in your ability to grow a channel, then you shouldn't take the 10 million subscribers because you're just going to kill the channel.
Yeah,
so the 10 million is definitely a better question. Would be: would you rather have $1 million or 10 million subscribers? That's where it gets a little tricky because now it's like, you know, $1 million life changing amount of money. Sure. But you know, if you semi know what you're doing, you probably make $1 million off a 10 million subscriber channel. But there's a little bit of risk.
So $1 million might not be enough to build a strong team. Because you don't know how to do it, so you might waste all of that money.
Yeah, or they just keep it and retire. Yeah.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah, because 10 million is just so high, it's like, just never work again. Who cares? For the average human, that's so much money.
It's interesting to me also to the value of the subscriber versus the value of the dollar. I suppose, how valuable is a subscriber for, like what percentage of the videos, like how active the subscribers in watching the video? For you?
That's hard. I don't know. I was actually thinking more about the subscriber to dollar. Like if someone has 10 million subscribers, have they made $10 million? I don't know why that kind of popped in my head. It's an interesting thought.
Do you ever, when you analyze videos, do you ever analyze videos like we've talked about offline of other videos across YouTube in general, just to understand trends, to understand the social behavior? And all that
not all, but a lot of the questions are analytics based.
Yeah,
it's so
because I love it. I mean, it's just a giant social experiment, right? Like what people like to watch, what people share.
Do?
Yeah, it's like a fascinating.
So like I said before, what percentage of your audience do you think care about this kind of stuff, like this deeply about YouTube analytics?
I'm gonna play a dog. Sorry, I'm a little off topic, but this ability right here. It's a cat. I'm gonna get the cat ability. I'm gonna be a dog that uses cats as ability. That's cool. It's silly. Sorry.
I think a large amount care about curiosity and exploration of interesting ideas. So in that sense, this would fit it.
I love it. This is funny. This isn't me like trying to like. I love you. I love your Magnus one, and even your Hikaru one was really good. A bunch of other ones, but I think we're getting to the point now where only analytics junkies would want to keep hearing more analytics talk, and the normie is probably like they've had their dose of YouTube talk for the next.
No, I think it's interesting. I'm not even an analytics junkie. I like that the interesting questions, especially if you're somebody who's watched different MrBeast stuff, which I haven't, but he doesn't ask like the same stuff like MrBeast was saying. Like most people do are. I like the way that I like Lex's brain. It's very interesting.
Next 3 years. Maybe I'm wrong. Hey, comment if I'm wrong. I could be. I don't know your audience. See, this is where you would tell me, shut up. I know my audience, you dumbass.
And I don't at all. I just follow the thread of curiosity. And I think there's just a lot of curious humans in the world. And to me, it's like, so the question about analytics is the question of basically stepping outside of yourself and thinking, why the hell do I like TikTok so much? Why do I like Twitter so much? Why do I like YouTube so much? And getting, even if you're not a creator, getting an insight into that is really interesting. It's like what, because all these platforms are fundamentally changing the nature of content. People are reading books less. They're probably going to be watching movies less and less. They're probably
this is there's so many different. I think a big reason. Well, for TikTok is like it's so interesting, our relationship to content, and it's so bad, frankly. Like people will watch content instead of doing what they're supposed to do. It's like a procrastination device. They might wake up in the morning and be like, oh, I'm going to go on my phone, which means that you're starting your day later and later, which isn't good for you. Or they're taking a dump and they're looking at stuff, which makes sense. And then like they're doing YouTube just to have somebody talk to them. Honestly, a lot of times like there can be like interesting, informative videos, but like there's so many times, and I feel like part of it comes from like a little bit of an antisocial behavior in society where, you know, people are going, there are people who are going and watching people's videos just so that they have somebody to be in proximity of them. Which I think is definitely true. I mean, I put on some streams sometimes because I have nobody, like I'm not talking to anybody, and maybe I'm working. Maybe I'm doing a little bit of work, or maybe I'm just, you know, playing a game, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I want to hear somebody's voice right now. What a lonely thing to even just to think about it. Saying it out loud is pathetic, but it really is a lot of the truth when it comes to people's engagement, and that's why people watch streaming. It's a very human thing to try to subsidize, you know, closeness in your real life with like closeness on the internet. To have somebody to like talk to you. When I'm saying it now, it's so sad. And I'm almost ashamed of myself, but I know it's like such a normal human thing for people to do. So I'm not like that ashamed of it, but it's something.
Probably going to be watching Netflix less and less. Do you ever think about the sort of the darker side of YouTube and with shadow banning and censorship and all that kind of topics, especially if you see it in other platforms like Twitter that Elon recently highlighted the shadow banning that was happening, and in general the censorship that was happening on those platforms. Do you think about the role of centralized control of which information isn't or isn't made available through search and discovery?
Yeah, I mean, that's a scary thing. You know, what I understand why they do. A lot of times it's for advertisers. They'll be like, oh, well, I want to get this advertiser on here, and they won't be on here if they see that I'm doing this, that, or the other. And that for sure definitely happens. But then at the same time, it's like, you know, this is the new public square, and it's like you could potentially be taking away, you know, someone's ability to engage in this public square. Additionally, you know, there's the negative impact of banning somebody, and it almost has like the Streisand effect, where like let's say somebody that's a real abysmal person like Andrew Tate, you know, did he gain more of a following because they took him off of YouTube? Because now instead of being on YouTube and seeing some shit from Andrew Tate, they have to go to a new platform, and they're no longer going to be engaging in the algorithm on YouTube, where you could see a YouTube video about Andrew Tate, and everybody's just clowning on him in the comments, maybe, or there's discourse in the comments and stuff. But then again, maybe platforming on YouTube ends up having more of a reach there. It's so much shit. Thank you for the large gut membership, Brad Brenson. Papa, or Brad Bresson. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Papa Gut, as a pre-transition fan, back when this Papa was Papa Gut leftovers, I gotta say I respect the hustle. I miss the Christian content you used to do here. Oh well, I appreciate that. But, you know, we'll see. Well, we'll see. I've been a little burnt out on Christian. That's why I haven't talked about it. I try not to do content that I'm not interested in. That's one thing I really want to do, is I try to do content that I'm like legitimately interested in, because I feel like people will respond to it better because it's something I like. And then even if it doesn't necessarily get the views that, like a lot of views, I'm still happy with the videos that I make because I liked it. And I'm trying to, that's one of the, I'm trying to operate with a few different standards now that I'm doing, you know, that I'm rebuilding this channel. So I'm trying to do more things that I like. That doesn't mean that I don't do things that I don't like, you know. It doesn't mean that I don't do things I don't like. There are things that I don't like because my fans like it. So I'm like, okay, I'll watch this because you asked me to, and I like it because of that. But yeah, and I haven't been feeling Christian though. I don't feel like there's really much for me to say right now. I'll probably get back into it in like a burst, like months from now. You know, because I'm up to like episode 60. It was a hell of a reaction.
I'll be honest, I never really think about it. So
you just try to make fun videos.
I'm kind of more in my own lane, but it's not like that. I don't just specifically think about it. I just like a lot of stuff in general. Like I'm just kind of in my own lane, thinking about my own stuff. But you know, now that you asked, I'm curious. What are your thoughts on YouTube and that kind of stuff?
Well, I'm generally against centralized censorship or shadow banning. Shadow banning is the worst one, because not that the goal of creating a healthy platform where you're having great conversations and videos that are not spreading misinformation, that sounds like an admirable goal, but that's too difficult of a job for a centralized entity. That's too big of an
yeah. And then there's the misinformation stuff, and then there's also just like the videos where they do something that causes
well, you know, I don't know, because again, there was like legitimate misinformation and disinformation campaigns that were being led by Russia in the 2016 elections, and in large part to get Donald Trump elected. Not that Donald Trump was complicit in it, but there was clearly like quite literally objective. They would do like these farms where they would make a tweet from a bullshit like bot account, and then they would signal boost that tweet, they would signal boost that tweet through other bot accounts to pass along misinformation and disinformation. And something has to be done because that is like election security. I mean, they're literally engaging in propaganda routines. The problem is that like it gets to a point where there's this apprehensiveness, and I understand it, that comes from giving too much power and trust to one entity, and all of a sudden it's like you have these. Twitter isn't just a social media platform; it is like public square. It is a public center. It's a way people express themselves nowadays. So giving too much power to one entity, that's a scary thought. So those are really those areas that get like a lot scarier.
What happened back there? Where Adpocalypse, and a lot of creators' revenue plummets because people are doing videos that advertisers don't deem acceptable, and then now all these big advertisers are pulling, and the little guys are getting hit, and because ad rates dropped by 30%, and the person who just quit his job to go full-time content creation now can't sustain it. So it's like a lot of different variables as well that makes it so complicated.
Well, I think
because you have to. That's an example of needing to monetize or monitor these things. That's an example of like needing to do like some monitoring of this stuff, because if not, like YouTube's put a lot of work into making their platform advertiser friendly, and you need to. We couldn't make money, so there's like a back and forth.
Big thing is transparency, especially around shadow banning for people.
I agree on shadow banning. You should be transparent. Like, you should let people know it. Obviously there has to be some type of controls. People can't just post whatever. And so if you're pulling those levers, they should at least know.
Yeah, so they know how to improve their content. They can understand it. They can
exactly.
Yeah, sure. Like I think most people would want that. Like if I was getting shadow banned, which I don't think I am, but if I was, I'd want to know like, oh, we're doing it because you're fat. Like, oh, okay, I won't be fat anymore. So.
If it's a wrong shadow banning, like as a society that we should not shadow ban this kind of content, that means
exactly
you should be publicly discussing it. And
because if it's not known, then it's just kind of like, well,
yeah, sure. Like if they were more transparent, like if you are shadow banning somebody, then maybe it'd be like, hey, why are you shadow banning me? This is ridiculous. And then people could have the conversation. Maybe be like, well, it's because you stink like poop, and it's like, oh fuck, stink like poop. And we're all like, yeah, it's bad to stink like poop, and you're like, okay, maybe I deserve to be shadow banned. Let me try not to stink like poop anymore. You know what I mean? But something a little like just consider me saying that, and then also interpret it in a more intelligent, like more mature way, and you get where I'm coming from now.
Then who's pulling the strings, and like, how do we know they're not just manipulating things to get whatever message they want out there and silence other ones?
Yeah, and there could be sort of in the background government influence, which is where actual freedom of speech comes into play. That government should not have any control or be able to put pressure on censorship.
I don't know if it's a hard conversation, man. I don't know. Because like what if they are like in the 2016 election, what if they're trying to like stop legitimate propaganda that's like killing people? I don't know. It's hard to like give like a general prescription on these topics. It's like a case by case basis, because I do think that they should be suppressing like disinformation if it's like obviously very active, but I mean that's a whole conversation, right?
Of speech. And it gets weird if none of that is there's no transparency around it. Yeah. But to be fair, that's a huge responsibility. The amount of content that YouTube is uploaded on YouTube that is shared.
Very cool. Sorry, I'm gonna get into the game again. There's this eye ability that I have. It's a mixture between the cat and the stone mask, and it picks up XP for you, which is like a part of the game. I didn't even realize that. That's very cool.
Shared by YouTube, viewed by YouTube.
But even more of a reason why it would probably make sense to be transparent.
Yeah,
because then people can help fact check it.
Yeah, that's right. But that requires building a platform that makes that easy, right? Like to make fact checking easy, to make like Twitter now has like being able to share context and all that kind of stuff. That crowdsource it. Crowdsource is the way Wikipedia crowdsource it. I mean, it's right.
And then you open a random Wikipedia article.
But like, people criticize Wikipedia because there is a political lean to the editors of Wikipedia, and then there's some articles that definitely have a bias to them and all that kind of stuff. It's a difficult problem. It's a difficult problem to solve. That ultimately, as much as possible, it would be nice for the viewer to have control of that versus the entity that's hosting it. So for the viewer to decide,
figure that stuff out.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna make fun
cool videos. Yeah.
Let's go to Antarctica again.
How was that? How was going to? You just came back from Antarctica. I watched the video. That was fun.
I survived 50 hours in Antarctica. What? There are people who live there. No, okay.
That was a really fun video.
Thank you.
Ice road truckers. Am I right, guys?
There's a lot of things I can comment about that. But what was the hardest part of making that video?
The hardest part.
I can just imagine Lex sitting there with like a cup of coffee, watching that video, having like a nice little chuckle, and be like, wow, what an incredible thing. I'm jealous of it. Not in a negative way. Jealousy isn't always bad. It can be motivating, but what an incredible thing to be able to like know some of the people who do things and have like an actual more personal relationship, seeing like somebody that and that like maybe friendly with, and be like, wow, that's interesting. Wow, I like that. Like, wow, this is cool. Look at my friend MrBeast, what he made. You know what I mean? That's such a cool thing. Such an interesting thing. It is a level of personal. I mean, I guess that would be like that regardless of whether it was online or offline. But it's so interesting.
Was just getting out there. It's just so remote. And, you know, you land the plane on just this ice runway and it's so sketchy. And then once the plane takes off, you're just there. You're the most remote place on the planet. And it's very breathtaking. If you have the chance to ever go to Antarctica, I would recommend it. It was probably like in the video we climbed a mountain that wasn't named, so we can name it. And like standing on top of that mountain and just seeing
that's cool.
Kind of like nothing. And because once you get outside the outskirts and you get deep in Antarctica, there's no penguins. Nothing lives there at all. And so there's just nothing. And
maybe people shouldn't live there. I'm not trying to be rude. Fucking nuts. Imagine trying to live in Antarctica. There's also a huge problem with sexual assault out there. It's actually really fucked. There was like a woman, I think she was a native woman. They have, I think, like native tribes over there. Excuse me for being using words incorrectly. I'm not trying to be insensitive. And she was like choked out to the point where she passed out, and then the guy ejaculated on her, jerked off and ejaculated, and he got free. Like they didn't do anything about it. Fucking incredible shit. It's crazy.
Every direction it's just snow and these crazy beautiful mountains, and some of them stick into the clouds. And if you go during summertime, the sun never goes down. So the sun's up 24/7 and it's just like spinning in circles at the top of the planet or whatever it looks like the top.
Yeah, you guys commented several times how beautiful it was.
And so it's just very beautiful.
What about shooting itself, like the technical aspects of shooting it?
Oh, I mean, well, so somehow we lucked out. One of the days was like the warmest day in like forever that's been in Antarctica. It was positive degrees, but at certain parts it was also like -20, -30, and that's where the cameras, you constantly have to be switching out the batteries and heating them up and like putting them basically in like your pants, or they'll just get way too cold. And we were prepared for much worse, but it ended up being much better than we thought.
So for that video, but in general, maybe some other challenging videos, how do you go from the idea stage to the actual execution to the final video? Can you take me through like a full process of like we're talking about some crazy wild ideas today? How do you go from that to a final video where you click publish?
Well, I mean, obviously first things first, you gotta figure out the idea, and then it just depends. I mean, pick any video you can think of on my channel. I can take you through it.
Well, what about in a circle? You have to stay in a circle for 100 days.
Yeah, so for that one, step one
of the most
that just sounds miserable.
Popular.
Yeah, that video did really well.
Yeah.
So we problem is we have to this is where you get really into the nuances of the company, because we have a lot of videos going out. You can't just in a vacuum be like, all right, we're not doing anything for 100 days, we're only filming this. So step one is we had to build an independent crew that could actually do that for 100 days. That way everyone else could keep working on the normal videos and not just screw everything up. So step one, you build that team. Okay, we got the team. Now what do we need? Well, to do this, we need probably like 10 cameras at least rolling at all times. So we're probably going to need to get a trailer and hook up a bunch of storage and stuff to just carry the sheer volume of footage we're going to have. And so get a trailer, set up the cameras, go out in the field, paint a circle. Now we need a house, go buy a house, bring it out there. And then it's like, oh, wait, I think it'd be funny if I brought the house in on the intro. Find a crane that can lift up a house so I can drive it in and drop it in the intro.
And that's like an iterative process where you're like, okay, this will be funnier. So it's just not all up front that it's written.
Yeah,
it's like
ideally it would be, but as you kind of see things, you get inspired and then you think of more and more. And then
this would be better with a crane.
Yeah, it'd be better if I dropped out of the house.
Yeah. That was crazy that you decided to do that. So fearless in the kind of crazy stuff you're willing to do.
Exactly. I'm a broken record, but whatever makes the best video possible.
Who's in the house when he dropped it? That's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
That's all you focus on.
Okay. So what about the delegation of like what are the cameramen, like the people operating the cameras, who's responsible for different things? Is it like a distributed process?
That's where whoever the lead cam would be on that video would just decide it. That one, because we shot over 100 days, a lot of it was just Sean, and the guy who was in the circle, just vlogging. We just gave him a camera and he figured it out. And then we'd have like for him just set hours each day that a cameraman would come. So if he had any content, he needed extra hands. Instead of just having someone on standby 24/7, it made more sense to do set hours.
Nice.
Interesting. What if they missed a moment? Why not? Maybe they should Big Brother it like they used to. Like where there's cameras always going at the same time. Okay.
And it was hard, but explaining it in hindsight, it sounds so simple.
And I guess like the more, because that one is relatively simple, I guess, because it's a low number of people.
Yeah, the hard part about that is just the time. Right. Like, I checked in on them so many different days, and it's like an hour here, 2 hours there, 3 hours there. Over 100 days adds up to be a ton of time. And even then, like, if you have a 10-person crew, paying them daily rates for 100 days, it just all of it adds up.
What about like the 100 versus 100 adults versus 100 kids? What was bringing that to life? That seems like exceptionally challenging.
Yeah. Basically, the thought process was we did 100 100 boys versus 100 girls.
Yeah.
People loved it. Honestly, I didn't think they'd like it.
I thought it was a little transphobic. I'm just kidding.
as much as they did, video did really, really well. So the second I saw that video was crushing, I was like, all right, we're doing it again. But last time we did it in our studio. So we built a giant room, put 100 girls in it. It sounds bad when I explain it like this. And then a giant room, put 100 boys.
Yeah.
And we're like, after 100 hours, whichever room has the most people, we'll give them $500,000. So it did well. So we're like, all right, we're going to do it again. So we threw out all these different ideas. It was like 100 football players versus 100 cheerleaders, 100 this, 100 that, 100 prisoners versus 100 cops. Just craziest ideas. And we settled on 100 kids versus 100 adults. And then the next step was like, how do we make it better? The kids versus adults, or the boys versus girls, the first one we did was inside. And the problem was every time it was night when we did these long time lapses, you couldn't see the sun go up and down. So we're like, okay, this time I want to do it outside. So the cubes are outside. And instead of doing circles, we want to make them cubes. And then, it's figuring out, do we want just
those videos came up at least today as ones that are like really complicated in terms of the audio, in terms of how
yeah,
to film it.
Yeah, that's the problem. We had a lot of audio issues because in the first one, we didn't have a roof on it. The second one, there was a roof. So there's a lot of reverb, which then in editing made it brutal. Like half the shots weren't usable and it really screwed us over. So we had to do a lot of Frankensteining in the editing to make up for basically my ignorance.
So you mentioned that you were surprised how well that one did. A lot of creators
100 crackheads versus 100 chefs. Okay. Interesting idea.
talk about getting depressed when the videos don't do as well as they kind of expected. There's a kind of feeling you can get really worn out by that. Do you yourself feel that? And also, do you have advice for others that feel this?
Yeah, it's weird because I am a numbers guy, but also it used to.
Sorry.
Do you're expected? There's a kind of feeling when the videos don't do as well as they kind of expected. There's a kind of feeling you can get really worn out by that. Do you yourself feel that? And also, do you have advice for others that feel this?
Obviously, he's better than anybody else to talk about that. I'm assuming Lex might be speaking a little bit from experience. And let me tell you something. We all are. But I've seen some videos from Lex that I'll come in and I'll try to watch here and there. I'll usually try to react live because, I can get paid from it. And let's be real, I'm always on our grind. But I've seen some videos that don't necessarily do as well. I mean, everybody has that. It's really just about, you kind of have to sometimes, I mean, it depends. Sometimes you just have to not care. And, maybe there's things you could look at to improve from those situations. Like for me, like I talk about specific things. So when that happens to me, like it's usually because of like a particular, like a person I'm talking about or a topic I'm talking about. So I have to believe in the topic. Like I said before, like I like the topic. That's a big thing for me because you're going to have your ups and downs and like there's no reason to beat yourself up over a bad, like, day, week, month, big of a deal, life. Because like having like a really, getting too frustrated can cause you to like have really bad interactions. Like you'll see a lot of people who will, so I stream every single day, right? I'm rebuilding the channel. I stream every single day, almost maybe 6 days a week, but like 6 to 7 days a week. I bank some videos so they have some content when I don't stream, whatever. And I get like, I think like 100 views. And let's say like average let's say maybe 200. It's not a whole lot, especially for the size I used to be. Yeah, 106. Not a lot of people are watching. They're not super into this topic, but that's fine. There are people who get like 300, 400, 500, 600, 700,000, even more in some areas. Every time they stream, but they don't stream every day. They stream maybe once a week. So let's say you get 500. What would you rather have? I guess you would rather have an average of 500 viewers once a week, or an average of 200 viewers 6 days a week. Because now when you compile that, one person that's getting like 200 views consistently 6 days a week, that's 1,200 versus one person like that's 500 in one day. And it's like, well, which one is really better? But they're like, I don't want to stream, and then they'll look down on people who may get less views. But like the reality is that financially, again, I've taken a big hit rebuilding the channel, but I do genuinely think that in the long term I'm going to make more money, and I'm going to do better. But like, I post 3 to 4 videos a day. I make more money than the medium salary. You know what I mean? So it's like, am I unsuccessful? Because based on the metrics that I'm operating with, I'm gaining like 50 subscribers every day, and I'm making like a decent amount of money every day, and I'm able to sustain myself doing this. So it's like, when you look at that number, oh, look at this number, it's really good. But does that matter? Does that extra 100 viewers on your stream, does that matter for you not streaming more than once a week, or twice a week, when you feel like there's something that's actually interesting to talk about? Especially when you talk about specifically controversy. This is one of the like the big things too as to why I wanted to merge my platform. is because there's times where there's like no controversy to talk about, and I had a controversial platform where I talk about controversy, and then you feel like you have to almost generate it and sensationalize it to make it seem like the next big thing. It's something that happens to people whether they realize it or not. It's something that like you don't realize until you realize it. So I'd rather just post a silly video review of something dumb, or this is cool. I get to, I'm doing a reaction to MrBeast and Lex Fridman, instead of sitting here and trying to look up like the next controversy and like sensationalizing it. It gets very frustrating, and it makes me hate content too when you're being like almost disingenuous. Those are like the things that you want to really talk about. That's really where it comes from. You know, you need to humble yourself. It's been a big ego hit for me to take a step back and do this, and like, you know, for people who know, like there was it would have been nice to use the main platform, but I killed the traction on there trying to stream on there and then put all the segments on this channel anyway. So it is what it is, though. But I'm very confident that it'll turn out well. But you have to be able to take ego hits, because if you're somebody who doesn't, if you're somebody who's not okay with low numbers, you're never going to be successful, because you have to have bad days to have good days. It's just like a fact of the matter. Some of the worst streaming days that I've had have been some of the best like videos that I've put out, you know? And it's why I don't really put any titles to my streams, because it's like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just content time. And then this is where the people come in that really enjoy my content. And it's cool. I really like having the interaction with them. But, you know, you're going to end up having a negative impact on yourself if you're so view focused. If you're so worried about other people are doing, then you're going to have a negative platform yourself. If you're criticizing other people for getting fewer views, and that's like a huge thing, then you're also that's you're projecting. You're also going to be very critical on yourself for getting fewer views. Guess what? You're not going to do well overall, because of that way that you're engaging in the content. So
yeah, it's weird because I am a numbers guy, but also it used to. It used to very much, especially when I was like betting everything I had on a video. When it did bad, I was devastated, man. I'd cry and I'd be depressed for days, and it really would have a severe impact on my mood. But I don't know, now it doesn't really matter. It's if a video does bad, I just look at it and I'm like, oh, why did this video do bad? Probably, oh, there's a little retention dip there. I don't think people like the thumbnail. Maybe we should switch it. And I just look at it objectively, unemotional, and then just move on. And I feel like that's a much healthier way of going about it. So
true.
If a creator is listening, like that is the ideal way to respond to a video that's doing bad.
Just somebody asked me how I pick videos. It's based on what I'm interested in, and then I also let people recommend in like the Discord, where they could send me content and like, oh, I like this, and I'll look at it and go like, okay, is this interesting or is it not interesting? That's how I engage with it.
Emotion from the equation, and just look at it and figure out how you can improve the next one.
Is there tricks to being able to detach yourself from that? Because because like in your case, I mean that's true for creators, but in your case, there's like a lot of money on the line.
Yeah, well,
this video
months of my life,
yeah,
and so much time. But no, I mean, I don't know. The only real answer is it's just a conscious effort. You just have to unemotionally look at the video, determine the problems, and then move on. Like there is no secret. You know what I mean? It's just it's that. And if you really can't bring yourself to do it, then you're just screwed. Honestly, maybe you're not meant for this game.
Okay, so that's part of the development as a creator, is like being able to be.
Did he say he would cry for days? Did he?
The only real answer is it's just a conscious months of my life.
Yeah.
I zoned out for like a second. I'm listening to what they're saying, but I zoned out for a second. If they did, like, it's bad to do that. Some people get really upset if they get poor views. It can be very distressing to do that. I've had it too. It was part of the motivation of we wanted to do the new channel, because I was tired of posting one video a day and like interacting with it. Like, people don't know this, but when I would post in leftovers, one of the things that I liked about it is I would post. What I would do is I would stream. I would do like a Pop Good show on the main channel, so I'd have one video, and then I would post all the segments from that one video the next day on the leftovers channel at the same exact time, because then you can't really look at the analytics because they all comes out at the same time, so it doesn't really tell you like what's the best out of 10. I started not doing that because it's releasing them in timely manner is a little bit better for traction. But well, just looking at the views, it can fuck you up. It can really fuck you up. You have to try not to do that. I think it's very toxic when you can see your best out of 10. It's really good when it's good. When it's really bad, when it's bad, though. When you get that 10 out of 10, it's like, oh fuck, it can really kick you in the fucking balls. It really can fuck you up.
Okay, so that's part of the development as a creator, is like being able to be
for longevity. Yes, yeah. You have to unemotionally be able to look at videos that flop and figure it out. Because if not, and not every video can be a 1 out of 10. And so when a video does bad, you know, that just stress and depression is just going to eventually get to you in the long run.
So you said you've failed in a bunch of videos, sort of taking them to completion. So what are some of the biggest fails?
Yeah, weirdly enough, as we've matured and we've done this more, we don't have that problem as much, especially now that we're getting into the multi-million-dollar budgets per video. It's like failure is not really an option anymore. So I'm a little more particular about what I do. But back in the day, yeah, like we would do a video where we spent 24 hours on a desert island, and we filmed it.
A desert island? That sounds incredible.
It all, and I I didn't like it after the edit. So I just grabbed the voice and we went back to the deserted island and spent another 24 hours there and refilmed it.
Could that have been caught and prevented at the idea stage? Like where? Like,
no, it's a good idea. It was just poor execution. To be honest, when we were out there, it was hot. We were just like, we all at one point just kind of wanted to die. It was just miserable.
So how do you avoid that these days?
Well, I just went when it was a little cooler, to be honest. And then we had literally the amount of fun we had in the video was like 10 times higher.
Oh, interesting. So you like there's some practical details that you just learned.
Yeah, I don't.
What it takes to
videos that where it's very hot or it's on water because I get super seasick. There's like a kind of like 10 things that if they have these variables, I'm down to do it. But my fun meter is not as high as normal. Like we tried to anytime we do anything on a boat, like when we spent 24 hours in Bermuda Triangle, or when I tried to spend like, which I didn't get uploaded, but I tried to spend like 100 hours at sea or whatever, just like on a raft. It just like it makes me want to throw up and I get so seasick I can't even see straight. But there are just some videos that require me to be on a boat, so I just suck it up.
So when you spend months in creating a video, I know this is probably stressful to some creators. Like how much stress? How do you feel when you have to click publish a video?
Now, not much.
So you're able to detach yourself.
Yeah. Again, in old me, ton.
Interesting, because I guess I have had a little bit of that stress. You know, when you're looking at it, if the views do well, that's something that like again I don't have as much of a problem with now because of the way that I do like the platform where I just like don't give a fuck and I just release a video. You know, and that's just like sometimes, I mean, I do things probably a little differently. Like that's one of the reasons why I release more than one video on this channel now. It's just because I just don't feel like I have to obsess about how well the videos are doing. You know, you kind of have to figure out like the different way that you engage with stuff. Like I have like a little bit of ADHD brain, so that might have an impact on the way I feel like I need to do content sometimes.
I mean, I'd be like scratching and nervous and like my hands would be sweating like to the point where I'm almost about to puke. I'm like, I really hope people like this. But, you know, I don't know. I think that's just part of maturing it. There's different.
He also does like a lot more work into his content. So I do like fucking like I do like review reaction content, like controversial shit, like all that. So like I don't, it's not nearly as high effort. You know, like the most difficult effort videos that I'll make is when there's a serious topic going on and I weigh in on it. And I find the baseline information that I can, and then I talk about it. The biggest issue there is every time you talk about a very controversial topic, you're effectively, to an extent, putting your reputation on the line when you talk about that stuff, because people will get very upset if they don't like what you have to say about a particular topic. So that's a bigger issue more than anything else for, I guess, where I'm from, or the sphere that I'm in.
And as a content creator, there's different phases, and you just like once you get over the fear that you're just going to wake up one day and be irrelevant, you know, and you just, you know, accept that.
Papa, do you like when people view live or watch the segments? I don't have a preference. And the reason is because there are different people that like different things. Some people prefer to watch the lives because you get to talk to me live. Some people prefer to watch the segments because maybe they don't have time for it. Maybe they don't really care about the live aspect. And also, I'll do a little bit of editing when it needs it to be a little bit more concise. It's really up to you. That's why I like having different forms of making content, because different people, it can appeal to different people in different ways based on like what you like. So
like you believe in yourself, you believe in your content, and that you can continue to be relevant, then you don't, I don't know, you kind of are, it's a little bit easier to detach yourself, I guess. And that's, it's a much healthier place to be. You can't do this for 10 years if every little thing just causes these huge emotional reactions. It's like, that's why a lot of creators go a little, you know, mentally insane. You know, you have to get out of that game, right? Because it really messes with you.
We've talked about this a little bit, but how do you define and how do you suggest others define success?
It's so subjective. Some people, success is retiring their mom.
You know, for the most part, like success is going to be defined, and your ability to make a living is going to be a pretty big part of it. But there's other things like like for me, what defines success is being able to make money on doing it. I of course always want to make more, but also like, you know, staying like pretty aligned with like a particular way of doing it, enjoying my content, being proud of what I'm saying, not being sensationalized, not going fucking crazy, not becoming terminally online, you know, trying to have a good relationship with my content, shit like that. These are things that matter a lot to me. That may not necessarily matter to other people. They might be more interested in just making as many views and much money as possible. You know, so it really is very up to personal perspective or opinion, or, you know, whatever.
You know, for you, success is inspiring people and educating them, and, you know, whatever, piquing their curiosity. For other people, it's just quitting their job.
So you have to self-reflect on what your definition of success is, because I think a lot of creators kind of don't introspect. Like they kind of want to keep getting more and more subscribers, kind of thing.
Yeah, but subscribers is just a vanity metric. You know, it doesn't. Subscribers don't correlate to views.
They do, but they don't. Like I had like a lot of like this is one of the things again on the other channel, my old main. I would get maybe 2.5 times the views per video, but I had 187,000 followers. So right now, what do I have? A tenth of that. So it's like okay, just because I had subscribers doesn't necessarily mean that they're watching and engaging. And I want to. That's why I want to build people who will actually watch and engage. That's a big motivational metric for me. So it does correlate to it, but it's also not directly. Like there can be people who don't have like a whole lot of fuck. I'm gonna get this turn. Wow, I'm actually gonna get fucking doo-dooed on. Holy shit. Sorry.
Sure, or views.
Yeah, I know, but that wasn't directed to you. That was more directed to people listening because a lot of people do really care about subscribers or even followers, like on TikTok.
True.
But if you look, like your view, if on YouTube, very, very few percent, if even 1% of your views come from the sub feed, right? They're almost all home feed or suggested. When's the last time you clicked on your sub feed to watch a video?
No, almost never. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 5 years ago. It used to be a thing. It's not anymore. No one does. And it's getting harder and harder to find something.
I subscribe to way too many channels, I think.
Yeah, that's what everyone does. And you subscribe to 10 channels, they're great, but 2 years later, your taste evolves, and it's like it's a mess. And so
yeah, that's why we were talking before. Like that's why YouTube kind of like does things the way they do it, like where it's more about like what you're liking rather than necessarily like this fucking poll's always so bad. That's more about like what you're trending towards liking rather than like what you subscribe to. Like the subscription has like a factor of like making it so that it comes into your feed more, but that's not like the end all be all factor.
Subscribers don't really matter. Followers on TikTok don't really matter.
I'll start pulling the entire
anyways,
slowly.
They really are the definition of a vanity metric.
But what about views?
They do, obviously, because if people are showing up time and time again, that's what matters.
Okay, so that's a good thing to define as success. I just feel like that too can be a problem because I would say, if I wanted to be successful, like as a young creator.
Saw your Tim Dillon and Andrew review. Saw how wrong you are. Okay. Well, just so you know that you're in my live, so I give yours 15 seconds of like, my attention. But you should probably say something a little bit more than you're wrong, because that's not saying anything. Like you saying that you disagree is nothing. So if you say something, now's your chance to say something intelligent as to why you feel I'm wrong. So instead of being annoying and provocative, maybe you should spend time being a little more thoughtful in your perspective when you try to get my attention.
I might start copying MrBeast or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like you start trying to take shortcuts as opposed to find your own unique voice, right? So like chasing views is a problem too. It feels like, or no, as long as you detach yourself from that.
I mean, if you're sounds bad, but if you're lazy, yeah.
Well, it depends on if you're always chasing views, then that could lead to some people sensational. Like if I was chasing views, I would sensationalize topics, and I would blow things out of proportion that didn't need to be blown out of proportion. So,
and you just want to copy someone else and not experiment and find your own way. But okay. I mean, you can't make that excuse for them. If someone just
no, you're not
isn't coming up with original.
You do say things that I disagree with, but at least you'll give me a fucking reason why. Come on, dude, I just fucking pulled this. God damn it! But at least you'll give me like a specific reason why you disagree with something I said, even if I disagree with you. People who come in here and they're just like, I disagree, and they don't give you anything else. Like it's usually just because they're uncomfortable with what you said, not because you're wrong. That's a problem with a lot of people. They'll come and say, I disagree with your take on this, and then they'll leave, but they have nothing intelligent to actually say. And they just like sit there and flounder when you say like, hey, give me a reason. They just sit there and they start to like shit and come because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about in the first place. They felt uncomfortable by a thing. And that's it. All right.
Well, stop and putting in the effort. You can't just say, oh, it's because they're chasing views. We need some different metric for them to chase. No, they just need to find their own way.
I mean, it just feels like unique type of content will often lead to sacrificing the number of views in the short term.
Mm-hmm. But in the long term, you win.
Sure.
Okay.
Or if you do win, you win more.
That makes sense. I get what he kind of is saying, like making unique type of content, because it's one of those things where like, I get interesting. It's an interesting perspective, because he's basically saying if you make something that's different, you probably won't get as many views in the front hand, but in the long hand, it might really pay off, because now people might look to you for different things, and I think that's generally true. Like again, if you're talking about all the same topics everybody else is talking about, or the same way that, like, so I'm gonna make it a little more personal for me, in the same way that they talk about it. Then people are you're just going to be another person saying the same thing everybody else is going to say. And it's like, how unique is what you have to say? But if you're just talking about things the way that you're being honest, you may not get as many views in the shorthand, but you might get like more people that'll return more because they could respect you, or you've generated an audience that will be okay with disagreeing with you without hating you as a person. Because there are people who have that problem too. Like it's like if you disagree with them, they start to hate you because like, oh, I didn't expect this take. You have to really kind of get your audience to respect differences in opinion. It can be very difficult in the controversial, like the more controversy type sphere. So yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I guess would be a better way of putting it.
Do you think you will IPO,
VFX
Miss?
super chatted $10. Hey
Ooh,
Papa,
thanks,
I
mate.
know this is off topic, but I have a friend who's always having CPS called on his house because his dad is abusive to his little siblings. Is there anything I could do to help?
Wow, sorry, that's a hell of a question. Probably not. I don't know. I don't know if I'm equipped to be able to answer that question. That's a very delicate topic. If the kids are getting abused, you trying to interfere too much could potentially lead to a problem. One of the problems, I don't know. And CPS is generally, I would say, somewhat ineffective sometimes, and it could just end up like riling up the abusive parent. I'm not saying like don't like. It's good that they're being called, I suppose. I don't know. It's such a complex thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you're a young person, you can mean well, but you may not be able to operate correctly. I can't give you any advice. I would just say be there for the people being abused. Be there for your friend in whatever way that they need, and be there for like even those kids in the way that they need, without trying to like exacerbate tensions or like rile up the father that's potentially abusive, and I don't know in what way. Because you might mean well, but sometimes it's better to just be there for the people who are getting abused and mistreated rather than trying to actively do something, because that could lead to a whole other shitstorm. So that's the best advice I can give you, is just focus on them and helping them rather than focusing on trying to get the father, even if he deserves it. Life often doesn't work in the correct way. So try to be there for the people. Try to make it like them focus more than anything else.
MrBeast Burger or Feastables in the next 5-10 years?
Beast Burger or Feastables? No, I kind of think they're
something.
So actually, you know what? I just realized this is our first time talking about those. We're like an hour and a half in. That's so funny.
We started talking about what?
My retention brain kicked in.
I wonder if you have retention brain for like life itself.
Oh, I do. Every time I'm talking to someone, I'm like, okay.
What about like loved ones?
Dragon, sorry.
Like spending time with loved ones, thinking like we could be doing something much better right now. Right?
Yes, no, that is a serious problem. With so we'll pause the Beast Burger question. Yes, but that's why my current girlfriend, which I was telling you before when we were talking about this,
girlfriend, dude. You think the writing's on the wall, bro? You think he's gonna leave her? I don't know. That's fucked up. I'm sorry for speculating on that. No, it's a little bit of a joke.
She has a genuine love for learning, and that's something I have. Like I always feel like I need to be learning something to justify the time I'm spending, and so that's why it's such a nice trait, because I feel like the time is being used optimally. Because whether we're watching a documentary or we're going and taking an IQ test or reading about whatever, just why modern art is a thing. I don't know, whatever weird thing we decide to do. I'm always learning and improving, so it justifies the time.
So to maximize retention in your relationship, you want to spend that time learning as much as possible.
Yeah, which conveniently I don't have to force, right?
Yes.
Or I want to be recharging, so when I do work, I can hit the ground harder. And luckily, we're into a lot of the same things, which happen to be learning, and sometimes it's not learning, like maybe watching an anime or something like that. But I'm a big believer in you're either if your goal is to be like a super successful entrepreneur, you need to either be working or you need to be doing something that decompresses and recharges you so you can work again. If your goal is to be like a really kick-ass entrepreneur, and obviously we're boiling this down to like a very basic thing. And so the things you're doing in your downtime when you're not working, if it doesn't recharge you, you're screwed. You're just a ticking time bomb waiting to implode. And so you got to like heavily recharge and I
can respect that, because you'll have people that are like, if you want to be successful, you can't sleep, you gotta grind, you gotta do that, and you gotta grind. But sometimes grinding means like decompressing. Sometimes grinding, like for me, I can stream, like I'll stream like 6-7 days a week, but I need time to just be with my wife and just not do things. And like there's times where I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do a channel that's about this. But I don't do that, like a video game channel, because then it encourages me to stay on longer and play video games, which sounds cool because I like video games. But then also, like, now it's content, and now I have to put on, if I'm talking to people live, I don't put on like a super performance, but I don't put on a performance at all. But I like to be quiet sometimes. I know that's how you probably might believe that. But sometimes I like to just be quiet to my thoughts when I play a game. I don't want to have to like sit here and like engage with the chat, and I love engaging with you guys, but sometimes I just need to not, and that's why I don't do another have that private time. So when I play games, it's recreational. Like if I play this game offline, it's like I'm hanging out with my friends, I'm playing with them, I'm building, and it's weird to look at it, but I'm building like those relationships, I'm having fun with my friends, I'm saying silly stuff, some things are embarrassing that I'll talk about, what I mean, it's my friends, so I might talk about, there's a lot of different things here. This guy's gonna fuck me up. So those things are very necessary and important. It's nice to hear like somebody that's very successful talk about those things. What the fuck? Who just pulled me? Are you a fucking idiot? Oh, you stupid fucking bitch. This kid just tried to fucking kill me by pulling me back into him like a fucking moron. Oh my god. What a stupid... Oh, you stupid bitch. What the fuck? Holy shit. What a wipe. Okay, cool. I hate this fucking dungeon.
Watching for me, anime or whatever it is, playing a board game, like that is actually kind of crucial to my success, which takes a lot of maturing to come to that
Keep pulling the
conclusion. Because I
dragon,
used to
guys.
be the kind of guy
Incredible
that
stuff.
wanted to work every hour of the day, and I would try to train myself to not need that stuff. And I almost resented like that. I have to do these kinds of things, and it would piss me off because it's not optimal. And I just really want to make content and entertain people. But as someone who's gone down that road, and you just work every day for 2-3 months straight, and every hour of the day, and then you just a bomb waiting to explode and lose your mind.
True.
And the only real sustainable thing is to just like give yourself time to recharge in between working.
So there's a kind of balance you have to find.
You have to and I hate it more than anyone else because
You hate not working.
yeah, because it's just not optimal for time. Like it's as a human, I do need to occasionally watch a mindless show and play a board game.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it took me a very long time to like come to peace with that and not. I would have like borderline panic attacks when I do it.
Mr. Beast is the kind of person who's gonna like, if they ever stop working, he's gonna like pass away within the year. There's some men that are like that, and I feel like I'm part. Sorry, I got knocked out. I can be partially like that too, but I enjoy like my chill time with like my family and my wife and shit like that. So it seems like he struggles to enjoy time not working. I enjoy the time I'm not working. I enjoy working, but I also enjoy having my free time. But yeah, he's good for him. Like it's good to have that work ethic. So
because I think what am I doing right now? Why am I doing this? I should be, like, what if one day I have to lay off an employee because we're not doing so well? Like, how could I justify watching this show or whatever I'm doing right now?
Well,
it's like there's a lot of things like that go on.
That's cool though. I can respect that. Like one of his motivators is like not wanting to potentially have to fire somebody. That's nice. Oh, we're getting like no interrupts here. It's fucking incredible.
In your head, but it's necessary.
Before we return to Mr. Beast Burger, well, what is like since we're on the topic, what is a perfect day in the life, perfectly productive day in the life of Mr. Beast look like?
Oh boy. Well, I mean,
or like a standard.
I mean, the perfectly productive day is we film a main channel video, like because those get 100 million a pop. I mean, it doesn't really get any better than that.
What about like the average day when you're not on the set?
Yeah,
and you're like because you're running a lot of things, right?
Yeah. So right now we have our snack brand Feastables. We have a restaurant chain Beast Burger, and then we basically, which we haven't even really launched any products yet, but we have the data company that I was showing you, where we're going to roll out some tools for creators, and then we have the React channel, the gaming channel, the main channel, and then we have my charity, which also has a channel. And so kind of how I've structured my life right now is whenever I have free time, we just kind of go, hey guys, Jimmy's got an hour from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And everyone's just like, I need this. And this channel's like, I need this thing filmed, or whatever. The guy who runs my TikTok's like, I need this TikTok filmed, or Beast Burger's like, I need this menu item approved. We need to talk about this marketing thing. And then we kind of just look at what everyone needs, and we're like, that one looks like the most important. We'll do that. And then so it's just kind of like, if I just did that for every company in a day, then that's optimal. If I just kind of like an optimal day for me would be going down to 8 companies and just whatever their like 2 to 3 biggest pain points or things they need from me, and just doing those
based on priority, and then trying to keep it as short as possible to just the things that you're needed on.
It doesn't get more optimal than that. If I clear the bottlenecks or some bottlenecks for all my companies, then that's a perfect day.
Yeah, I mean, even just me, because you're showing me around and you're being a great and gracious host. But on top of that, you're just doing all these meetings. You basically.
I felt bad at some points. I was like, oh, I just tricked him into going to meetings with me. He's like my little meeting buddy.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. It's fun to see. It was fun to see how effectively you've delegated. You basically trust the team to do a really good job on the various things, and there's just a strong team that's able to carry the flag on all the different tasks.
Yeah.
From the brainstorming in the main channel to the reacts and so on. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, it's really interesting what it takes to build a team like that, because you very quickly build a very large team that's able to scale.
Which is very scary. Because it's my first, I'm 24, and I think I was telling you this earlier. It's funny because 6 years ago I had to raise my hand to go use the bathroom, and now I'm in charge of hundreds of people and entertain hundreds of millions of people. And so it is crazy just how quick it comes up. And I wish I was a little bit older so I could have ran a couple companies and failed a few companies in the past and like learn from those and apply those here. Because I know for a fact.
Well, I mean, I think it's better that it's probably better that you potentially fail your own company, though. Good for him. If you fuck up at work, they'll really fuck you. I understand what he means from an overall life experience point, but like, holy shit, like making mistakes at a job where you're not the boss can be a very it could be a frustrator. It could be a tilter, So
back when I'm 34, I'm 24 now. When I'm 34, I'll know so much more about running a business and scaling and hiring and how to lead people and better effectively communicate and all these different skill sets that will make me a better leader.
Did that person ever like respond to what I had, why they disagree with the interchange thing? I never saw it. Did they put it in the chat that I'm just not aware of?
That's the only thing that sucks is I just don't have those because I just haven't been through the lessons, and I just have such a lucrative thing on my plate right now, and it just sucks that I have to learn the lessons with the lucrative thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you already have so much influence, so much impact. But you have effectively scaled. What lessons do you draw from that? How to effectively scale as a 24-year-old? Like
yeah, that's something I feel like I actually
write that down, guys. Fail your company. Write that down. Just kidding.
could give a lot of value to young people who are doing it, like older people who've built 5 companies or whatever they do. I probably couldn't. They're going to be like, oh, this is so obvious. But for younger first-time business owners, you gotta just experiment, to be honest. And but for us, like, it's just a new space. No one had really ever scaled up a 100-person team to make content on YouTube. So there wasn't no. I spent all this time, like, I hired one person from Disney at one point to come in and help. And obviously that was a dumb idea looking back on it. But, I thought, oh, they make great stuff people want to watch. And they come over here and help me build a team. And, they build it more the traditional way and not like how it should be online. And so then it's like, okay. And now I'm not trying to trash people. Like, they all tried their best. But then I hired this one person who does this different type of media and runs a 100-person team. And then you come in here and they try to build it that way. And they don't really listen to you or value or see the difference. And I tried basically for building this company with, like,
oh my God. That poll was horrible. Holy shit. I don't know if... Jesus Christ. This is insane.
4 or 5 different people who worked in different veins of media. And, every single time, it's just like, they just don't get it. And they don't understand my world. And the eventual solution was just like, roll up my sleeves and do it myself, with like James or Hitman, and just like, no one's ever done this, and like no one's gonna just give us a golden carrot and tell us how to build this company. We got to figure the fuck out ourselves.
And you have to kind of build up people from scratch then.
Yeah, exactly. All the stuff I was talking about earlier, and all the lessons I learned along the way. And so for me, that was a big part of like stop.
MrBeast is just the lessons we've learned along the way, guys. Interesting stuff though.
Trying to.
It's very interesting how different the YouTube medium is, where like people from like even Disney aren't able to really help you. I wonder why exactly. I guess it's just the way that I would have figured there'd be like a fundamental aspect to these things, but I guess not necessarily. Horrible.
Have someone build this company for me and just do it myself, because it's scary. Like, I spent my whole life studying YouTube videos and virality, not business building. But fuck it, I was like, I guess we just got to do it ourselves. And that's where things really started to click, and we got the exponential growth. We started getting the right people and training them the right way, and just throwing conventional stuff out the door and focusing on what's actually practical for YouTube, which is just completely different than traditional media.
So you train people, and then those people train people, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, it's just even like, how you do the lighting on sets, or like how you do the audio, or not writing scripts. So we're just not as efficient with our filming. Like, sometimes I have to have 30 cameras running. Why? Because it's not scripted. I don't know what Chris is gonna do when we start filming. He might run over there, but guess what? We gotta have it planned because there's only one shot. I can't, tell him not to do that.
Yeah, that's the shooting, but then there's also the editing.
Yeah, and then the editing as well, and not having guardrails and kind of, at the end of the day, it's whatever I want. The video, their job is to make a video that they think I'll like because it's my channel. But you can achieve that kind of however, and so it's just, everything's just different. It's much more, I guess, like a startup as opposed to.
Are you often surprised, like, with the result? Like, you think a certain, like, we watched the video today, that was really nice. Yeah. That was different than you would have potentially edited it.
Yeah.
Are you sometimes surprised by like a decision an editor makes? It's like, okay, that's not the way I would have done it, but it's actually, this is a cool idea.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. The thing, my biggest fear is I don't ever want to get trapped in like a bubble of, because we are getting 100 million views of video on the main channel. Like, but I don't want to get in this feedback loop of just my ideas are great, or not feedback loop, but stop learning and improving, because it is easy sometimes to be like, what we're doing is working. We need to just keep doing it. I want to keep learning and trying new things. And I guess one way I'd put it is like, you don't...
well, you want to stick to the general formula, but you don't want it to get too stale. And it's good to listen to those people who only agree with you 90% instead of 100%, because sometimes they can come up with something that like you wouldn't have thought about. Yeah, I get what he's saying. Sure, that makes sense.
When you're on a come up or you're growing, you don't want to test new things once you start to plateau or have a downtrend, because if you're like, you're skyrocketing, right? You're up, and then you level off and you start to go down, and you're like, oh, this isn't working anymore. Let's start experimenting. Well, if you have a bad experiment, now you're in like a tailspin. You're nosediving, and you have one more bad experiment. You're like screwed. Kind of. I'm oversimplifying. You want to
even if it's just like an emotional thing where it's like, damn, I tried this new idea, it didn't do very well. Fuck, I shouldn't be trying new ideas. But it could definitely cause you to like spin out. Oh, we did it.
Test things while you're still growing to keep the growing from happening, because once you like have, again, very oversimplifying that, like, kind of level off, you do a couple tests that go wrong, you're like screwed. What I mean? You're already out the door. Now you're just confirming that you're out the door and online entertainment. So that's kind of how I see it. So I think it's very imperative that you're constantly always experimenting and trying things, even if you're getting crazy, unheard of growth.
And so that outside of the thing that brought you to the dance, you just dived right into MrBeast Burger and Feastables. So there's a whole nother industry. Like, what was that like?
Well, so Beast Burger, we kind of, it was supposed to be like just a pop-up. Like, we just partnered with someone who had 300 restaurants, and we were just like, Let's just
yeah. So my understanding of the Beast Burger, it's actually a pretty cool idea. So I think it uses like Grubhub or whatever other bullshit or Uber Eats or whatever. So my understanding is that Beast Burger is you could, let's say you order on Uber Eats Beast Burger. There's no Beast Burger. There's no actual like physical store for, I don't think. If they do have one, it's limited. It is that a restaurant will use his particular like ingredients to make a specific burger, and they'll sell it. And of course they get a cut. So like it could be the local like burger, like Bob's Burgers. He might be able to make Beast Burger. He just has to get the license from MrBeast. And then they order it. They stop at fucking Bob's Burgers. They pick it up. And then bada bing, bada boom, they deliver it. That's a really good thing. At Ghost Kitchens, yeah. It's a really cool thing, and I respect it a lot because it's profoundly positively impactful for small businesses. Because now, like, all you have to do is make the food to a certain quality, of course. You just have to make the food to a specific quality, which is a great thing. And then like you sell it, and for a nobody that's like, I'm just Bob's Burgers, this could be a really positively impactful thing for MrBeast to like slap MrBeast on there, and you get to like, yeah, of course you have to give him a cut because it's using his brand, but you get to make money and you get to like stay afloat. It could be such a profoundly positively impactful thing for you and your business. I think it's incredible. I think it's a really cool way for like a brand like MrBeast to be able to create like a product like a burger and then help a small business by having them make the burger for them. You know, and it's spooky because it's a ghost kitchen. I think it's cool. I think it's a really great thing. I actually like that idea a lot. It's super. It's intelligent. It's innovative. It's simple, and it's very positive for. Yeah, instead of like McDonald's taking over, you get your Bob's Burgers that's able to like have their storefront, but then also subsidize some of maybe the lack of interest because it's a smaller chain with MrBeast Burger. I think it's very cool, and there's some risk on his end in case like, what if the person doesn't make the burgers to the specific quality that MrBeast says, you know? So like it's a bit of a risk, but I think it's cool.
Sell Beast Burgers for a day or two. Let's see what happens. We didn't really think it would be as big as it was, but those that first day, you know, we do 6 figures in sales, and they all sell out, and they're running to local Walmarts. They can't keep up with the demand, and it's like, okay, well, maybe let's just leave it open a week, whatever. And we're just doing crazy revenue, and it's like, okay, well, let's add some more restaurants and let's just leave them open for a month. Mm-hmm. And we're just still doing 6 figures a day. And it kind of just went from this thing that was, I don't know, it wasn't really, I didn't really plan on running a restaurant chain, but here I am.
But didn't that in some sense also open your mind to something like Feastables?
Feastables is something I've always wanted to do, because I think just in general, American snacks are just full of so much horrible ingredients, to be honest. And they're not, I don't know. I feel like there also just hasn't been any innovation in American snacks in quite a while. And so that's just something I've always been pretty passionate.
Yeah, I like, my wife and I have some snacks like Snack Crate. It's pretty cool. You get snacks from different countries, and like there's like less shit in there. It's incredible, but it's like good. It's not as sweet, but it's like better. It's actually interesting how snacks in America are just refined sugar in water or something. You know what I mean? But in other countries, it's actually something that's a little bit more delicate, like palate wise, a little bit made with a little bit more care.
Passionate about the thing. We built that from scratch. So we hired the CEO and built a team around him, and we spent probably over 2.5 years before we even launched, just like building the right team, figuring things out, and making sure it was actually ran the way I wanted. Which Feastables has just been crushing. It's very interesting. This is something I've never talked about publicly, but having products in retail, it's like before Feastables, everything I had done was online. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to, you know, anything from the quote unquote Beast brand, you'd have to buy it online and ship it to you. But Feastables, now that, you know, because our first product, chocolate bars, we started putting that in retail locations. So like, for example, Walmart, it's crazy. Like it's just,
I think I actually saw one in a Walmart. That's the fucking craziest part. I think I actually saw one inside of a Walmart. I was like, what the hell? I should have bought it and tried it. It would have been interesting.
It doesn't make sense how, which I guess it does because we get 100 million views of video. So a lot of people know us. If I go stand in Walmart, those people recognize me and ask for photos. Like if I stood there long enough, I could take 150 photos today in Walmart, 200, whatever it is. Yeah. So obviously it makes sense those people go fight Feastables.
Relax, stop flexing, bro. Chill.
But then you just multiply that by
chill. My wife's watching, all right?
By every Walmart in America. And it just gets so crazy. And I didn't think we'd be doing the kind of revenue we are. And we're about to launch in some other, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, so whatever, but other big retail, you know, locations and convenience stores. And like by the end of next year, we could be in like 40, 50,000 locations. And the numbers just don't make sense. You know what I mean?
What are some interesting challenges about scaling there that surprised you?
The biggest problem, which I didn't think would be, was just keeping the shelves in Walmart stocked, to be honest. Like
so that supply chain.
It was brutal. Well, even then sometimes like, you know, you get them the stuff and they're like, it takes them like a day or two to put it out in that specific location. And I had to stop promoting it because every time I'd mention it, like 40% of people would just be like, it's not there. It's not in Walmart, or I can't buy it. And so there's like a 3-ish month period where I just didn't promote Feastables because I was scared that someone would go buy it and it's just not there. And so like
that's I mean, what a good problem to have. But it's interesting because that could really like that could potentially hurt a brand, is like lack of availability of product, because people start getting frustrated with the brand. But what a very interesting problem to have.
it took us a very long time to catch up to the demand, and also, you know, it's not like we have unlimited money. So but now we're relatively caught up and keeping up. But it's gonna be interesting because now this year in 2023, we're gonna basically, you know, 10x the amount of locations we're in. So we're gonna try to launch new products. So we're in for an interesting ride. But yeah, I hate when I tell people, you know, like, hey, go try this product, and then they go in their local Walmart and eventually other places, and it's not there. It's just so brutal, you know. They made that whole journey out there and they couldn't get it, and so that was really it. Besides that, no, it's been doing way better than I ever thought. To be honest.
You've talked to a couple places about maybe doing mobile games or computer games in the future.
Yeah.
Is that something you're still considering?
You know, it'd be really nice if there was like a solid MMORPG that was on cell phones that was like decent, simple, effective, and not like a scam. You know, I have no problem paying for MMOs, but like something, and I have no problem doing like a I like subscription models for MMOs that is like either you can pay for individual stuff. Well, I prefer monthly payments. Like I pay like $15 a month for WoW. I prefer like that. But I'm definitely open to, you know, other things as well. I'm definitely open to like Star Wars, the Old Republic. I think that's the one. They do either 15 a month, or you can like buy things individually. I have no problem with that kind of stuff. But everything's like a gotcha game. I fucking hate that. It pisses me off. It's just stupid. It's annoying, you know.
Yes, because you know, do you normally talk with people as much as we talked beforehand? Is that
no? That was the problem. We spent all day today
talking
about.
I just looked in my head. Everything you asked me is stuff we already talked about.
Not really.
Well, no, not everything. I take it back. But sorry, the last two questions, yes. And so it's just funny because
it makes sense, but it also makes sense for him to re-ask it for like the audience to now like understand the answer to these questions.
Yeah, what? No, I tried. So okay, there's a different.
Yeah, it's like subs versus microtransactions. Sure, I prefer to be like a sub because I just like the consistency.
Style of asking those questions, because I on purpose didn't dig further with you.
I could tell, yeah.
I could tell you. Okay, this is, by the way. Okay, all right. Well, this is the first time I've ever talked to somebody as much as I did with you beforehand.
Yeah. Whoops.
On the same day.
I know. Not even the same
all day together.
We're talking
and I
like
only
3
slept
hours
1
ago.
hour. Yeah.
Literally, it's funny.
This is a hilarious and awesome social experiment.
I picked him up from his hotel and I just like harassed him all day to hang out with me. And then
great.
here we
Awesome.
are now.
I love it.
I mean, I think that's cool. I mean, getting to know the person before that you do the thing is such a cool idea. You know, maybe I'll do. You know, that's just cool. I don't know. I thought about it. Like, if I had the resources, would I want to do like a podcast? And then, like, if I did, I would want to do something that's like a little bit more woodsy, like maybe like outside around a campfire, having conversations with people, rather than doing something like super normal. You know, something with like just different energy that's a little more chill. You know, that's something that would sound like interesting to me. Just sitting there, you know, they could just hang out, drink a beer or something, and relax a little bit. I'm not a huge beer drinker, but it would just be something very interesting.
I was secretly recording the whole time, just so you know. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so what was the question? About mobile games.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is with Beast Burger and Feastables that there's physical goods as opposed to like making mobile games or PC game, whichever one we end up doing, which is software. And I actually have a giant international audience. Like most of my audience is obviously outside of America. And so the problem we're running into is it just takes time to build up the supply chain and get Feastables in Southeast Asia, get Feastables in India, get Feastables in Brazil and Mexico and all these other places where we have giant pockets of our audience. And same thing with Beast Burger. It's going to take probably years, unless we partner with someone who already has distribution, which we're figuring out. But the beauty of software is I can make a hypothetical game or whatever we end up doing, and all my fans can, you know, use it tomorrow, the day I mention it. And so if I promote something in a video to 100 million people and it's like a, you know, basically like a game, they can all download it. So they're, you know, but if I promote a Feastables bar, right now it's only in America because we're struggling just to keep up with the American demand. We haven't even gotten the chance to go outside America. So I alienate a majority of my audience, and it feels so shitty to just mention something that most of them can't buy. But on the flip side, you can't just spawn this crazy infrastructure and just have tens of millions of bars and all your products in every single store across the world before you promote it. So you can't put the egg before the chicken. And so it's like that's what I'm excited about. I want to get into less physical stuff and more stuff that everyone audience can actually use. That's the thought process.
Especially if there's a social element to the gaming too, because it's not unlike Feastables. Like that's a product you consume.
You missed it when you're setting up for this. We were doing some basically just laying out everything that we're planning for. So we're at the phases where we want to start hiring the team to build it, and we're kind of just laying out the game. And I was actually really curious to get your thoughts, but I can't say it because whatever I say, someone's just going to take it and run with it. But I have a pretty good idea
about the kind of games you're thinking about. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine. We also talked a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea for him not to talk about it because if it's a MrBeast idea, they might be like, oh shit, I should jump on that and steal that right away. So yeah.
It's super awesome.
So much good ones.
I did
so much good talks.
Right.
The juicy talks happened. She's like, I gotta go set up.
Well, you know, I already heard a lot of awesome stuff. I mean, but that is a different kind of team you would need to hire.
Yeah.
Is that a little nerve-wracking, like going into a new field and trying to
a little bit? But then I remind myself like Steve Jobs didn't know how to code, right? And you know, he just knew what a good product was. And I feel like as someone who wasted so much of his life playing video games, I have a good sense of it. And that might be ignorance.
Well, that's really important, right? It's not about coding; it's about what makes for a good game.
Exactly. And again, that might genuinely be ignorance, and maybe I end up, getting bit in the butt.
Well, that's why even when it comes to like making games, they have like game designers. Like that's the reason that they do game designers, and then people who will work on like the animation, and the people who will work on the like 2D graphics, like the wrapping the model. People who will work on the actual 3D models. People who will like just talk about the mechanics. There's a reason why. I remember I went to school for game and web design. I did pretty well. I knew how to like make models and stuff, but I did pretty well with like the game design part. Not anymore. I'm fucking old and like whatever. But then there's like setting up like stories and stuff like that. There's a lot of moving parts.
Because of what I'm saying now, but I think just like with YouTube, I just want to obsess over making a great product and things that I think my audience will love. And I think as long as I keep that as my North Star, it'll do well.
What does the path to being worth 100 billion look like?
What does the path to being worth 100 billion look like? I don't know.
Is he worth 100 billion? That'd be crazy. Mr. 25 million.
Let me just like pause. You're 24, and there's so much awesome scaling, so many great ideas. Do you think about different trajectories?
Yeah.
What those possible trajectories might look like?
Yeah, I mean, if the goal was to just be worth $100 billion, yes. My goal, I'm a broken record, is to make the best video possible because I know whatever else I want will come, obviously.
So the video is the foundation.
Yeah, exactly. So the path to $100 billion is keep getting 100 million views a video. You know what I mean? But
or more.
Or more, exactly, if we can keep growing. But, if we can keep Feastables growing, right? And we eventually expand international. And one day we're in 100,000 retail locations and we're selling the same amount of SKUs or units per SKUs like we're currently doing. I mean, that would crush. And then obviously, ideally, one day we open up hundreds of Beast Burgers. We get it where we churn out, like Supercell, a couple hit games. I don't want to make dozens or hundreds of games. I just want to make games that are just great. And, we rarely drop them, but we do, they're bangers. And just, whatever other stuff we end up doing, all that combined. I mean, it's just interesting because like what's a show that's pulled 100 million views per episode basically? Like we're doing, like, what I mean? Like the Super Bowl gets praised because they get 100 million viewers, but I can't think of a show maybe in reruns or something.
But it's also a show that has a singular kind of figure that you can now use as a...
Like I don't have a network telling me what to do. I don't have anyone. Like I can do whatever I want. So it's a very interesting position because I put out content and 100 million people show up. And then I also have a gaming channel. I put out content and 15 million people show up. And a reaction channel, I put out content and 10 million people show up. I have a TikTok and I put out content and on average 20 million people show up. So as long as I can keep that going and then we build these businesses, it's honestly pretty scary to see what will happen, over the years because Feastables launched last year, 2022. So it's a relatively new thing. And Beast Burger, we just started scaling up the physical side. We haven't obviously even launched any mobile games yet. So I think I'm at the antithesis of it. I don't see a world where my YouTube channels are relevant in the next couple of years. This is what I live for. And so if I can keep that going and then really start to expand these businesses that leverage off of it, then yeah, I mean, hopefully there's a day where I can give away $1 billion in a video, honestly.
That would be one hell of a video. Let me ask you the ridiculous question. Since you went from being broke to being rich, although you keep spending all your money. But does money buy happiness? How has money changed sort of your...
Well, money, of course, buys happiness for people who have their main financial or their main stressor is financial. You know what I mean? Of course.
Your contentment, your happiness in life.
Does money buy happiness? No, not. I mean, to a point, yes. Once you can take care of your health, you can take care of like any immediate dangers, and you can take care of your family relatively. No, it doesn't. Like, but those things do. Like when I first came into money, one of the first things I did was retire my mom. And like that brought me tons of happiness. You know what I mean? And like, if my brother had a medical emergency and we couldn't afford it and I made money to afford it, that'd bring tons of happiness. So once you take care of those basic necessities, so we'll say make over hypothetically $1 million. No, it really doesn't. Like adding an extra zero, going from 10 million to 100 million or whatever.
Oh yeah. So money does buy you happiness. It's just diminishing return. If the average person, answers $10 million to $100 million isn't most people are trying to experience.
it is, makes no difference.
So you're, given that, are just fearless in spending the money.
Yeah. Well, let me reframe. I guess it could for some people. If you really, I don't know, you spent your whole life obsessing over cars, it probably would bring you a little bit of joy to buy a nice Lamborghini. I'm coming more from the frame of mind of an entrepreneur, someone who's really obsessed with business building. For me and a lot of my friends and the people I hang around, what brings us happiness is winning and building companies and changing the world. Like that is fun. It's a complex problem you can wake up every day and it gives you something to obsess over and devote your life to, whereas just having money doesn't,
Well, one interesting question I have for you psychologically. So because you have become wealthy and because you give, like, part of your work is giving away a lot of money, do you find it hard to find people you can trust?
Good question.
Do people see?
I was saying something like that before. Like, it's got to be difficult to it has to be difficult to develop friendships as somebody who like does really well financially. Like, for me, I'm very fortunate that I didn't start doing. I already met my because then what's the motivation for people wanting to be around you? We talked about it before, where like there are guys who have like a lot of money and like people are more attracted to them, like women, but like, are those women attracted to the person or just to the money? And it's like, fuck, and are they good? Are they very good at they can seem like they actually like the person when they don't, and they're not, like, maybe the man in the party thinks that they're building a meaningful relationship and the woman doesn't, and the woman's just there for the money, and you don't really know. It'd be so difficult to kind of deal with those types of things.
Basically, as a source of money, as opposed to another human being.
It's weird because you would think yes, but I feel like I also know the right places to look. But yeah, if I just walked into Target and tried to make friends with 10 random people, of course, you gotta.
So you can kind of sense.
Oh yeah, you can
has
sense
the right thing in
so
their heart.
quickly, right? It's so obvious. I don't even want to go into descriptions, but honestly, a lot of my friends, like Chandler, I played Little League with him, and Tyler, the guy. I mean, I went to school with him. Chris, he was my first subscriber.
Yeah, see, these are good people to probably. These are good people to be like make friendships with and like to trust because they liked it before and eat up or anything, so that motivator isn't there. Like if his first subscriber, like that guy just liked his content, he didn't care if he was viral or not, So those are definitely people to trust.
Carl was here after we got big, but whatever. He's friends with the boys, and it is a lot of my closer friends, even like my YouTube friends, I knew before I was big. So maybe there is some merit to that. Maybe it is. I don't know. I've never really put too much thought into it. Maybe there's a reason I hang around a lot of these people I knew before I got big because it's much easier.
And they help you keep like your radar sharp of who can and can't be trusted because you can trust them. Yeah, and it's difficult when you become richer and richer and more powerful.
Well, one thing you'll also find when you get rich, not even richer, but more famous. One thing I thought is as I climbed this like ladder of YouTube and got bigger, I thought there would be tons of people like me. People that take like the kamikaze approach to building a business. Yeah. You just throw all your money in it, you throw all your time, you throw all your energy, you throw everything. Yeah. You're just like, fuck it. It's this or I'm dead.
Yeah.
I thought there would be hundreds of me.
Yeah. And there isn't.
There isn't. I mean, there's like maybe one or two. And
yeah, not a lot of people are like that. And it's because I don't think that type of mindset's like necessarily necessary. There's a lot of other things to do in life. And that type of like work grind mindset can sometimes be bad. It could be like negative if you're so. I'm not saying MrBeast at all, but there are people who are so desperate for money and attention that they will be bad. They'll sell like their actual moral values for it. You know what I mean? Like I used to work like 50, 60 hours a week. I did it out of necessity. I'm an Eagle Scout. Like, I would be the first one to do the tough shit. We had to become an Order of the Arrow member, which is basically Boy Scouts in the Boy Scouts. You had to do a thing where you weren't allowed to like eat very much for 2 days. And you couldn't talk for 2 days. So like they would just feed you like a half of a fucking fruit and some water for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a couple of days. And then, it was to teach you discipline. And we had to demuck a lake. I don't know if you know what that means, but there's lakes they use for campsites. And so I'd have, you have to go into the lake and dig out like different types of brush and material and debris. So I was like the first one to volunteer for that, going in there, like you're going up to like your fucking neck, pulling out disgusting things out of the lake. It's gross. It was fun though. That's the kind of stuff I used to. But like it's fun. But it's also fun to just like build and like be relaxed with your family. I think a lot of people, if you make enough money, like it's a good thing to focus on hobbies in your family, as long as you're taking care of your shit. Like just relax and be a person and develop relationships. Those are very fulfilling things.
And I talk to those motherfuckers every single day. I'm sick and tired of talking to them, but I love them. But it's just so interesting because like every level I got up, like I get 1 million subscribers. Like, all right, where's all these guys with 1 million subscribers that are fucking psychopaths? And then they're like
people become conservative as they get more,
especially as they get bigger. Yeah, and 20 million subscribers, 30. It's like every step of the way. It's like I just got more and more lonely, to be honest. Which it sounds cliche, and you hear that kind of shit in movies, and you're like, oh, that's not how it works, but it is. Like, there's just not many people that just want to give up everything, go all in, and then obsess over making the greatest goddamn videos every single day of their life. Like, they're really hard to find.
And be able to sacrifice everything for that video.
Yeah.
Like, basically you put all the money right back in.
Yeah. Or the people doing it, they're on just a small scale. And if I talk to them, it's just 99.9% of the time I'm teaching them things. And it's like...
So it's lonely because there's not too many people, especially in the creative space, that are as crazy as you.
Yeah, it is 100%. It's not what I was expecting. I was expecting there'd be a lot of people like me, but...
Well, I guess the guy we talked to, Elon Musk, is a bit like you in that sense.
Yeah, just
in a different domain. Yeah,
exactly.
Just willingness to put it all back in. Right,
and that's why I've found right now a lot of the people I relate to don't even make YouTube videos. Like, they're just like I'm veering more and more away from fellow content creators and more to just, I'm just looking for those other people who just share a little bit of it, so I don't feel so fucking crazy all the time. Like, you know what I mean? And like people I feel normal around, and they tend to just be doing the randomest things, but loving it.
Well, I think that's really inspiring. It's like the Bukowski line, find what you love and let it kill you, is really put everything into the thing you love. And that's like the way to really create special stuff, but it's also the way to live out your life.
You have to be careful giving this advice, because they're like bodybuilders who will be like, just go to the gym, be disciplined. I'm disciplined, go to the gym. But I would argue for those people, it's like, it's not even discipline. They just enjoy weightlifting. Right, because there are people who are jacked, but they don't.
Yeah, it's true. Like, they really enjoy it. That's one of the things, is like, it's hard to do something you don't enjoy. And that's, I mean, honestly, one of the things keeping me out of the gym, because I really used to like strength training. I have my rotator cuff so bad that like I really been working out, and I should be, because it's good for my health. But I used to enjoy it so much, and it actually upsets me to not be able to do stuff I used to be able to do. Like, I can't even really overhead press anymore. It just grinds through my. Fuck. It's one of the negatives.
Make much money or run a business, right? If they were that disciplined, they would be hitting every area of their life. They just really like business. And then there's people like me who just, to an extreme level, love building companies, right? It's not even discipline for me. It's just in my blood. It's what I wake up. I don't think about it. I don't push myself. I don't need to watch a fucking motivational video to go work. I just do it. It's programmed in me at this point. And I couldn't imagine a world where I don't wake up and do it every day. But I think that a little bit of it is genetics, and just how you're hardwired. Not that it can't be trained or taught, and not that, and obviously the friend group you're in influences these things, and over time I think can change it. But someone's just not gonna be able to flip a switch and then just start doing a kamikaze approach to building a business. Just like a lot of people try to flip a switch and start bodybuilding and then quit majority of the time. That's just not innate to them.
But I think a lot of us have the capacity to do that in some domain.
Yeah, I think if you went about it strategically, if you surrounded yourself with fellow like-minded people, and slowly over time switched it. But if you just try to like hardcore do it, you're just gonna lose your mind.
Do you ever worry about your mental health? Did you take steps to protect it? Do it like for the long run, to make sure you have the mental strength to go on?
Yes, weirdly enough, the best thing for my mental health was giving into my innate nature to work. And the most depressed I get is when I try to restrict it, and like, I don't work weekends, or I don't work this day. What's best for me is just to work when I feel like working, and then just not work when I don't, like, and just have no constraints. Because there are just some nights where I don't want to sleep, and for whatever reason I feel compelled to go all night. Whatever, like, just do it. Do whatever you want, is what I tell my like working brain. And I just give into it, and I feel that's where I feel the happiest. And then it's typically like, when I'm really in the grind mode, it'll be like 7 or 8 days, just nonstop going, and then it's like I'll realize like, oh, I need some recharge time, and then go fucking binge a season of anime. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, people will tell you, don't work weekends, or don't do this, or don't work past this, or blah blah. I'll give you all these constraints, but for me, and it's unconventional.
Yeah, different people will do differently. I remember watching like about Eminem, how he would be like, I'm working like he would basically do like a 9 to 5 when he was like actually like making music, and he would just come in and he would do this, he would go, and then he would leave at a certain time, because he wanted to spend time with like his family. Just died instantly. He wanted to spend time with his family, which is very important to him, which makes perfect sense. Yeah, for sure. Like, that's something that you kind of have to. That's like a way that you want. It's different for different people, of course. It's such a no-brainer that I'm saying that, but that's really true. You have to. It's really about like what your priorities are as a person. And he's young. Maybe when he gets older, that'll change. But
I just give into it.
I think there's something really to be said for that. I try to surround myself with people that, like, when I pull an all-nighter, they don't go like, you should get more sleep. There's a reason I pulled that all-nighter. Like, if I'm really passionate about something, they basically encourage it. Because I have no problem getting sleep and getting rest. What I need in my life is people that encourage you to kind of keep going with the stuff you're passionate about.
Normal people, they don't want that life, and they probably shouldn't. It's not good for you. But yeah, if you hang around people like just different people, you're gonna feel crazy, and it's gonna wear on you. Whereas if you're around similar people, it's so much easier. Like, if you you know,
That
I've
part
started.
makes sense. Like people who understand like what you want, like they're on the same level as you. Like that's normal. Like get relationships with friends that like are on your level. Unless you're a drug addict, don't do that. But yeah, like I pull like sometimes I'll work all night, and sometimes my wife's like, hey, I want you to sleep with me, and like I like getting my work done, but then sometimes it's like good to just like not obsess and just not to worry about certain things and just like to relax and like go to bed and like be with my wife. Because then there'll be times where I won't go to bed with my wife because I'll be working all night trying to do like a bunch of shit, and then I'll wake up the next day feeling actually, I will feel worse off for it. Like I will feel like shitty. I'll be like, damn, like I wish I was. It's hard to communicate, but I wish I had like that physical closeness with my wife where I was just laying next to her and like touching her, not in any sexual way, but just like laying next to her. And it's something that like you get deprived of. And there's times where I was like working so much. It's one of the reasons why I took like a little step back from how I do clips because I'm trying to figure out how I want to do it because I would work so much on doing clips and all my content that like I was it was stressing me out, and I wasn't like laying with my wife and I wasn't sleeping with her for like multiple days at a time, and it just like feels wrong. It doesn't feel fulfilling. There's it just sucks. So
weightlifting more, and like one thing that's helped is just having jack people around because they naturally just eat
Yeah.
healthier.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Like they naturally just have freaking grilled chicken and
Yeah.
all this shit and high protein meals, and it's just like easier for me to just piggyback and be like, oh, can you just order me whatever you're getting? And they're like, oh, I got to go to the gym, and I'll be like, oh shit, I'll just join you. And it's like it's cheat codes. You just surround yourself with people that you want to be, and it makes it like 70% easier in my opinion. It's like that is the cheat code to life. And I wish. I obviously your audience is definitely a lot older, but to the older people listening, like if you
okay, I guess he was talking about his own audience before. I thought he was talking about his like Lex Fridman's audience. I was confused why I would think they were young boys. I guess I'm interpreting that wrong.
Are in a place of mentorship for someone younger or have influence over younger people, you should really try to drill that in their heads. Like the people they are around 100% dictates the outcome. I would not be on 120 million subscribers if I didn't find when I was around 1 million, I had a couple of friends that were just also psychopaths. I outgrew them, but at the time it was great. And I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for them. And just all along the way, the friends that I hung out with had such a dramatic impact on where I am. Like I'd probably have 80 million less subscribers, if I wasn't so strategic about hanging out with people that I add value to and they also add value to me.
So the advice for young people would be to be very selective about the people you surround yourself with.
So selective. It's
yeah, you should be. I mean, like you want to make sure that the people that you don't want to just not surround yourself with people, but like be selective. Hang out with people that are good for you. That doesn't mean that good for you needs to be money. That good for you could be like they talk to you. That good for you could mean that they like to play the same video games that you do. That's what it means to be like that's good for you. They might share similar hobbies or interests with you. Those are the things that you want to value, obviously. And it doesn't have to be like stupid, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be full money, but like that's good. The mental health, people you could talk to, people you do this, that. These things are very important.
It's crazy. Like Chris, he's he's really funny, and that's why he's great for the videos. And part of why he's so funny is he consumes copious amounts of cartoons and just funny content. And so I'll find like when I spend more time with Chris, I'll start just quoting these weird cartoons or shows, and like my speech will literally change just after like a week of spending more time with him. It's like that quick of an effect. Now picture that over the course of years. I mean, yeah, it has such a huge influence. Like pluck one of their friends out and hypothetically put me in there, and there's no doubt if they're trying to become a content creator, their odds of success is 10x, right? Obviously you can't do that, but you got to find your closest version of it.
And just be selective. Yeah. But this also applies not just to younger, to older people too.
Agree. But it's even more, when I was a teenager, I just, I couldn't relate to many people. And I just thought it was like a fucking freak of nature because no one was obsessed with building businesses or any of this kind of stuff. And so like back then, that advice would have been helpful. Maybe not that particularly, but just knowing that there are, it's not that you're a freak of nature. You just haven't found people that have the same interest.
So the task is,
the reason you guys want to see my analytics or whatever, like my audience stuff. So here's a little bit of it. This is this is just the age, the women, 32% women, 66% male. I think I have this in a video where I looked at, and then there's like the age breakdown. I don't know why you want to look at it. I'll show you real quick, but it's like mostly younger people. It's like mostly 18 to 24 is about 40%. Although I have a good amount of 25 to 34, which I'm very surprised about. Because you imagine that there's some people in this 18 to 24 range that are probably actually 13 to 17, like this 2% suggests. But my audience is actually a little bit older than I thought it was. There's like some people in there, like I'd say average, like early, like they're early to mid to late 20s for the most part. A couple of older people, 65-year-olds watch my stuff too. Apparently, pretty base, but
not to feel sorry for yourself or somehow change yourself. It's more to find
people you fit in with. Yeah, I mean, assuming which you're not getting like assume it's not something bad, right? Like if your hobby is shooting things, or shooting things you shouldn't be shooting, don't find people that encourage that.
Yeah, like shooting heroin. Don't find people that encourage that. For sure, I agree with that. It's what's good for you, and doing drugs isn't good for
you. But outside of that, for sure. Actually, as an answer to what is the best advice someone ever gave you, you said, "You're crazy until you're successful, then you're a genius."
100%. All along the way, people gave me so much.
29 this year. Oh shit.
Advice on why I shouldn't be doing that, why I'm crazy. Yeah. Every step of the way, people wanted to tell me why I shouldn't be doing this and should get a life, should stop being too obsessed. Everything under the book. And then once I'm successful, those same people are like, "Dang, you're a genius. Yeah. Wow, you really pulled that off."
Those are probably the same people that will give you advice now. You're the most successful video creator of all time.
It doesn't necessarily mean those people are bad either. Like when I started streaming, like when I was going to make the decision to start streaming before I quit my job, like, I was still living with my mother and I paid rent and everything. And I was like, listen, I want to be able to stream, but I couldn't do it in my actual bedroom. I needed like a little bit of a space. And that was like a whole conversation that we have for that. And she's like, I don't believe that this is going to work. And I said, it's going to, like, I need you to like trust me, blah, blah, blah. And then now I was able to move out and also get rid of the person I was with that wasn't good for me. Yeah, maybe it's my mom and my uncles watching. Yeah, maybe out of the 65 plus. And now it's great, but she's not a bad person. She just wanted me to be practical and didn't want me to do something that was like too, what's the word that I want to say? Like too impulsive, but it worked out. Not all those people are bad for you. Just because they give you advice that may not be good for you, they may just not understand something about you. But you should always take that advice with reason. Well, like ultimately, my mom always wanted me to have like I'm going to lose here. Not picking up. Fuck. Like a fallback.
Stick to that. Anytime you want to do something new, right?
Yeah.
They'll like pressure you not to do, feastables or mobile gaming or whatever lays beyond.
Yeah.
It's funny how people don't.
Well, honestly, they're the type of people I just don't talk to anymore.
Yeah, sure.
I wouldn't even know what they have to say now.
So most people on the team are like, yes, and they're like, whatever the idea you got, they're with it.
No, I mean, it's weird. We actually have
yes, and is just like, what is that? What is it? Where you go in there like a big nerd and you do ad lib? No, that's not what it's called. You know what I'm talking about. Tell me.
My team pushes back on me pretty hardcore.
You're the only black person here? I don't think that's true. I think I have a pretty sizable black audience. Nobody likes MrBeast. Black people don't like MrBeast, so that's why they're not in the chat now. I'm just kidding. No, but I'm surprised that like I have a large amount of like black people in my audience. It's interesting. Because I'm like such an ignorant white guy, but I have like black men and women like chilling in the chat. Sometimes they'll say something about being black, and like when I'm talking about like an issue of black people and shit, that I could, understand a little better. Because he's a fucking white guy. Improv. Boom. That's what we're talking about. So I'm surprised, bro.
Which I want. I don't want yes men, and they're like they're James, the CEO who helped me build all this. He's very adamant. Like, we're not yes men, and he trains people to really think for themselves. And even when I give them orders, like really think like, is this optimal? Is there context or information Jimmy could be missing that I can provide that can help him make a more updated decision? Like, I'm not God. You know what I mean? Like, I'm human and I make errors, and so don't take.
Yeah, let's see what this white dude has to say.
Take what I say as the Bible.
So even like in the brainstorming and so on, they can push back.
Yeah, you can see it. Like Tyler, anytime I said something, he would give me feedback and push back, which is what I want. I don't want him just to be like, yes, you're a fucking genius. Good job, Jimmy. I don't need that. I need negatives.
I think maybe like black people like me a lot because like I'm afraid of dogs, and like that's something that's very. And for some reason, all black people are afraid of dogs, and I don't know why. So like we really bond through our fear of dogs. I'm not that afraid of dogs, but one time I was like trying to walk home. This was when I was young, and I had a bicycle, so I was like, but I was walking. I was walking home with the bicycle, and then what happened? A dog was there, and it was like loose, and I was so scared. I used the bicycle as a shield, and I started like slowly walking backwards. So I'm a little afraid of dogs.
You talked about being in a relationship. What role, Jimmy, does love play in the human condition?
I think. What role does love? The big thing is it's love.
I don't know if this isn't meant to be offensive. I wonder. Well, he probably loves his mom and his brothers and his family. I don't know.
It can be scary because this is, the human you're going to spend the most amount of time.
I mean, I'm just projecting too much because I didn't really learn to know what love was until I was like in my age now. It took me a very long time, but I also had a very bizarre upbringing without a father. My mother was very straightforward, and there's a period of time where my mom and I didn't even tell each other we loved each other or even like hugged or kissed. Not because my mom's a bad person. She was just very business brain, and I have ADHD, and it was very difficult to raise me. And I think we got into like this almost like not mother-son relationship. It was like almost like employee-employer relationship, and like that's how I needed to be raised in some capacity. So it took a little bit of time to learn how to love. And my mother also probably similar to me, a little bit of a blunt person, and so we learned. Now we say we love each other and we hug and we kiss. It's awkward, but it's a new experience. But it's not. So maybe that's just for me. It took me a long time to learn what love meant and what like relationship building meant. But my mom, like people that might start shitting and farting because like, oh, bad mom. My mom was an incredible woman that gave everything up for me. So like, it's just there's always going to be pros and cons in your life. So you know what I mean. Like it's okay, relax. Not everybody has to be perfect. I'm very happy the way I grew up. My mother did the best that she could for me, and she did an incredible job. So
time with in your life, and so for project out over 50 years, they can be a liability or an asset.
I love the metrics.
But seriously, it's got to be someone that makes you better. For me, I can't truly love someone that doesn't make me better because
in the long run, across the
because
years.
if not, then it's like it's a negative, to everything I've spent my life building. Yeah. But luckily, I'm very happy with the partner I have, and like we were talking about before, I do think she makes me better. There's a lot of actually positives I've noticed, even things as simple as like, I struggle to turn off my brain at night because I'm just thinking about all the businesses and how we could do better or whatever weird thing I have on my mind. But, just chatting with her and hanging out with her helps me like basically just shut my brain off and like mellow out. And even like there's just a ton of little things like that I've noticed are positives, especially when you really look for them, that are easy to gloss over if you're not. And so for me, I have someone who I think is very beautiful, very intelligent, makes me better, is constantly pushing me, okay with me working hard, makes me smarter, and just all these different things that I think for me, love just makes me a better person. You know what I mean? Which makes me love her even more. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. What advice would you give on finding somebody like that?
Just really don't give up until you find someone that, there's so many people on the planet. I mean, there really is.
For me, my advice for relationship, because I've been in some toxic ones, I think that I'm part of the problem, is one, stop trying to find people to fix. Because it can put you in a situation where, you're so desperate to fix them that you think that you can make them a better person, and you'll dump a lot of time, energy, and effort into them, and it won't happen because that's what's going to happen most of the time. For the most part, you can't fix everything. There are some things we can fix, and I can't fix everything. And to set solid boundaries that make you happy, and of course, cave into some other boundaries that makes your partner happy, but you have to like have a really solid ebb and flow. I found it in my wife. For me, somebody with like really good sexual chemistry, which sounds silly, I know, but is also very, important. And you can learn some aspects of sexual chemistry, like somewhat learn. Like you guys, you can get better at engaging with each other physically. Somebody you can confide in. There's a lot of stuff. Don't be afraid to fail and to be embarrassed because there are some people who will use some of your worst moments against you, and that's part of relationship building. And you should leave those people because they're bad people, and try to be with somebody that doesn't do that to you. But you have to be okay with like looking stupid because some people are going to hurt you like that, and it sucks. But when they do hurt you, at least it's a good red flag. Look at that silver lining, it's a positive thing. Yeah, somebody makes you better. Obviously, is a good person too. Somebody to build with.
There's billions of
the odds are in your favor.
Like just don't settle and find someone that makes you happy.
Yeah, don't settle. Sure.
Yeah,
funny because we call it settling down, but like don't settle.
Just like you said, surround yourself with people that make you a better person. In the same case, surround yourself with that one special person that really makes you a better person.
And maybe that's just an entrepreneurial brain looking at it. I mean, not everyone wants to hyper optimize their life like me, but for me to like truly love someone, they have to make me a better person
in every way.
Yeah.
Well, what do you hope? You're 24. We started talking about death. Let's finish talking about death. What do you hope your legacy is when we look 100 years from now and the AI has completely taken over and the aliens visit and discuss with the AI what this last of special humans that existed on Earth was like? What do you hope they say about you?
Interesting question.
It's a deep one. Probably just that, because it's hard, right? Like I said before, Elon is over double my age. I could live every second I've lived up to this point in my life and still not even be Elon's age. So I have so much time. I just hope whatever it is that it's a net positive on the world and it impacts billions of people in a positive way.
I respect that.
That makes lasting change.
I respect that because that's one of the interesting things is that I've been into this conversation about good men versus great men, and great men are oftentimes famous, but they will completely sell, or famous or rich or successful in some very tangible capacities. But they oftentimes like sell their moral value out, and they don't have a positive emotional impact on the new generation. This is like Andrew Tate, a bad person, they have a lot of achievements, but they're a bad person. And like that is something that like is a driving force for me, is that I would rather be the guy that my family forgets in 2 generations, because that's mostly what's going to happen. For the most part, we're going to be live and die, and your family's going to forget about you. You know, your great grandkids aren't going to remember Papa Gut. But I would like to have a very strong, long-lasting moral impact on my children and my family. That's what matters more. Propagating people who are better for society, better for themselves, do better for themselves, are able to be malleable and navigate a very difficult, ever-evolving society, and maintain levels of success, and be good forces that try to help other people that may not be able to help themselves. That's something that I've really tried to been operating as a person. And I think that's very important.
So you admire people like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk for having sort of reached for that goal as well.
Yeah, of course.
To help millions.
I mean, the iPhone.
I don't know that. I just don't think that Elon Musk gives a fuck about anybody. So
it's the most successful product ever invented. It's hard not to admire what he created. You know what I mean?
I don't admire the people in China throwing themselves off of factories, the top of factory buildings, killing themselves because they're so oppressed. I don't really. The iPhone is cool, and I think it's an incredible innovation. It was very desensitized to it because it exists. Like it's so normalized, but. I can respect that, but I also don't respect the practices. Oh, this was like low as hell. The practices that are engaged in order to create these products. That's what I'm talking about. Not a great man when you. It doesn't matter how much out of sight, out of mind you can make it, but when you're operating and utilizing, resources like people in China, and I understand it gives them jobs, but that's so horribly abusive. All you're doing is telling China it's okay that they have horrible human rights laws. Yeah, I don't respect that. I just can't respect that.
The same with sort of, as Johnny Ive talks about, like the passion, the effort they put into the designing the iPhone. That like little bit of love is transferred to the whole world. Like they get to experience the joy of that from the designer.
It's what a beautiful thing to do. You know, I couldn't think of anything.
I guess we all contribute to the shit, huh?
Better, to create something that.
I guess I buy computers that are used with like slave labor too, so I don't fucking know.
Even after you're dead for decades, just has such a profound impact on basically half the human population.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Brings joy to people.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you do just that, man. You've already done it for millions and millions and millions and millions of people, and I hope you keep doing it. I can't, like, it's so exciting to see what happens this year and next year.
I know.
Like, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
I can't, the videos, but all the other businesses you're in, and you as a human being, as you grow, I can tell, I know, as everyone knows, you have a kind heart, and the fact that you're really damn good at actually using that kind heart to help a lot of people. It's awesome to see, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah. More importantly, before we go, are we going to play Dune tonight? Some board games?
I'm not going to play Dune. I have 1 hour.
You don't want to play board games with me?
I'll play
board games. You don't want to play board games?
If only I wasn't an idiot and actually flew to the right airport.
If you don't play board games with me, they're going to dislike the video.
Oh my God. That was silly. Okay, cool.
Thanks for listening to this conversation with MrBeast. To support this podcast, please check out our sponsors in the description. And now, let me leave you with some words from the poet and philosopher Rabindranath Tagore. Reach high, for stars lie hidden in you. Thank you for listening, and hope to see you next time.
Okay. I don't know why I'm not subscribed to Lex on this channel, but good thing he prompted it. Yeah, good video, man. I always love watching Lex. Very intelligent guy.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.